Hey everybody, I'm Rob Nelson. This is Rob Nelson Live, and it is our Controlled Chaos Election Night Special. So, as all things Rob Nelson Live, we do it kind of on the fly, impromptu. Sometimes we jerry rig it. We always keep it interactive. We always keep it real. We always keep it fun. So here I am today in a cool location in Los Angeles. We're not going to tell you exactly, but no, we're in Mar Vista. It's actually courtesy of Judd Dunning over here on the left. Judd Dunning, Bullet Point Nation, a hardcore conservative. And as I always like to say,
I'm on the left and sitting on the left.
I won't.
Judd, you're on there, right?
Judd Dunning, a conservative. And a good conservative, not a racist.
Thank you very much. We always drop that.
This is my joke for those of you who watch with Judd. Judd is not a racist. He's a little farthest from a racist you'll ever get, but I keep saying it just in case anybody doubts, because sometimes people think when you're conservative, you must be. In any case, I'm going to talk to this camera over here. Next to Judd is Jen Massey. Jen's a tricky one. So you guys, over the course of this show, we're going to find out who Jen really is. Because Jen kind of keeps her profile on the QT. And it's not because she was like a porn star or something in the past. It's because she was like this sort of quiet activist, and you have to pull it out of her. But she was actually a model at one point, then went to college at USC a little bit later, and actually managed to get a donation from the World Trade Center, actual piece of the World Trade Center donated to USC, which is really cool. And she's here with us. She's funny. She's smart. She's a mom. So she fits the mom category.
So wait a minute. Racist porn star. Keep going.
We're getting there. I'm working on it, guys. On the fly. Remember, I'm not a comedian, but I am here all week. On my right is Dave Sussman. Dave Sussman does a really cool show, which you should check out. Everyone has really cool shows, by the way. So Judd has Bullet Point Nation. Didn't mean to leave that out. Dave has a really cool show called Whiskey Politics. And it's a podcast. Dave will tell you a little more his style and his brand, but it's fun. He's smart. His personality is going to come through as we go. I'm not going to say anything offensive about Dave because I've already been blown up for saying things on the left and the right. I would just say Dave is not a cowboy, for whatever that's
great.
Okay. All right.
We're looking for a way to cancel you. Keep going.
Yeah, we got to cancel Dave on something. It's an alcoholic show. He gets drunk on whiskey and talks politics and slurs it all up. So now we got
it's an non-racist,
non-porn star, non-alcoholic. And finally on the right is Carmen. I'm sorry. Okay.
Carmen Estelle.
Right, Carmen Estelle's on my right. I'm losing my mind. Carmen Estelle is a lot of things also. Carmen got a little bit of heat because she was part of an organization that got a little bit of heat, and she's been kind of canceled and shut down and shut off Facebook and the whole deal, which, is actually true. I'm not making that up. Carmen is the I have been canceled. And she's not being quiet. She's a Trump supporter, and she's a Republican, and she's a conservative, and she's a Latina. You can be a Latina for Trump. I guess that's the thing.
Oh, yeah.
And she's also has a big thing with God factored into her plan. It's a big part of her politics and her messaging.
Absolutely.
So we're all kind of gathered tonight to do an election night special. And the whole thing is, you guys, it's interactive, so you guys can live, kind of jump in with us on your social platforms. We're going to have a couple people calling in with video feeds throughout the night, just a few. And we're doing all things politics. So we're not CNN, we're not Fox News. So if you want to watch the returns themselves, you can flip over there once in a while. But we're kind of have real conversation and commentary on everything from the election to politics to culture to pop culture to the cancel culture to the great divide in America, and just kind of mix it all up. So I'm going to start with like a big question. And you guys all can talk at once or one at a time, but if we all talk at once. And I forgot I have the Jesus heavy. Judd put this here, and I'm not exactly sure.
You just raised that.
If too many of us are speaking,
It's a white power fist.
It's a gold
talking
power
stick.
fist.
It's a
gold power
If this goes the wrong way tonight, that's going to be used in a very bad way.
I thought it was a Donald Trump fist. His little.
So I want to start. We're going to start with election. Okay. So first question is, each of you, where were you? Where did you think things were going in this election a couple weeks ago? And be honest, not where you wanted it to go. We're not spinning it here. You go to CNN, it's like Biden's winning. Go to Fox, Trump's winning. It's like, okay. I get it. But like, where were you really, Judd?
Well, I think it was stalled. Like, I was waiting for Trump to do what he's doing this last few days. I mean, that's why I was wondering why. And it was a lot of it had to do with COVID. It was like, are we playing the COVID card, or are we going to? Because he has to hold himself tight. So now I think he's doing what he needed to do. But a lot of people voted early, so hopefully we're going to win.
Okay, so 2 weeks ago you were where again? Good evading my question, though.
2 weeks ago, I thought Trump should have already been out stumping the way he is down at the end. That's what he's great at. And I was like, where are you? Where are you? Right. So I was more concerned 2 weeks ago. He got out there and he started stumping. He's doing a great job. But is it too late because all the pre-voting, because the COVID shutdown? That's the one question we don't know tonight.
Right. And you think that, well, we'll come back to that. You think the COVID shutdown was intentional to shift the vote?
I look, 25% I believe in the virus, 75% I believe that government overreach has been out of control, and it's definitely going to affect the vote tonight.
Okay. All right. Jen, we'll go down the road, and then we'll stop once we get.
Okay. Well, 2 weeks ago, I thought he was going to win. I've just been watching the rallies, and the enthusiasm gap between Trump and Biden has been ridiculous for so long. So I've never thought he wasn't going to win. So maybe I'm naive.
So you thought Trump was going to win 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, I did.
You were like, no problem.
Yeah, and then.
So let me ask you something, and you guys, by the way, you guys can all just jump in with me, like you can step over me or whatever, because I can talk for 4.5 hours by myself. I used to do a radio show and I had to if nobody called in. It's like ABC. It's like 4 a.m.
I'll be doing that tomorrow night,
right? And you just talk. 3 hours. You just talk and talk and talk. You have to. You talk to yourself. You talk to people that are out there. So, so you said you knew he was going to win.
Mm-hmm.
The whole time.
And then wasn't it the past couple of days, because you said people voted early, which they did, but then there was a big search, all the search engines, how do I change my vote?
Right. Yeah.
And so that's when he started, working on the stump, like Judd saying.
What do you think though? I keep saying, Judd hates this because I say this, but I think Trump was his own worst enemy in this thing. I feel like, he does, and I'm not a big Trump supporter. I'm not a big Trump defender. People know that.
Yeah,
I hate Biden.
You're more of a
Stay with me. Get over here.
I'm for Kanye.
Just for the last line, what are you?
I thought this was a safe place.
I'm not going to.
Rob, you're out. Triggered.
The snowflake on the right has been triggered.
No, what's just for the last line?
Yeah. My take, where I am politically.
Yeah.
I am a true independent, which does not mean I'm a centrist. It does not mean I'm a political independent party person. I'm an independent. I think both political parties are fractured, are dysfunctional, and are corrupt. And I think they have held the control of the U.S. government between the two of them, and they like to share that power. And as long as they have power, they're okay shifting a little over here, a little over here. But that's why Trump was such a disruption to them, because Republicans didn't want that either initially. They're like, I don't want this guy coming in. He's not part of the machine. Mm-hmm. And I hate both parties. I think they're, like I said, so I'm a true independent, and I liked Trump for being that initially. But I've said the whole time, Trump has so many flaws, which aren't just personal. As a leader, he is the most narcissistic president we've ever had, and he seems incapable of unifying people and incapable of not making about himself, which is too bad because it really hurts the agenda, much of which I think is good.
Anyway, moving on to Dave. No, I'm just
I don't disagree with that. I don't, because in 2016, I kind of came kicking and screaming into pulling the lever for Trump. Out of the first 17 guys on the and ladies on the dais in 2016, he was number 17 for me, but he wasn't her. And so I went in with my fingers crossed behind my back, and man, he did everything he promised to do, whether it's the judges, whether it's the economy and tax cuts, whether it's the regulatory state. Take a look at what he's done in the Middle East. 50 years of presidents, never been able to do that. So there's a meme that's going around right now with, 1995 Mel Gibson smiling, and then, Mel Gibson, going to the polls in 2016 to vote for Trump. And then 2020 Mel Gibson, and he's Braveheart. That's me today. Because, so where was I? A month ago, at the beginning of October, I called President Trump to win re-election with 319 electoral votes.
Wow, wait, a month ago you did?
A month ago. And about the first week in October.
Wow.
The last few days ago, I updated it to 326 because I think he's going to pull Nevada. Possibly.
Wow.
So I truly believe what you were saying, Jen, is absolutely what he has been doing with the rallies. And the media we know have been using suppression polls. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We know the psychology It's agitprop. It's propaganda. It's 100%. We're going to try to manipulate people to shame you into getting rid of Orange Man bad. And we know how the media works. We know how they think. But my lying eyes do not deceive me. What we have just seen with these rallies around the country,
Right?
Okay, is that a Eagle song?
Yeah, it's an Eagle song.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's about cheating.
So they don't deceive, and what we saw. So I don't know how how it's going to go tonight. Right now,
But
we're
you
in the
still
midst
feel
of it.
that way?
I still feel right now. I think that if he wins Florida with 3 to 4 percentage points, which I think at the end of the day, I hate that cliche.
51-48 right now.
I think we're there.
I figured Biden was going to win Florida. I've been in Florida for the last month. I saw that happening. So before I get to you, Carmen, you're still here. Thanks for not leaving, feeling it's an unsafe space. I want to say to everybody out there. So as you can tell, I got a lot of Trump supporters around me. It's weird. I'm used to kind of having, no, if you've been watching my live streams, I'm used to having a kind of a balance, but people were also making fun of me the last few weeks because I've been in Jacksonville doing this town hall. We pulled a really cool town hall together where we had an entire community come together to talk about race relations and getting Black Lives Matter activists and cops and business leaders and Black people and white people and rich and poor. And we did it. We literally got, it's 13th biggest city in the US. We got everyone together, not everyone. We got, and we live streamed it and, it was a big story and then local news there and it was really great. But so I've had a lot of shows around that stuff. And probably had a lot more liberals on my shows, It really did because I had a lot of activists and stuff. And even I'd have police officers, but a lot of them were very anti-Trump. So it's weird being surrounded by all Trumpers. And I'm going to say to everybody out there, because I really am an independent, and I'll push back against the Trump stuff, you guys. I won't let it just be all Trump because I'll be the voice not Trump at times. But if you watch the media and what Dave was saying, there's been such a slide toward literally, I know Fox News stands out there and it's got a huge audience, but the mainstream media, the social platform, so much of it has been so anti-Trump. Joe Biden got no scrutiny. Literally nothing he did got called out. Literally the press either censored it, ignored it, didn't cover the story, blocked the tweets, the accounts. Shut down the secretary of the president's account. You shut down the New York Post, the oldest newspaper in America. So because of that, I feel like you're not getting the true voice the other way. So I'm okay that we're heavy Trump.
Absolutely.
Go, Carmen,
we
go.
talked last night, I said to you, or maybe I didn't say to you, but I'm going to say something a little controversial. I believe that the media is complicit in domestic terrorism. They are literally pinning whites against blacks, conservatives against liberals, when really most of us love each other. The lie that they are telling the American people is so egregious and it's so disturbing. And it's like trickery. It's to me, it's spiritual warfare. And
Amen.
Evil use trickery to deceive people. And right now there's so much deception in America. We don't all hate each other. Most of us love each other. Yeah, there's a little bit of racism. Yeah, there's some a-holes out there. I don't know if we're allowed to guys. So there are some bad people out there everywhere, right? But the majority of Americans don't hate the other side. They don't hate. They want to find a way to love on each other like we used to. The media has done the best job at tricking the American people into thinking that we all hate each other, and they're really complicit. They're absolutely complicit. And then on Donald Trump being narcissist.
Try to say his name. Don't.
I just talked to a lot of people who know him and deal with him personally. Last year I was at a Latinos for Trump event and his personal photographer did a speech. And I'm like, I really want to hear what this guy has to say because everybody says that Trump is such a narcissist and such a jerk and everything else. And I want to hear, his name's Gene Ho and he's an Asian man. And he didn't go in as a Trump supporter at all, but he got the job as his personal photographer throughout his entire campaign. Okay. He got to see him putting on his tie in the morning, fixing his hair. He said his hair is real. He got to see all these Trump. Whenever he would walk into a room, the first thing he would do is he would go and thank all the people that were working. He would thank the law enforcement. He would thank the military. He said he could care less about the politicians. He is for the average working person, and he treats everybody like gold. And this was like his main message. He said he couldn't believe it because he thought he was hired to film a racist. And he couldn't believe the lie because he followed Donald Trump around for like a year and a half. every step of the way, taking pictures of him from morning till night. And he is the furthest thing from a jerk, a narcissist, a racist, a bigot as you can get. And so it's just those few little things that he said that the media keeps repeating over and over and over that make everybody feel like he really is this way all the time, right?
Well, so let me push back on that just a little. I didn't say racist, by the way.
No, you didn't.
That word did not come out.
You said narcissist.
And I've talked to plenty of, sure, you'll get, talking to people, you get all different viewpoints. But I think a lot of people, even people of color, will often say they don't think Trump's a racist. I mean, the notion that he personally is a racist seems just hard to buy at this point. I mean, and he was an anti-Semite too, right? Except that his brother-in-law, his son-in-law is Jewish, and his daughter's by convert. Like really, but you're still, he loves Israel, but but he's still an anti-Jew. But so I don't think he's a racist. I've said before, and I've said this to Judd. I think he sometimes race baits. I don't know if that's intentional or if he's just not very sharp about it.
How does he race bait exactly? Give us an example.
I think when he's asked about white supremacist groups, he always gets a little tense and says, they'll say, "Will you condemn them? Condemn them." Yes, I condemn them.
Yes, that's enough.
No, it's not enough. This conversation. It's not enough.
When I say it's election night, we're already jumping into Trump's racism, which is the dialogue, the meta dialogue that's been canceling the whole Trump administration. That's why I'm just saying it's interesting. Like that's where we go. That's what's
it's a leading question.
Yeah,
it's a leading question. But you say because the whole Charlottesville thing, there are good people on both sides thing. That is one of the most debunked theory. It's been debunked over and over. And what do they do at the debates? What do they do whenever they ask him a question? All right. Do you condemn white supremacists? This is the first question in the debate next to COVID. Okay, which is a leading question because he came out to take apart what was said about Charlottesville. It was about the people on the other side that were there who didn't want the monuments taken down.
I know.
But most people don't.
I know, and it's a good point. And a lot of people out there still don't know that. You're right. And I think it's a point worth reiterating.
And the media has perpetuated
reiterating because if you're not following exactly what Dave's saying, if you want to listen to what Trump actually said, now you may say he shouldn't have supported the people tearing down monuments. That's a different issue. He was saying people who don't want monuments torn down are good people too. And he specifically was referring to that, not to the white supremacists who were rallying that day. But that's not why I think Trump, and I didn't say he's a racist, I don't think he is. What he doesn't do that I don't understand why. If someone asked me, someone was questioning that about me and said, and I had David Duke on my show, on my Fox show, the former head of the Ku Klux Klan. And I said to David Duke, I think you're a racist. He's like, I'm not a racist. I'm like, seriously? Convince me you're not a racist. You ran the Ku Klux Klan. And it was a great show. And, I let him have all the room he needed to make his case. And I looked back at him and I said, I'm sorry, you are a racist. If your views, your organization is a racist. You're racist, and I don't like that.
Was he good friends with Robert Byrd, senator? From
no, I'm not defending. You can go down. Hold on. I'm happy to listen. I'm happy to throw all the Democratic racists under the bus. All I'm saying is, and Biden in there too, because he hobnobbed with him. All I'm saying is, if I'm Trump and you ask me those questions, one of you guys tell me why. He doesn't just go, instead of going, I have condemned them, I condemn them. That simple word, I condemn them.
He has.
No. He says that. I'm saying why he doesn't say with passion, the way you just did, say, listen, I do not like white supremacists. What they stand for is revolting. If you are a white supremacist out there, don't go using me as proof of anything. I am not your fan. I'm not your ally. I don't even want your votes.
Right.
Go away.
He doesn't
have to. Yes, he does.
Why?
He does.
Why do you have to validate?
You're perpetuating the argument. To disarm the media.
You need that.
No, but
some people don't need it. I wanted to disarm the media. I wanted to disarm this thing.
In the last debate, he said, sure. Okay, so that was his answer. And then he got tripped up by the next question, I think. And then so he went, they wanted him to disavow the Proud Boys and all this stuff.
Right.
But he has said that the exact thing that the poor boys, the exact thing that you just said, he has said in so many interviews, he actually has said the exact thing that you said as emphatically as you said it. He has said that in interviews, and they just don't air it.
Listen, Trump, I'll give you this. Trump is really sometimes talks like a sixth grader. He's not great at making a more eloquent argument for anything, even the things he's all about. Even the things he's all about. It's right. It's like greatest rally ever. greatest economy, greatest
Greatest of the great.
greatest of the greatest. And it's like you're kind of like, seriously?
But can you separate the personality from the policy?
I think you have to.
Because this
I
is
think
what
you
the
have
country
to.
has been
I think you
facing.
have to.
That's the decision.
Right.
I think you have to,
Yes.
but we're not. This is the first
Most
time.
people can't.
This
can.
is the first
Most
time.
people
You're right,
can't.
and this is the first time. By the way, Spitfire. Someone put up Spitfire. Thanks for the comment. Good point about if Trump's condemning. Not it's enough. The left doesn't condemn Antifa. Again, nothing I'm saying.
Right.
There is so much room to throw the left and the Democrats under the bus for the thing hypocrisy. Let's just start there. There is anything I'm saying about Trump. I haven't even gotten to Biden, who was the first candidate to ever run for the presidency simply on the platform of I am not Donald Trump. Like, I am not the guy in literally. What are you electing me for? I mean, other than the fake build-up they make that he's honorable and noble and a leader, it's like led on nothing. Maybe the crime bill, which was really bad for black people and most of America, stands for nothing. Friends with white supremacists, buddies with them. Has no distinguished record. Failed bid for presidency multiple times, and yet, what is he about? He's literally.
I think
I'm
he
not
gave
Trump.
the eulogy at Robert KKK Bird's.
I think he did.
Sure
Who's
did.
a white?
He did.
If those don't know,
Sure
Robert
did.
Byrd was a
Grant
white supremacist.
Kriegel of the KKK. He was a senator in West Virginia. If you've ever been to Charleston, West Virginia, which I've been to a few times, it's a beautiful town, Gold Leaf Dome, Capitol Dome. Every part of Charleston is dedicated to Robert Byrd. And there's Robert Byrd Boulevard. There's Robert Byrd statues. The man, he was the head of the KKK. Mm-hmm. And he and Joe Biden hung out like little girls on a park bench. They were buddies.
They were. And Joe Biden defended him. And again, you can say, oh, well, it's what we do as senators. No, if you're a white supremacist, you should stand against, and you're not, if you're Biden, you should stand against the white supremacists.
And did they ask Joe
Democrats-
Biden this question
No,
at the debates?
no. He
Did
gets
they even
no.
bring it
I
up?
didn't ask him any
Let's
questions.
crush the common day racial dialogue and go back in history of the Democratic Party. I mean, really, if America wanted to be a historical society, all we have to do is just track back the Democrats and racism.
Bingo.
Go all the way back to the KKK, a Democratic body that was policing after, keeping racism in place. It was like a post-war war force. Then they fought us all the way. They fought us all the way through the civil rights. They fought women's suffrage. I mean, the Democrats are the big switch. We all know this is true. Every day we get into this racist dialogue and separatist dialogue today, we're negating history. And the truth is, it's still majority Democrats have the race problem. So why are we lost? That's the election. We're not even talking about the real history problem.
Go ahead, Jeff.
I was going to say, they like to say that Republicans and Democrats switch sides at some point.
It's
Yeah,
the big
that's
switch.
always
Big
their-
switch.
Weird myth.
Yeah.
It's the big
Weird.
switch.
Right. And there never really was a
They come up with
switch.
it.
There never really was a switch.
Three guys
Right.
came
There
over.
never really was a
Dinesh
switch.
D'Souza wrote a book about it. It's called The
He
Big
did.
Lie. And
Right.
his book, Death of a Nation, was based upon that book.
Yeah.
And I think some of us were there to see his movie and his film. I just had him on Whiskey Politics last week, and we talked about this. And that is exactly, so for people that are it's not that you're uneducated, it's just the media and our schools haven't taught this. But, up to the 1965 Civil Rights Act, all right, there were the Dixiecrats, which were Democrats in the South, were some of the most vehemently racist people out there. They prevented the civil rights. It was basically the vestiges of the Civil War. And these were the Democrats that were running things. All of the senators, including Robert KKK Byrd and all of those folks that were from that period, they prevented the Civil Rights Act from taking place. And it was Lyndon Baines Johnson, LBJ, that had to negotiate with the Democrats to pass this thing. What was it that LBJ said? Does anybody remember sitting on his toilet?
I do.
I'll
I'm not
keep
saying.
those
We're not gonna say it.
Yeah.
Right.
200
Voting Democrat
Democrat.
for the next 200 years. Right.
Okay.
And that's as bad as You Ain't Black, to be honest.
Right.
Take it to common day. Why are we not looking at
Well,
okay,
Nobody
super
asked about You Ain't
super
Black.
predators? Let's talk about Biden's race issues.
The race
They're
struggle.
huge.
They are huge. But that's not the reason. Look, you're not going to win the battle to try to get the media to be fair
Or rational.
They're not fair. No, well, it's all the same
Versus
thing.
history.
They're
Or
not going to be
honest.
fair or honest about it. They're not
Yeah.
going to hold the left to the same standard. They're not going to hold Biden to the same standard. There's a deep hatred of Trump. It goes beyond his politics. It has to do that he was an institution basher and that threatened every single institution from both parties
Amen.
to the intelligence community. I got to be honest. I loved when Trump went after the intelligence community. I was also like, you just basically signed your warrant that they're going to do everything to destroy. You went after the most powerful clandestine force in the world and pissed them off. It's like, and you know, they're going to mess. They're going to be like,
and they still are with the laptop.
They are going to never. They're right. But I love that he was willing to challenge that. All I'm saying is, when you ask Judd why bring it up, is I feel like part of the challenge for the Trump supporters and the Republicans in general is to not take the bait of the Democrats and get caught up in trying to sort of go, why aren't you talking, boom, and be willing to, you know, when I said, why can't Trump be more willing to say things a certain way? Because there's nothing wrong with trying to win the independent, the middle, who's being shot at by this other way. And when you just sit there and go, no, but he has, I'm going, well, he clearly hasn't in a way that connected with, and I know you're fighting a media that wants to depict him a certain way, but if I'm Trump and the media is depicting me that way, I am going to walk out there and I'm going to say to every independent voter out there, anyone who's not bought into this thing and won't care what I say, I'm telling you right now, if you are a white supremacist, get out of my country. Right. Okay. And if you say that, you appeal to independents who aren't in the tank. Yes. I think that was a missed opportunity. And I think Republicans can build the net right now if they're smart. A new Republican Party. I agree. A new majority.
At the debate, when you say he's a narcissist, I think when they ask him that question over and over again, the white supremacy question, he does get into his ego a bit and he gets mad that they ask him again. He's like, here we go again.
Which is why they do it.
I need to say it again. Yeah. So he doesn't come out with the passionate, that is not true, that's emphatically not true. He gets upset about it and he's like, well, that's this again. And so it comes across like we all cringe.
Can I drop my logic evolution? So I've been talking about that.
Here we go. Ready, everybody. If you need to take a break and go to the bathroom, come back in 5 minutes and Judd will still explain. No, he's genius. He's a genius.
Logic,
it's just,
right?
You've got to gear up, sit in the class.
I'm in the GOP. I'm racist. You're for Biden. You're a liberal. You're a pedophile. I'm going to call up your family. I'm going to let Megan's law, and we'll talk about it later and prove if it's right. And I've been using this a really abrasive term lately to slap people into logic. Like, wait a minute, if you're going to jump to I'm morally decrepit, lower intelligence, and racist for being a Republican, then I'm going to throw out pedophile. And, you know, this is kind of what the left and the media has been doing. I know it's aggressive, but I tell you, it stops some people in the tracks. I'm like, okay, you're cool letting me off the hook for being a Republican. I will let you off the hook for being a pedophile. But the point is, we're actually.
Why are they pedophiles? I missed the logic.
I'm just throwing out something that's base and horrible as being a bigot. I mean, being a bigot being a racist is about as low a blow as you can give a human being. Yeah. We're talking about the degradation of human beings.
Is it now anymore? I feel like it's been diminished.
Down.
Right?
We're all racist, by the way.
Because
4 racists at this table right now.
So 4.5.
I got left out of that. I'm free. I'm not.
But Judd, I think it's a great metaphor, a great analogy, I should say. And I here's the thing with all of this is that, you know, and I know Emmons is going to be joining us a little bit later. He wrote a book called The 80% Middle. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we've got the 10% on the extremes, which basically fills our Twitter feed. Okay, right. It's just the right and the left screaming at each other. And then we've got the 40% around the middles, just normal people living their life, taking care of their family, running their businesses, and they come home. We live in this world of politics, right? They don't. They watch Dancing with the Stars, okay? And so they turn it on every 4 years or every 2 years, and then they check it out. And how they do go with personality over substance in many cases, which is very frustrating for me because I think policy trumps everything. Okay,
yeah, no pun intended.
No pun intended. But what you just said is absolutely correct. That seeping the hatred and really the vitriol that we're seeing from the far left has been promulgating up from the Twitter basement with the blue check marks. That is now what is the mainstream news. That has been percolating into mainstream media. So many people now believe truly in their hearts that we're a bunch of racists because we support the policies of Donald Trump. And I think that you make a great point right there.
Yeah, because I feel sorry for people that are of ethnicity in America because they have to live with this constant dialogue as well. I mean, think about the selfishness of perpetuating this dialogue to take political power. I mean, people need to be inspired and loved and given opportunity. But that's the American way. Right. I mean, that's our normal dialogue. That and the deficit, which I'd love to get to, since Rob was lead or leave, if people know. He was like a Gen X leader for attacking the deficit. We don't even talk about the deficit. And by the way, are we even talking Are we? Where are we talking? Where are we looking?
It wasn't
We
one question.
don't even talk about foreign policy right now. What about China? I mean, there's some serious things that are happening in the world. We're talking about racism in America as our main dialogue, and COVID and control. We're not even talking about what matters right now. So that's a big issue. When do we return to normalcy of what we're
The Democratic call in there. Let's look at the president's numbers from 2016, 196 to come forward 179. So higher turnout in this county. The president's not. He's got a ways to go. 80% there. We'll see if he can narrow the gap. And again, you're looking at these blue areas. You see the dots in the middle. These are your urban areas. This is all around America. Democrats running up in the urban areas. The question then is, how do the Republicans do in the suburbs? It's getting shellacked.
We're overlooking
there
straight
as he did 4 years ago. He's getting beat here.
Real quickly,
I just want to look quickly. Mecklenburg County, Charlotte in the suburbs. This is the most populous county in the state. 68 to 31 when you round up. 63 to 33. Again,
You heard it here first. You heard it here
it has the most votes in the state.
Yeah, and over here,
Let's check in with David Shelley, and he's making
Right.
very close look at North Carolina as well.
I am indeed. Well, first I just want to show you this board here. These are the states
He's up
that Joe
300,000
Biden
right
is
now, but
bringing
it's
in
still
that Donald Trump won 4 years ago. North Carolina, as you were just
just letting
discussing,
those
John,
people in the audience
he's
know
got
we're
a
watching CNN and Fox in the
1.77
background at the same
point
time as
lead
you
over Donald
probably
Trump.
are as
In
well.
Ohio, he's just under a 2 percentage point lead.
Yeah,
over
oh my
Donald Trump.
God,
In
it's so true,
He's
Jeff.
got just over a 2
It's
percentage
my
point
pearls,
lead
right?
over
Eric,
Donald Trump.
and I-
Three states that Donald Trump won 4 years ago. Let's look at North Carolina and look at what's going on there. What you see the state of play right now, you see that Joe Biden has 2.385 million votes compared to Donald Trump's 2.30.
That was the big story for the past 3 months. The betting
Estimated
network.
vote in. But here's what we have to look out for.
Can I pick up on something, Judd, you said, and like expand this out to like
Early
a
vote. So look, of
bigger
this
picture.
80% of the vote that's in,
you said pop, Dave, you said why
90% of it right now in North Carolina statewide
people used
is
to watch the
early
debates.
vote. We
Right.
think that's going to come down. We
We
think that
can't
at the
be
end of the
policy
night,
now.
75%
Here's why.
of the total North
Because
Carolina
we live in
vote
a
will be
situation
early
of that
vote.
thing.
So
We
right
live in
now,
an era
the early vote is
where
helping
the
Joe
role of the
Biden.
president
But as
not
more
necessarily
election
a
day
figurehead,
votes in
but
North
it is
Carolina,
it is you
Donald Trump
you
may
are
be able to
not the
benefit from that. So we
policymaker
just
in
gotta
chief.
keep watching,
You may
as
want it, you may direct a course, but you've got a
All right, David,
legislature
thank you
that's
very
really
much.
gonna
North Carolina, it's really
driving
important
that.
right now. Look at
And I'm not
80% of the
saying
vote is
policies
in.
are good or
Biden's lead
bad.
has gone
I'm
down from
saying
150,000 to now 84,000.
And
You know,
David was just outlining the challenge for Joe Biden in North Carolina, in Ohio,
Hillary had
in any
no
of the battleground
capacity
states,
to
which
be
is
an
the Democrats
emotional
were
leader.
happy
Trump is a
with
leader,
their
no
early
question.
voting.
He inspires,
Many of the states,
Biden
if you
has
look at the
200
data,
cars from the rally.
disproportionately
Trump has
through
20,000
Democrats. So they got a
standing
couple
up
laps in, if you will,
freezing,
on the
waiting for it.
Republicans.
He
That's
clearly-
great. It's great to be leading the race.
250
To finish the race.
No, the last one
To
he
finish
has
the race today, on election
but
day.
still,
And that was
200
the
cars.
Philadelphia.
200 cars.
That was
I mean,
a concern.
whatever,
I
200
can't
cars. I
imagine
can almost
going
get
around. How many
200
rallies
cars.
did he have in Pennsylvania? How many rallies did he have in North Carolina?
We got to be
Michigan,
all
the
roughly the
president
same age.
retracing
That
the
was a
2016
United
map, trying to get
Right.
voters out of the woodwork to vote today. And so as David makes the point here,
Shut up,
he's
shut up.
120-something, 111, now to 84,000 votes ahead.
It's
You
just
want to be
like-
in the lead.
so
You'd
when I
rather be in
get
the
it,
lead
you've
always,
gotta
of
be
course.
personality,
But now we're going to
and
keep
you
counting these
gotta
election day votes.
your
And so in
personality
some of
does
these
that,
places,
because you're
you're
trying
in
to
more
motivate
rural
people.
counties. I
So
keep
I
coming
feel
back
like
out to
that's
here.
why personality
95% in.
matters.
If you're Joe Biden, you're happy.
The
Because
debates
this
are a
is
joke.
one of these Trump super counties.
I
This really
would
had a rally the
encourage
other
you
day.
to watch
You
the
hope that
debate.
there's not
I
many
watch
more
them
votes
because
to
I
come
had to.
here.
They're a
I
You
joke.
can
think
see
the
the
way
margin,
they're
right?
formatted
Just
was
shy
a
of
joke.
30,000
There's
votes.
been a lot of
Margin
talk
here.
about
You come
the
back
fact
4
that
years
most
ago,
people
same
that were
idea.
moderate
President ran it up there by about 27,000, and you loosely run
Sorry,
up. This
that
is
was
this
the
is
second
this
he
is-
did, okay?
I
The
call it
second
super
guy,
counties
what was
where
his name?
they go there for a
Scully,
reason
that was
because they know
called
they have
out
voters
beating
that they can
Mooch.
turn out on
Okay.
election day, and that
then
was
the
the challenge.
third,
Now we're going to see.
the
The Democrats
NBC
don't have to beat Donald Trump today in the election day vote. They don't have to beat him, but they have to be competitive. They can't get, if they get shellacked today, you lose the.
You guys have been able to hear us.
Can
Yeah, we
you hear
don't.
us
Bruce,
now? Can
Bruce,
you hear us now?
Bruce, we don't need any background at all. Just us.
Maybe some Kanye.
Yeah, if we have music, yeah.
or Little Pimp. who I just learned about last night for the first time in my life.
Little
Pump.
pump.
Little pump.
Little pump.
I have one interjection because, for 20 years we've been doing an election party. So I'm just going to let you know, I'm going to be leaving in a few minutes. I think you have another guest coming. I'll be coming back. I have a bunch of people in the front house who love Trump privately in California. I got
to. Here's my question to all you guys. So, because you guys are all pretty much in the camp of the Trump camp, clearly, and I'm not. So here's my question, and it's true on both sides of this issue. It's true on the left and the right. It's true on the Trump and the Biden. I mean, at least a lot of Biden supporters will now admit they're only for Biden because he's not Trump, and they don't really care what Biden does or doesn't do, and they would have been for anybody who wasn't Trump, right? At least some people will admit that. I mean, let's be honest. There's very few people who can, with a straight face, go, I'm for Biden because he's a visionary leader and do anything. It's like, I'm for Biden because he's not Trump. Like, he could literally be dead.
That's a statistic.
He could be dead.
They say 60% of Biden voters have been polled that they're voting for Biden against Trump.
Yeah, totally.
90% of the people that are voting for Trump are voting for Trump because they like Trump.
I agree.
That's a huge difference.
I agree. But here's my question to both sides. Why can't you guys as Trump supporters ever acknowledge you talk about not liking the divide, but you will never give neither will they, but you'll give no ground. So to me as an independent, I'm looking for both sides to acknowledge imperfection. You guys will give no ground. You won't even admit Trump is a narcissist. The guy's a narcissist.
That's not true.
That's a blanket statement.
Yeah. No, it's not. I'm just saying from what I've heard.
Passion for what's great about a candidate doesn't mean we're not looking at the shadow of that same candidate. I mean, democracy is taking the best of the available options. Yeah. So Trump's the best available options. I'm going to be passionate about what works. He's got 340 great achievements. Most of them were down the party line for me. I feel excited about that. I feel excited about his productivity. I feel excited about America being proud of ourselves instead of the Obama shame years, the America shame years of Obama. I was always just telling us how bad we were and unjust we were and how unequal it was. It wasn't inspiring. The guy's inspired a lot of us. So it's not that we don't see what isn't working well in his personality, but it's like that troublesome friend you have in high school. You're still going to invite him to parties. That's how Trump
I'm not even asking. That's great. I'm not even asking for on the personality stuff. I'm saying, if we're going to heal the divide in this country, both sides are going to have to start giving some credence to some part of the other side. And right now, you're a good example, and I know you well, Judd. You won't give, it's like you're here, and it's your vision and your view. And even when you came on the show with my other guests, you wouldn't even acknowledge a little bit. And I'm just saying, you could go, well, no, because I'm 100% right. Sides are going to be 100% right. We're just going to keep ripping this country apart until both sides go, these are my core values. But I can see, you're not the Antichrist over there. I mean, the same for that side. Going, you're not all
more from the left than it is from the right.
The right looks pretty harshly on people on the left. No, I don't mean the ultra leftists. I mean the left side of the divide. Okay.
I don't know if you were about to say something.
No.
Okay. So here's the thing. All right. I'm one of those individuals that truly believe that I think most people can agree on the ends. We may not agree on the means. We all want good environment. Nobody wants to be in a war. We all want a good economy. We want people to be self-sufficient. Okay. And then the question then comes down to, all right, well, then it really is a binary choice between, do we achieve that through a centralized burgeoning government that is going to tax us out of existence and then determine which of us get their goodies, or do we trust rugged individuals, capitalism and free markets? That is the divide. Everything else, I believe, is truly just noise that is created by the partisans on the far left and the far right, that the media perpetuate and creates us in this civil war environment. Most people will agree on the ends. Now, again, the question then comes down to, can we figure out the solutions? Now, I am a firm believer that, listen, I don't believe Donald Trump is a racist. Do I believe he's a blowhard? Do I believe he's a clinical narcissist? I've met a lot of very successful business owners in their life. Many multimillionaires, many billionaires have the same entrepreneur gene that Donald Trump has. For him to be successful, for him to create that kind of wealth that is otherworldly for most people. He has to have that level of personality. And those people are very, very hard to work for. And so we're seeing that raw right now, him as a president, because he is not a politician. But again, I come back to the Middle East, tax cuts, regulatory reform, him fighting the deep state, him fighting the media. He is a champion for all of us that have frustrated all of these different issues for 30, 40, 50 years. And we see the Bill Kristols and the Jeb Bushes and the Lincoln Clubbers that are out there. And these are people that have just gone along to get along. They're happy because they get their cookies from MSNBC and CNN, and they're the Chamber of Commerce Republicans. And what have they done? They've the river to China and NAFTA. And you know what? People have woken up and have had enough because of this president, like him or not.
Well, Dave's got a strong point of view.
That's the passion.
But okay, go ahead. I want you to go with this. But again, I hear you, but you just proved my point, which is if I'm a Democrat or a liberal out there and I hear what you said, more and more emphatic as you went down it, there is no room for my views. Basically, everything or want or value has been thrown under the bus. You've made it a binary choice. We can either go this way or we can go to a bloated deep state government boom. So anything I value, and that gets
that is the choice.
But it isn't. It isn't.
There is no middle ground when
There's
you have a binary
ground.
choice election, because
There's
you've got
common ground.
socialism or capitalism.
No.
Those are the choices of the future of this country. That's my point about the binary choice.
Yeah.
See, and I don't
As
think
far as
that's really
faults
where
are
we are.
concerned, I really believe that the Democrats are not able to take the plank out of their own eye before just understanding that everybody has flaws. No, is the man perfect? He's not perfect. Nobody's perfect. Do you know anybody who's perfect? I mean, raise your hand if you know anybody who's perfect. I certainly do not. I've made my fair share of mistakes. I've said probably more disgusting things Trump said to Billy Bush in the freaking green room 11 years before he ran for office. You know, it's like we say things, and then if they're caught on
What was
tape,
her name?
Yeah, I was gonna
I'm
say.
sorry, I'm gonna
it
I was
just
gonna
started
say,
with a P and
you were
ended with a
making-
Y. That
No,
was
I
her
meant
name.
her name.
But
So
I think there's an incapability on the side of the left to be a little bit more forgiving. I mean, you want us to admit fault, but I think they need to be a little bit more forgiving that everybody is human and nobody is perfect, and they can't expect Donald Trump to be perfect. And Obama certainly wasn't perfect, and I didn't see this kind of disruption in the country, then, and him being called all these names.
Right.
It's like it's very, very one-sided.
I agree.
And now we're fighting this one-sided battle. And typically conservatives are more like libertarian. We have like a libertarian mindset. You leave me alone, I'll leave you alone. Everybody's fine. But now it's like, the enemy never sleeps. The evil never sleeps. This is one thing I talk about all the time. And they just keep hammering you. And it gets old after a while.
So-
when you just want to look at really the nuts and bolts of what's happening, the actual policies, actual state of the nation, the actual things that he is doing to make the country better, instead of just coddling everybody's feelings.
And here's what I would say, and I'm not picking on you guys for it. I'm saying
I appreciate it.
I
No,
get
I actually
why
appreciate
you
it.
feel the defensiveness you feel.
Trump's
I feel
leading
like-
in Virginia and Michigan.
Yeah, we're
Keep
gonna
going.
just do I just noticed that. Let's take a short break for a moment. Yeah,
That's
Trump is
CNN.
leading big in Michigan, but it's early. But he is leading
It's
big in
early.
Michigan. But he's like
And
by a
it's-
lot,
and
like
he's,
double
and
the
he-
vote.
and he's down by about 30,000 in North Carolina right now.
So he's closing the gap. He's closing the gap.
95,000,
He's closing the gap.
95% in.
He's closing the gap in North Carolina. It's going to be close there. So what I'm saying is, I feel like that plays right into the media's hand.
They just called North Carolina for Donald
That's
Trump.
South
Oh, no,
Carolina.
that's South Carolina. I'm
South
sorry.
Carolina.
Dave got so
Sorry.
excited.
North
There's
Carolina.
Dave got
captions.
so
There's
excited.
captions, and I'm not wearing my glasses.
Poor Rob, I
They
feel like
got so
you're
excited.
independent sandwich in a.
I am.
Oh,
But
that's
I'm
so
gonna
exciting.
be an independent sandwich because the truth is, if I have a liberal here on this corner here, it's going to just be a shout. It's going to be it's going to be it's going to just be yelling.
Right.
So I'm happy to be the independent. That's why we do Smack and Cheese,
Wow.
Judd, where it's
Right.
the conservative and the independent, because I feel like that is the audience that can be won, is this middle audience, this independent. And there's a lot of them. And I feel like a lot of conservatives play into the media's hands by being, we have to be defensive, we have to be boom, boom, when in reality, I feel like much of the country they know the media is Dave said that the media is trying to divide us. I think much of the country feels that, and they're looking for anyone to step away and be the olive branch. won't. Well, the left won't. You're right. Let them keep being extreme. If the right goes, look, our ideas are good and there's room for you and there's room for your ideas too. It doesn't have to literally be socialism or capitalism, because it's not. We're not going to become a socialist.
I think
country.
it is.
Even if we're not.
I think we are looking at strategy. Hey, this is called controlled chaos, so I'm going to create a little chaos.
Here comes Judd.
Just got somebody from our party
just
let us know the betting odds. Back to Sussman's earlier comment of whiskey politics. The betting odds just flipped in favor of Trump, just like 2016 when he started to move toward winning.
Yeah.
So
we're going to
see.
We
shall see.
Yeah, they
I'm
just
gonna be
flipped.
doing the Trump
They
dance
just flipped
all
tonight.
night long.
They've been very heavy
heavy
in
Biden.
Biden's camp for the last 3
And
months.
this has nothing to do with racism. We're just happy about America.
Stop it. They had to bring up racism, didn't you?
Stop being such a racist.
So listen,
Oh, again, Judd's never going to wear this out.
Rob, you've got an absolute valid point, because I think that for a lot of Republicans, especially for those people that want to be able to work with everybody to try to make America a better country, we want to sit down. We want to try and bridge the divide. The problem is that this president, and we know now this is an absolute fact, we've all interviewed people that can attest to this, is that they tried to take this president out during the campaign and they never stopped. They never gave him a chance to breathe. The fact that this president was able to do everything that he got done in his first 4 years with a Democrat Congress that was sanctioned by the Hillary campaign, that started from their dossier that they paid for, and it went all the way through to literal impeachment for the same thing that Joe Biden actually did. They impeached the president for something Joe Biden did, and it wasn't Trump. Is that, okay, well, geez, let the foot off of the accelerator for a minute and let's sit down and try and work this out. Where's the infrastructure bill? Let's try and figure out Obamacare. I mean, we had our own fifth columns in the first 2 years. Remember John McCain with Obamacare?
Hold on, I'm going to stop you. Hold on. But here's where I'm going to push. Again, I don't think you're wrong. I'm trying to find a common ground.
Yeah.
So Republicans, for half of Obama's administration and all of Trump's administration, had a shot to offer a vision on healthcare, and they did not do it. It was anti-Obamacare, which was Obamacare was a train wreck. Anti-Obamacare. Suddenly they were in control of Congress, and it was just still Obamacare can now go away, replaced with a vision. That's an example of where I'm saying, like, a chance to offer something, a defined, thought out plan for America, and Republicans didn't do it. So to just say it's all Democrats, it isn't. And maybe that was kind of coming together. I think that was healthcare is a great example where the divide was just kind of this or this, and it's socialism or not. And the reality is it's never going to be one or the other. We're going to find a balance.
We'll always have big government.
We'll always have some big government.
Free markets. That's true.
Yeah.
Whose girlfriend is this, or friend?
This is one of my best friends.
Okay, there we go.
Hey, Brett.
We need to create a relationship problem with that one.
Do we have music in the background?
Hey, I also know Michael Loftus is going
What
to be
is
coming in
this
soon.
playing?
Michael Loftus is going to be coming soon. And he just let us know, Michael Loftus from the Loftus Party and Fox Nation, that Trump seems to have the lead in Ohio.
Yes,
so
he does.
tracking that.
And here's another.
Not on CNN.
Hold on. Before you guys, I'm just to a Hillary here.
So
You guys are getting all excited.
we're
You
not.
guys- you're getting all
we're not the
excited.
only ones that are thinking Trump is about to win this thing. China's yuan, okay, is
No
tanking.
way.
It's absolutely
Wow.
tanking
Oh,
right
yes.
Well,
That's
I'm
really bad.
saying here. Listen, guys.
now. What does
listen,
that? What does
I'm
that
giving-
say about China and Biden?
Yeah. Well, okay. We can go there. we can go there, but
That's interesting.
we can go there. Look,
Just look at the laptop.
Listen, I lived in China in the 1980s for 4 months. I can tell you from back then when I was at Tufts studying, international studies, I used to say, and no one even knew much about it, I would be like, China is their mission is to simply become the world's most powerful force, the most powerful economy, and they are going to wait the U.S. out. They're like, we can take 50 years while you guys just keep digging your own hole. So the blinders the U.S. has had on China, and I'll give Trump credit for pulling those blinders off. Other presidents knew it. They were afraid to pull them off because they're sort of like, well, we're like a drug addict in China. We need the cheap labor. We need, right? We need to buy your products, right? So I get it. But I think all I'm suggesting is I'm going to keep coming back to this. We no matter who wins, we got to find common ground. All I meant by don't do a Hillary is they were all so excited. Look, we're going to win. And then at about like 10 o'clock, everyone. And by the way, can I just tell a quick story about Hillary after after the election, the next day, I was at a film festival because I'd made a movie. It was a documentary, and it was in Napa, and it was a lot of liberals. And we came to the day after the election, and there was a big thing. It was like we were doing something where we were. It was like a seminar thing, and everyone gathered together, and people were crying, and it's tears. And I'm like, you guys, okay, she lost the election. People were like, this is the worst day in American history. It's the end of the world. It's the end of America. It's the end of the government as we know. It's the end of life. And literally the keynote person was supposed to be there didn't come because they were staying home, keeping their kids home to comfort their kids. They're like 10-year-old kids. And I literally looked at this room of liberals and I was like, are you guys insane? Like, this is not the end of the world for you. 4 more years, you can elect someone else. The Constitution, the Republic is fine. And people were just like, I don't know. And it was like, oh my God. So I feel like they were all brokenhearted too quick. So
you think that 4 years later, when they were all still alive and flourishing and the world hadn't gone into nuclear war, that they would actually be like, oh, maybe we were all duped for a second. You know, can we talk about China again for one second? I told you about Hong Kong, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know if I told you about Hong Kong. When I was
this is good. Yeah, everybody pay attention to okay, Michael Opt is ready, but we hear Carmen's story because you did something really cool. She did. She stuck up for her principles and our shared principles as a democracy.
My principles.
Go for it. Now to sell yourself.
So
you have to set up. Go.
Last July of 2019, myself and Joey Gibson went to Hong Kong because the media was not covering the story. They weren't covering what was going on in Hong Kong almost at all. But on one weekend, Hong Kong had 2 million of its citizens on the street. And they only have 7.5 million citizens in Hong Kong. So that's almost a third of their population was on the street rallying against basically China. So rallying against the Hong Kong CEO and her new bills that were coming down the pike, but really rallying against China, right? And so we saw this on, small little, media outlets online. And we said, we need to go to Hong Kong. Let's go document this. Let's go get on the front lines and see what these people are going through. Let's find some real spiritual fortitude and some real patriotism because we've never seen anything like that, right?
Let me interrupt you for saying so people understand, because I don't think a lot of people know. The issue they were going to deal with was, and she said they were rallying against China. Hong Kong is since the late 90s been
1997
been its own sort of autonomous state, but China still controls it. But it's sort of a free market version of China before China even let any of that in.
Right.
And they had a lot of independence, a lot of economic independence, a lot of really political and social independence. Yeah. And in the last year, China realized that they needed to crack down on Hong Kong, and they passed some kind of laws that would prevent. To us, they might seem not great.
Allowed
extradition, right?
Yes, there was a bill, it was an extradition bill. So if you were a criminal in Hong Kong, you would be extradited to mainland China. Well, they knew that if they got extradited to mainland China for processing, they were never coming back to their free society. Right. So it's basically one country, two systems. Hong Kong's a democracy, China is communist, and so these.
But again, because I know people get lost in the details of that. The point is, it may seem an extradition law. China was making clear, we are going to control Hong Kong. We will silence political dissent. We will arrest people we want arrested. And when the Hong Kongers, what do they call them? Hong Kongers reacted. Our protests here, like you get out a school card to go protest today here. Like if you want to go to a protest, it's like, you get a badge.
You probably get
they were literally being told, we will punish you for protesting. And yet millions of people came out because they knew the literal fate of freedom was on the line. And that's what you guys walked into.
That's right. So
that's a real protest.
1997, Hong Kong was given back to China from the British. They have until the year 2047 before they actually have to take them over, governmentally. So Hong Kong is supposed to be a free democratic society until the year 2047. But these bills started coming down the pike because the CEO of Hong Kong, they have a CEO, not a president. The CEO of Hong Kong, Carrie Lam, started working too closely with the Chinese government in Beijing and started writing these bills that were going to infringe on the freedoms of the Hong Kongers. And so they said, absolutely not. We're not allowing this to happen. So they started protesting every weekend. And they got bigger and bigger. And there was 2 million of them on the street in one weekend. That's when we said we need to go. So we literally just got plane tickets as fast as possible. We went to Hong Kong. It was unbelievable what we saw. They dismantled what is considered the Capitol building there. It's like their legislative center. What they did was they very peacefully in the middle of the night took it apart. They dismantled it. And then they built a barrier on the streets with all the parts of the building. And they built the barrier for the police so the police couldn't get to them. But they wanted to send a message basically saying, we're taking our government back. We're taking them back, right? So they did that. And they were as peaceful as possible. They were great people. And there was two things that the Hong Kongers said to us when we were there, two main things. And one of them is, we so wish that we had a Second Amendment. Was the one thing that they said to us. They were like, wow. And they would hold up signs saying, we need a Second Amendment. The other thing that they said was, we love President Trump. He's the only president in the history that has ever stood up to communist China. Send this message back to him. Can you please get our message back to Donald Trump? Please tell him how much we appreciate him and that we just absolutely love what he stands for, and that he is standing against the CCP because he's the only president that will do it. And they were so grateful. I mean, every time they knew we were Americans, because we actually we went and bought an American flag. On the 4th of July, we bought an American flag and we started flying it in front of the Chinese army complex that's in the heart of Hong Kong. And I thought we were going to get killed, but, we did it anyways. And, they have machine guns, the Chinese army just standing on the side of the fence, looking at you with machine guns, looking at us crazy Americans flying flags on the other side. It was our 4th of July. And so we thought, what a better way to celebrate freedom while the Hong Kongers are protesting too. And what ended up happening was we flew an American flag that night at their rally, a huge rally that they had. And people were actually afraid of the flag at first because they thought that we were working with American CIA, and China has a media monopoly. And they told all their citizens, their 1.4 billion citizens in China, that America, CIA, was working with the Hong Kongers. And that's the only reason why the Hong Kongers were protesting.
Can I be respectfully chaotic?
Sure.
Texas, obviously going to Trump. Nevada, too close to call. Keep going.
Texas?
Wisconsin. Trump's ahead
That way you
in
keep
Wisconsin.
going.
It's my cute dog.
Trump's ahead in Wisconsin.
Here's
Here's quick updates on this stuff. And you guys are probably
What's
watching
this? What's
other
this?
things. No, Wisconsin's leaning Trump right now. Michigan, it can all change, but he's
How
blowing
have they?
out in
How have
Michigan.
they not called Florida yet? It's almost 4 percentage points.
Because they're doing it on purpose. They're hurting a lot of
They
states
called
back.
Virginia
Yeah.
like the second
Did
it
you see
opened.
the numbers
Yeah.
flip though on Virginia? Did you see it
It's
now?
going to get real close because of
No, it flipped.
Washington,
Trump's
D.C.
way ahead of Virginia.
No, I know, but they're expecting
The neighbor.
D.C., the suburbs around
Right.
D.C. to come in. That's
Right.
normal every
Right.
year.
Right.
In 2012, I thought Romney was going to win, and Virginia was the year that Virginia flipped, and it just took forever because so many people moved out into the suburbs from D.C. They're government workers, right? So
Sure.
so that's probably what's happening right now. They're waiting for it, but Ilhan Omar is reelected.
Oh,
Shocking.
So there's a tweet here from my friend
Judd
Cindy
left his seat.
Watson, and she says it's time to build
Judd
a
has
wall
left
around
his seat.
Minnesota.
Yes, this is what I'm
Lindsey
looking at.
Lindsey Graham,
Wow.
Senator Lindsey Graham was just reelected.
Oh, yes.
Shocking.
That's a big one.
I love it.
So right now, the only Democrat flip right now is Hickenlooper from Cory Gardner in Colorado.
That's sad.
That was
really nice.
expected.
Right.
I called it blue. Okay, with my 319 votes, I said Colorado's going blue, and the Senate's going to lose a seat. I think we're going to pick up John James in Michigan tonight as a
Who's
flip.
this baby?
I'm here. I'm present, but this dog is
This dog came into the
This is
room.
our neighbor's
Is that
dog.
Toto?
It-
Who just
the dog came over.
Yeah.
The neighbor's
Right?
dog came
It's
to
a
join
Trump.
us.
So this vote. All right.
Trump's increasing his lead in Georgia, according to Pam.
Spitfire Pam.
Sorry,
Control
sorry, Pam.
chaos.
I don't have my
Control
glasses.
Tammy.
Dave's going to be doing a lot of squinting.
And
That's what
Sarah says, "So proud of you, Carmen. You got some friends."
Yeah.
Yeah, Carmen's got the
I
friends.
have one or two friends. What do you
Calling in
think?
for calling in. For
Racists can have friends too.
Well, now she's okay.
Hey, I want to say I would only bring a dog into a show called Control Chaos during your point, David. So I want to be on your show.
Can we-
No, dogs
But
are.
she was
I'm
going
a
to
dog
finish.
person.
Okay.
No, I want Jen to talk a little bit. Jen's being really quiet over here.
We can tell. I don't have show.
Oh, we have Michael coming in.
You know.
Well, he's
Michael
here.
Loftus.
Okay. Well, is he ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's bring him in. Hey,
and
Loftus.
then we got all
Where are
night.
you? Nice to see you there.
Hey, there he is.
Glad you could join us with your brick wall. There we go.
Hey,
That's
thank
nice.
you so much.
We got that's a
We
nice
don't-
record.
we
We
don't
can't
have
hear you though.
audio.
We can't hear you. Hold on, Michael.
Oh no. Oh
There he is.
no.
Now we can hear you.
We hear you
That
now.
was so close. That was so
West
close.
Coast.
How we doing? How we doing over there?
Is New York about to flip, Michael?
I'm sorry?
Is New York about to flip? Did
I hope
Trump get
so.
New York yet? No.
I haven't been able to watch much. I'm just getting caught up. I can't believe it's this close. I cannot believe some of these states are this close. It's very disheartening. Here's my story. It's the media and big tech. That's it. That they managed to get this old, withered Joe Biden this far is scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mike, you make an interesting point. I was actually just sort of pivot to that. You know how we use those words like pivot? What's the other one? Unpack. Unpack. Everyone says it. We got a lot to unpack in that. They say that on CNN all the time. We have a lot to unpack when someone says something.
It sounds very official.
It sounds like pivot and unpack. We're going to pivot and unpack, Michael. No, about the culture thing. I think in some ways this, what's happening in our culture right now in terms of the censorship and the canceling of people, it goes beyond whoever wins this election. That would be my thing to you, Michael. I mean, you're in New York. You're right. The media had a lot to do and the social platforms did. But I don't think it matters who wins. That process is going to continue. That, to me, is the real threat. People talk about the Second Amendment. Second Amendment's fine. It's not going away. No one's ever going to take everyone's guns away. That's a fantasy on the right that guns are going to get taken away. They're not. It's just not going to happen in America. No, it's not. Any more than abortion's going to be outlawed. It's the two social extremes. They're going to, it's like the left goes, they're going to make abortion illegal everywhere. They're not going to make it illegal everywhere. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. They're not going to take all guns away. But the social platforms will censor us, Michael, no matter who wins.
All the time.
They will keep censoring people. Trump will
I have to disagree with you on the guns thing, because in the last 6 months, I watched the federal government, the state government tell people you're not allowed to go to work. Now, you think that Americans would stand up for their rights and they go, screw you, I'm going to work. They didn't. They folded like deck chairs. And
they folded like deck chairs because of the disease. They maybe, again, the media, maybe
fear is the ultimate slave master. And the media is brilliant at using fear as the ultimate slave master. And they can do it with anything.
But they haven't done it
with guns. They're doing it with guns.
No, but here's my point.
They highlight the one, mass shooting instead of highlighting the fact that, hundreds of people are getting killed by just pistols every single weekend in Chicago.
But my point is they haven't, all that around guns and gun violence for years has gone on. At some point, I just think you lose the middle, and it's a huge block of people when it's like restricting certain kinds of guns and certain kinds of, gun laws are not going to take guns are never going away. Even if you outlaw them, they're not going away.
Pennsylvania, Trump is up 50.1%.
Yeah.
My happy Trumpers here.
It's only 26% in, and it's going to be a few days before we hear Pennsylvania. Hopefully, they don't need Pennsylvania.
Oh, by the way, there's a great riot later. If you guys
came down to LA, man. We're ready.
I think Michael might be ready.
You got your armored tank with you, right?
I did. I brought my tank.
Michael, are you hunkered down over there? I mean, do you think there's going to be New York rioting? What's the prediction?
Well, if Trump wins, there'll be rioting. But if Biden wins, we all have to go to work tomorrow. We have to worry how to feed our family. This was hilarious how the media had their hands in a twist. Ooh, will the right riot? Yeah. Oh yeah. Because we've been rioting all summer long. We just all dressed up like Antifa and burned down buildings. That was all like Boogie Woogie Boys and the Platonic Thunderwumps, or whatever the hell names they're making up. That was an absolute joke. Once again, the media.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So, Michael, how do you get around that? Because you're part of the media too, right? We all are in some ways. I mean, I'm not saying we're part of that.
It's your fault.
It's your fault, Michael. You're in the media. No, but seriously, how do we? It's all your fault. And you know what, Michael? Change a few things. You could look Antifa there, just darken that jacket up. There you go. That's Michael.
Backpack.
Show me the thug look. Come on, show us the conservative thug look. What conservative thug?
There is no conservative thug. There's just conservative sex appeal.
There it is.
Nice.
Nice.
Kelly, quick, saw your message, buddy. Yeah, this is not going to be another Romney night.
And we put the thugs in jail. That's actually the conservative take on thugs, by the way.
Okay, that's a whole nother discussion. You want to go there?
Well, actually, I want to say that one of your our viewers just came on and said a prayer for the election. I like that. I think that's great. Yeah, why does somebody read it?
Hold on, wait. Okay, hold on. So, again, I just feel like
I think it's the Carmen.
No, it is. So I'm okay with. Again, I'm just trying to balance this out, okay? So there's people who aren't religious. So you can read the prayer. It's up there. we're not giving the prayer out, okay? Is that all right?
Yeah, you can read the prayer.
No,
right? Separation of church and media.
People can read it.
There you go. You're repressing us again.
No, I'm not. I'm just again, because everything divides, okay? So it's like there's a lot of religious people who aren't Christians. So, that's fine, but it becomes a divisive thing when it's sort of like it's our God, your God.
Well, let's go there.
We are talking about politics here, right?
Yeah, let's.
You know what? The healing in this country is going to happen when people on both sides realize that we do not win if we remain divided. That doesn't mean we don't have differences
over politics. 76% of Americans are politics, and under Trump, we feel like we can actually be public about being spiritual, religious.
Public
why do you think, Rob, we
You're
just had more people vote in the past couple of weeks, I guess it is, or however long this thing is. We had more people vote than since 1860 or something? Mm-hmm. I mean, this is absolutely insane. Why do you think people are so motivated to vote? And it looks like Trump's going to win. Why?
Why do I think people are motivated to vote?
Yeah, well, it's so
both
many.
Sides?
Yeah.
Both sides?
Mm-hmm.
Well, oddly, I don't think it's a good reason. I mean, I'm glad people are voting. But I think because both sides have been paralyzed with fear. The left and the mainstream left of center media has driven a narrative for 4 years that Donald Trump is threatening the very existence of the Republic. The very fate of America hangs in the balance. If I heard one more time Adam Schiff talk about how the Constitution, this is the end of the Constitution, I'm like, guys, you can vote him out of office in 4 years. He won't leave. He'll leave. He won't leave. Marshals will come in and make him leave. Like, we're not going to have a military coup. So they've made people feel like it's the end of the world. And so everyone's like, you got to vote to get rid of Trump. And on the other side, I think conservatives feel, and there's at least some truth in conservative fears that the censorship is affecting people. That's legit.
This is my mother, by the way.
Your mother, Shalom. We're supposed to be the United States, not the divided states. That's a great point. And all I'm saying is the united take work. So I think people are voting out of fear. And I think either side, I said this to Judd the other day on our show, this is not the most consequential election in history. It's a big one. It's a consequential time. But whoever wins, even if it's Biden for you guys, America's not going to become a socialist country and everything's going to stop. In 4 years, people will push back and they'll be like, let's elect someone who's.
Rob, can I say every quadrennial election, and I'm a naturalized.
What's a quadrennial election?
Every 4 years, every presidential election.
Big
okay.
Remember.
So
work with me.
So did you play Foursquare in elementary school?
What is Foursquare? What is Foursquare?
Quadrennial.
I thought it's
quadrennial.
So I'm a naturalized.
Where is it square?
I'm a naturalized citizen. I came here as a kid from England. Didn't have much of an accent.
Oh, you're from England?
Yeah, originally. I only lived there for 8 years. So say if I stayed for another 2 years, a strong accent. But anyway, and my understanding of this as a country, we are, again, most of us were probably a 52, 48, 51, 49 country. We've always been that way, even Reagan, and we come back to, Clinton, Bush, and so on and so forth. The difference today, and why I think so many conservatives are so scared to death over this particular brand of leftism we're seeing is that this isn't your JFK party. Mm-hmm. This isn't even the party of Clinton anymore. What we have seen over the past 4 years is the burgeoning social. We looked at Joe Biden as a Manchurian candidate. He was a Trojan horse. We know Joe Biden. He was a moderate for most of his years. He kind of was a weather vane. He kind of went with whether the wind blows. And he still is, kind of right? But he was, he wasn't going to last a year, never mind 4. And that Kamala Harris, who he appointed, didn't win one delegate. And she is the most leftist, the most liberal senator in a Senate body that includes Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. He was a Trojan horse. He was on puppet strings. And so that is an existential threat to the country, because the things that they wanted to do is not what even Clinton or even Obama would have done.
They're anti-American.
I agree that the left in America, we've talked about the left in America is the far left, and what that movement is trying to do, and that's all this thought censorship and the canceling and the whole idea that, again, it's the critical race theory. If you want to go, that's a complicated thing out there, everybody. Critical race theory is basically, how do you explain critical race theory? Basically, the idea, when you see the idea that if somebody says something and it's not fitting in the narrative of the other side, you're canceled for it. You're not allowed to have dissent. You're not allowed to have pushback. You're not allowed, everything is the white racist sort of power oppressor. So you're not even allowed math. Throw math out, because math's a white guy's construct. Throw reason out. It's a white guy's construct. You're not even allowed to have another opinion. It's very much what happened in the leftist regimes in China, Chairman Mao, and the leftist regimes in the Soviet Union back in with Lenin, Trotsky, in Cuba. So I get it. But all I'm saying is, I don't actually think that's going on, Dave, is my point. That's going on, period. That's going on beyond. It's not about Biden. That's going on in the underneath the candidates. That leftist drive. So
we're talking about apples and oranges here. We're talking about apples and oranges. We've already seen as Americans what happens when you get a Democrat in the White House and then the Democrats have the House and the Senate. You get something like Obamacare, which fundamentally changes America. And they did that in the middle of the night without dissent. Even Nancy Pelosi didn't know what was in the bill. They didn't care. They had the opportunity to grab power, and they went for it. And if that were to happen again with Joe Biden and then Nancy Pelosi in the House and the Senate, good Lord, they're going to start. They haven't said that they wouldn't stack the Supreme Court and pack it and have like rotating people on the Supreme Court. And let's make Puerto Rico a state and DC's a state.
Right. Well, and look, and the adding the states is definitely one. The packing the courts, they may try to pack the courts if they win. Look, I don't think they're going to get control of the Senate. I think Dave's right. I don't think that's going to happen. But let's say worst case, it did. Thank you for the comments. You're okay with the prayer. I wasn't against the prayer, everybody. I just was saying we don't need to necessarily read the prayer. If someone here wants to make
you seem like you're very angry with the Lord.
Me? Wow. You know what? Okay, fair enough. I say Judd's not a racist. Now I'm not spiritual or whatever. I'm not angry with the Lord. I actually have had my own personal journey with faith, which we all do. And I'm sensitive to it because I'm a definite believer in God. I just I don't like to impose that on other people. And I feel like conservatives often get accused of that even when they're not. So if somebody, it's unfair that if they're, and I hate when people throw Christians or people who are religious under the bus as if somehow that's invalid. It's a huge part of one's moral landscape and how they see the world and how they live. And it shouldn't be, one's faith should never be questioned or discriminated.
We just got to pick up.
Okay, here we
Alabama
go.
Senate. Alabama Senate goes back to red.
Yay! Nice.
So that was a maybe.
I want to say this with Bullet Point Nation represented the Loftus Party and Mike's new Fox Nation channel, which we're all so excited to see.
Yes, congrats.
I'm going to pivot over to Mike. I'm going to go take care of all the other people we have at this big party. I'm going to be back. Rob, you're doing a great job. I'll bring you more chaos.
I'm holding my own.
You're killing it. I'm going to bring some more chaos.
Grab a liberal from your party. I don't know. Can you just bring one in?
Can you find one?
Can you find a liberal over there?
Let me call somebody. I'll be back. You guys are great. I'll see you in a few minutes. Thanks for coming in, Mike.
Michael.
Sure.
So here's my question for you. If you're honest, just be honest. Take the partisan hat off for a second. And I know you're not lying, but I'm saying just be totally honest in your gut. Do you, when you see what could happen, they passed Obamacare. Okay. But Republicans had a chance to undo that, and they kind of half-assed it and didn't have an alternative. I talked about that earlier. Yeah. Like, again, nothing they do can't be undone. It may take, I think the American people, I think if the things you're talking about start to happen, I think that the public's going to go, oh my, if Biden should win, be like, oh my God, what a mistake we just made. And they'll reverse that in the midterms. They'll take control of Congress away from Democrats, and they'll replace the president, Kamala Harris, who will probably be the president in 4 years. Like, our system allows for that to change, even if they stack the courts.
I love you, buddy. I love you, love you, love you. I love the naivete of it all. Once you were,
I was waiting for the butt, dude. Go ahead.
It was just a pure insult. There was no butt. It was just a skewer.
The insult is coming. I come not to praise Barry Caesar, but to praise Caesar. I
You
get
said
it.
in a beautiful
I
way.
get it. I love you, buddy.
Naivete.
I love you, buddy. I love you, buddy.
It
But
is
you're naivete.
naivete.
Let me just say, Loftus, before you finish, I'm just going to say you're in good company because Riles, who hired me at Fox News, would always say that to me. Something like that.
Did you get a little? Yeah. Well.
Has been unfairly maligned in a lot of ways. I will say this about him. I don't know what he did or didn't do with certain women. I can't speak for that. My relationship with him was, one, he called that shit out. He was cautious about it, not with him, with other people. It was like, thought Bill Riley was like a scumbag. Roger Ailes was an equal opportunity kind of jerk to people. He called everybody on their stuff. He thought television was a visual. So it was all about how you looked. He thought women should look hot. He thought guys should look good. He used to look at me and he'd be like, he'd look at me, he'd be like, Rob, you're a good looking guy. Come on, look better. Women like to look at you.
Can I just do a real?
I just want to say, I lost this. So before, my point is just this, that Roger Ailes liked to say I was naive too, and I don't think it's naivete, but go ahead. Thanks for saying I'm naive, but I can take it. I'm thick skinned. I'm not like the left.
Mike, do you have CNN or anybody on? Because I'm looking at Jake Tapper right now. Oh, I'm sorry, Jake Tapper. And the dude is just, you can see he's like got a cement smile. What's her name? Is that Dana Bash?
Well, they're afraid they're going to cry.
They are literally on the verge. I mean, the lower lips are quivering right now.
If Trump, here's the thing, if Trump becomes president, a part of me wants Trump to win simply because, this is a horrible reason, but simply because, look, I don't hold my dislike for CNN. My dislike for CNN is not as much about the politics, which it's about on what they do. And their complete distortion, misrepresentation, refusal to acknowledge that they do it, refusal to give Trump credit for anything, even things, he made peace in the middle. No one's done with, Israel's 3 peace accords in the last 6 months. Trump gets no credit. It hasn't happened for 20 years. I hate him for that. And I hate the way they are hypocritical. So one of my joys, if Trump wins, would just be seeing CNN anchors like literally melt down on air.
Well, they've kept their job for the next 4 years.
All the videos, all the memes that are coming.
Oh, it's going to be glorious.
Really
If he doesn't win, okay, you're going to get to see me break down. Okay,
that won't be as much fun.
I'll break the liberal tears for you.
Part of me, look, there's a part of me. I'm a Libra. I like things to be fair, and there's a part of me that simply, she's a Libra too yet.
Right.
Part of me just. The fact is, if Trump loses, CNN's going to gloat for the next 2 years, and they're already gloat about everything. And if he wins, they're going to melt down. And sort of like it's like the New England Patriots. I like seeing them lose. It's like cheaters.
Well, you've watched CNN viciously, maliciously, and with ill intent do nothing but lie about the president of the United States for the last 3.5 years. And you've seen it from the majority of the mainstream media. And that's why when I first jumped on, I'm like, that's the only story here is the media and big tech. They knew the Russia thing wasn't true, but it was a good negative to run with. And they just wanted to bake that in to the average American voter. Trump's a criminal, Trump's a criminal, Trump's a criminal, Trump's a criminal. It was never about policy. It was just trying to wrap him up in this aura of he's a bad person. And that's what Joe Biden ran on. Joe Biden ran on Trump's a bad person. It's a battle for the soul of America. He never faced any tough questions. And we've got a media and we've got big tech that is out of control. And regardless of what happens, we need big changes. We need to be able to sue these companies for libel at the very end.
Why can't we do this?
Well, let's talk about that for a minute, because I think that's really for me. That for me really is the biggest issue we're facing. And Michael, I agree with you. It's media and it's social platforms, and That's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter who wins. People say if Biden wins, they'll do more of it. They'll do more of it no matter who wins, unless, you know, I mean, I don't even now, like, I'm shocked at like the whole way Facebook, you know, and Twitter keep coming in front of Congress. And it's like, and yeah, the Republican senators will give him a hard time or whatever. But I mean, it's sort of like, why hasn't the Senate already, like, why haven't they tried to break them up? I mean, the final straw for me was when they censored, when they shut down the New York Post Twitter account and the press secretary's Twitter account for publishing a story.
Did that scare you?
Not scared me. For publishing a story, publishing a story that was not, they weren't even saying it was untrue.
Yeah.
They were saying it was the way you got the information, which, by the way, goes back to the Pentagon Papers. Like, you know, we've established that people get all kinds of information in weird ways and unethical ways and sometimes criminal ways. It doesn't mean we shouldn't hear the information, except in a court of law. And that's a reason.
I 100% agree with you, Rob. Here's the question for you, though. Somebody that is more independent-minded, that could go to Biden or could go to Trump, it sounds like to me.
No, I didn't say I'd go to Biden.
Okay. So, but you're open-minded and you just want, okay. But
let's be clear. I think Joe Biden is a puppet who's running on nothing but the other guy. On that, I agree.
Okay.
I just said I don't think if Biden wins, America is going to become socialist.
But if the tech titans and the media were comfortable doing that before a Biden, before the Senate became Democrats,
keep doing it.
Could you imagine what they would do afterwards? I wouldn't do this show. I would tear down my account. I would be gone. Yeah. Because they will use the agencies to go after you. Obama did it with the IRS and others. These people wanted vengeance in the worst way.
But I'm saying why Republicans haven't already tried passing legislation, you know, even though they went through the House. And I don't think the Democrats are going to win the Senate. I don't think that's going to happen.
They're not. I think they're going to add a seat tonight.
So I think I would worry if one party controlled all three things. That being the Democrats. I'd worry more if the Democrats did than the Republicans because of what you're saying. Yeah. But it's not going to happen. So I'm saying there is room.
But it could. It could. It could have been a complete wipeout tonight.
Well, it's okay, whatever.
The Democrats thought it was going to be.
It's like the guy driving in the car next to me. You could have hit the guy. Okay, I could have, but I didn't.
It's not over yet, by the way. I don't think it's going to happen. But my point.
Well, I got to get. Well, you did hit the curb. Sorry about that. I owe big.
Okay.
Mike, does it scare you? I mean, when we talk about social media and ability.
Listen, here's my story. Here's my personal story. The Loftus Party Facebook page. We got dinged for misleading news. Misleading. It wasn't fake. It wasn't false, and it was not fake. It was. The story was legit. They thought it was just misleading. I was reaching 5 million people. And they just dialed me down and it went to 800,000. So if you do that and you have an algorithm that looks for words like freedom, liberty, Trump, MAGA, I'm like living in Hogwarts. I don't even say the word Trump on YouTube. They will instantly demonetize my clips. I'm not even kidding.
But so Micah, how do you get around that? I mean, this is a real question. I mean, to all of us, and Dave's point that it would get worse if Democrats controlled everything. Okay, but my point is they're going to keep doing it till. I mean, what's the way that collectively? Because as an independent, I want my voice protected, and I see the shadow banning. Something's happened to me. I know it's happened to Judd. It's happened to you too.
Yeah.
You know,
right?
They've come, and I know other people. They come after everybody, and it's in their algorithms. So my question is, what has to happen, and what could happen legislatively? But what do people have to do to get around it? I mean, we depend on these social platforms. It's fine to say like set up a Parler or the other, you know, but I mean, how are you ever going to compete? Like, what's the actual way that we don't just keep having our voices throttled? Because they're throttling pretty effectively.
It's just being able to sue them.
Well, we need more transparency. We need way more transparency from these social media places. I love it when Facebook and Twitter, they always go, oh, it's an algorithm. It's an algorithm. And you're like, bitch, who writes the algorithm? I want to talk to that person. They always act like it's some third-party software they bought. It's an algorithm.
It just does it on its own. Yeah, but I'm saying, so what is it? Is it really enough just to be able to sue them?
No.
Well,
That's not going to
you have to make them hurt, and then we also need transparency.
Bruce, our producer over here, saying we need a third party. What do you mean? Just tell me. What are you saying?
Well, in journalism, you have third parties for keeping journalists accountable based on integrity. It's like the integrity police.
But what
you have to have the same type of third party medium, like an organization put in. If Facebook is going to be treated like a medium, like a newspaper.
But that's supposedly what most in the media, like the NPRs, the APs, that's what they were supposed to do.
Right.
And unfortunately, our culture and our educational system and the leftist march through the institutions, and you've been a part of that as well. You've talked about this, is that, for 40, 50 years now, we've basically taken children, we put these institutions called higher learning. And now, essentially, for most of our lives, we would come out, would get a paycheck, would say, what the heck is FICA? I'm conservative, right? Of your paycheck. But now there are so many of these kids that are coming out. They're going into our corporations. They're going into our sports and our pop culture, in our media. And there is now more of them than there are level-headed individuals. And so they are no longer journalists. I coined a term. I trademarked it. It's called journactivists. And those are the folks that are in the New York Times and the AP and CNN. And they truly believe that they are going to make the world a better place through their work. Instead of reporting both sides in the news, they are now going to, in essence, take one-sided approach to the news and shove it down our throat, frog wa style. And if you don't like it, then you're a racist.
Right.
That's not journalism.
Yeah.
Well, but I mean, we can all agree, probably, and you should talk about your experience, but I think we can all agree that journalism in America is largely, almost dead. I mean, when Andrew Sullivan and when Barry resigned from the New York Times, and when Ann was fired from the New Yorker, you sort of, to me, it was like, she's a centrist, but she's like, she's a lesbian and she's a millennial and she lives in San Francisco. I mean, she's about as, barely conservative, not for those reasons. I just mean she's truly not an ultra conservative by any means. And when he fired from the New Yorker, as again, the first openly gay mainstream journalist, again, super anti-Trumper, simply criticized critical race theory, that again, the notion that you can't have an alternative view but ours. To me, that was the beginning of, you see that journalism really is it's no longer about being a journalist. It's about what's the narrative, make the facts fit the narrative. And that's considered now journalism on the far left. They're not even hiding it anymore. It's like you either say what we tell you to say, and that's being a good journalist.
Yeah. Well, it's wasn't it last week? Glenn Greenwald was his own.
Greenwald Intercept.
Yeah, he was his own company. And he resigned because they were censoring him.
That was an earthquake.
Huge because he's
left of center.
Yeah, his husband's a socialist.
I
didn't
know that. Okay.
Look at what happened at the New York Times.
With Ari
Weiss,
Yeah, that's another one where you have, and I agree with what you said completely. Journalism now is, how do I best frame this story so that my political ideology looks good and I can move the ball down the field for the way I feel about politics. Look at and the stories that don't get any, there was, I don't even know if you guys know this. There were several, a big group of scientists got together a few years ago and thought a great way to combat global warming, a great way to solve the problem would be to plant 1 trillion trees. If you were to simply plant 1 trillion trees, you could stop it. So Trump jumped on board. Trump is working with it's a global effort, and these people have planted billions of trees. We are on our way to solving global warming because Donald Trump decided he was going to help plant 1 trillion trees. And that's it. That would be the end of global warming, but they don't care. And you don't hear about that story. When the president does something wonderful for the environment, they just ignore it. It just didn't happen. And if it's not on the internet, it didn't happen.
Can we take a moment, just because Judd brought this in, and Judd and I do a show called Smack and Talking Smack over mac and cheese, where we have food all the time. Because food is a great way to
a great unifier.
It's a great unifier. And people actually, after this election, people should literally, you should have Biden-Trump parties where you come and you eat food and both sides show up.
That'd be great. Like a
Right.
national holiday. Eat with the other. Eat with the other side day.
Right. Are
Eat
you
with
not
talk.
eating?
But one
Are
side
you on a
with
diet
poison.
over here?
No.
You're not eating?
No, but
Oh, one more.
Can we have? It's veg. I'm not vegetarian either. I mean, we're eating.
Hey.
Are we eating vegan pizza?
Just eat.
Is it vegan pizza? We're talking.
It's
You want a
chaos.
piece, Michael?
Yeah.
You want a piece, Michael?
Judd
I
brought us
totally want a
leftist
piece.
pizza.
Send it over.
We have vegan
That's
pizza.
why I eat meat.
Yeah, we're
I didn't make
California
too,
vegans. Sorry, but
I
We
don't
paid
see
for it,
pepperoni
too.
here.
What's up?
I admit too, but
Hey, Kent Emmons.
Vegas.
How are you doing? Good to see you.
Vegas has Trump. Vegas is going for Trump, baby.
add another conservative to the
How
table.
are you, buddy?
I'm doing well.
So
Good
you
to see
guys
you.
are awesome.
Good to
I've
see
been
you.
watching you on the way in.
Oh, have you?
Great. How are you?
Okay.
Good to see
So,
you.
Hi. Hi. How's it going?
Good.
So as the host,
Yes,
I fed my people.
Yeah,
Right,
get
Mac
off
and
your
Cheese
seat
is our
again.
food politics show. Control chaos.
Yeah,
I'm
by the way,
like,
tell them before you go.
oh, okay. So everybody, first of all, BPN is Bullet Point Nation with Michael Loftus and I. Rob Nelson Live has been killing it. We came together. Michael and I and Rob, we've done another show called Talking Smack over Mac and Cheese. It's a food and politics show
On Sunday.
on Sundays. So you can see us on Bullet Point Nation. Mike and I do that twice a week. You can see me with Rob Nelson. You see Rob's great show. His great, what is the thing that you just did in Florida?
Oh, you don't even remember?
No, what's it?
You
What
narcissist.
No.
You are a narcissist.
Oh, it's for, anyways, Town Hall. You did an amazing Town Hall. It was amazing. So it's an honor to work with both of these legends. Rob has had his own show on Fox. Michael's out there. So
But not
come
a
see our
conservative.
show.
But
So
not a
thanks lot.
conservative.
What's that?
Not a
But
conservative.
he's not a conservative, so we've allowed him in anyway. All right. That being said, promo being said, I'm going to step out and let our newest guests come in. I'm going to keep working the thing. I'm going to keep
Michael.
feeding my people, and I'll be back.
Awesome.
Michael, I like that you're smoking
Oh,
on
fun.
air.
What a great spot.
Thank
Who
you
is
so much.
this Michael Loftus of which you speak? Who is this guy?
Look,
Hey, look who it is. What's
Michael.
going on, man?
Dude,
Michael, put it up there again. Let me see.
What
I
is
love
it?
that you're shamelessly
Michael, put the
doing it.
cigarette up.
Yeah.
There we go.
Because, but here's the
Isn't that illegal on TV now?
no, cigarette smoking is not good for you, clearly. But here's
Wait,
the thing.
what'd
When I
you
smoke
say?
cigarettes,
Wait, what?
no, I said
Go back.
here's my thing. That is the first
Cigarette
example.
smoking is illegal on TV, supposedly.
That is the first example of cancel culture, where the movement to strike out smoking was designed to shame people who smoked and make you feel bad about yourself, and even like what's wrong, you need help, you're not, the self-esteem is low, and effectively shamed an entire culture to where, granted, smoking's not good for you, but a lot of things aren't good for you, to where
Wait,
it became the single worst thing to do. And people are afraid, like if you smoke a cigarette and the smoke blows toward them, they might be getting secondhand smoke and die from like a puff of your smoke. So very effective controlling of culture. So I'm glad to see you smoking it, Michael.
Did you say smoking wasn't good for me? I've never heard of this.
I love it, and I'm
well,
in good shape.
if it's Mary Jane, then it does have medicinal properties. So
Hey,
depends on
whatever.
what's in that
I'm a
one.
libertarian.
Stock market futures are up huge. Futures are up 400. Dow's up 180 right now because it looks like we
In
have
China?
And
It's down.
vegan
Down,
pizza.
and
China.
down. The yuan's down. Did you see the
I did see
big
it.
time?
They'll get hammered. But they'll manipulate it back up. That's not a big deal. By the way, Michael Loftus, you need to promote the special from Nashville. We were together in Nashville last week. He taped one of the greatest conservative stand-up comedy specials on the planet.
That was him?
That was Michael Loftus. That was that cat. The greatest.
And you went with my buddy Chuck, right?
Chuck was there. I had my buddy, our buddy,
Chuck Pierce.
the Secretary of State was with us.
He lives in
We had
Nashville now.
We had a great time.
Can we see
bunch
if you
of
got any
great
clips of
folks.
it? Okay, Kate
I
Leonard,
watched it.
our colleges are teaching our future
Oh, it's
journalists to
great.
be bias reporters.
Bingo, Kate.
Yeah, she goes to Oswego, where Al Roker went. She can't stand up. The professor are pushing their agendas on students. And that's a big deal, right?
Yeah.
Universities too. I mean, we are definitely training entire younger generation to think a certain way,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
a very limited way of thinking. And
Well,
it's
your grades
you
are.
you went to school now.
Yeah, I
too,
mean, it
right?
happens. Yeah, it happens all the time, and you have to grades, so you kind of
You were at USC.
What's
Yeah.
going on with
But you
Maine?
have to
Somebody's
do
saying Trump really about to win Maine. That would be huge.
Just here on the right, David.
I thought he was going to win a district in Maine. Not the whole.
Dave Sussman. Dave is obsessed with the results.
Nebraska, all Trump.
Well, I'm like, let's talk about the big issues.
Those
Dave's like,
are expected.
numbers. Wait, let Jen talk for a second about school. Though. I want to hear about it. No, I'm serious. Because you recently were in college.
Yeah,
I mean,
2016 I
Right.
left, and it's impossible to stand up and say anything remotely conservative or Republican. The teachers are constantly, even if it's an anthropology class, they'll have different
As a journalist, you will,
Let's look at. You got to take a look at this.
No, we've been pointing out Michigan's Trump is stomping on
this.
them.
Yeah, jamming it.
Right, more conservatives to
The only state I've lost so far, it looks like they're calling New Hampshire for Biden. He was going to flip New Hampshire.
Really?
Mm-hmm. But it's a call. Doesn't mean it's definite yet.
Okay, so let's talk raw politics for a minute because you guys gotta stop. So let's get it out. Let's vent it out. Okay, you guys are happy right now because you didn't expect the numbers to go this way and you're feeling confident.
I kind of did, and I'll tell you
Ken
why.
Emmons, by the way, new to the show, but not new to our world. Let me just do my shout out on Ken.
I did vote it.
Let me do my shout out on Kent. Kent's a great guy. I actually met Kent a number of years ago when
Lesbian chat room. That was one of the greatest, and then they shut it down. The left shut it down.
I knew you looked
The
familiar.
left did it. Mark Zuckerberg shut it down. That was the end. But we remained in touch.
And will not confirm or deny whatever that is.
Don't ask, don't tell.
It's so
Lesbians
Biden
aren't
of
allowed to get zapped.
you.
It's very FBI of me. I will not confirm or deny the existence of this
It's been an
experience.
investigation.
Well, is that vegan
God,
too?
Thank you.
That's meat.
Is that a piece of meat?
That's
Oh, real meat. I ate the
Chicken.
vegan pizza.
Chicken fingers.
Hold on, look at this.
There's
Look at
soy
that. That's
chicken
crazy.
fingers.
I don't
Soy.
believe it's real meat. I think that this is fake
It's chicken
meat.
fingers.
We'll
I think
pass them
it's
around. You guys pass them
Loftus,
around.
that
Let's
got
do a
Loftus'
test.
attention. He wants some chicken fingers. I saw you
For
look up
sure.
there.
Those are
He's
chicken.
like, what,
Those are
chicken
chicken
fingers?
pinkies.
Pass them down. Go. Seriously.
How have they not called Florida
Here,
yet?
take one.
Trump is like 500,000
Okay.
votes ahead. It's like 99.9% in.
Right?
They won't
Because
call
they won't
Florida.
do it. They won't do it.
They
This is
won't.
Did you ever
insane.
notice, by the
They're
way,
gonna
that the conservatives share their food and they're not forced to give it to somebody?
Meredith,
We
Meredith
openly
Eckert,
share.
currently, Maine is
Can I
currently
just say-
winning.
We're giving
Except
it.
for
Can I just say, if this
That's
was,
Meredith.
if we are in Los Angeles, in California, according to Governor Newsom, Emperor Newsom. Emperor Newsom apparently, I've been living in Florida, but apparently we're not allowed for Thanksgiving to be sharing a plate with one thing.
Right.
A common server has
Oh
to
my
serve all of us.
Rob, we've had this conversation before.
And no
I think
singing.
anybody
No
that
singing.
knows much about how this virus works, you guys could lick those nuggets and pass them up and down. I'll eat them. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's not that
Judd
big of a
already
deal.
did.
Oh, he did? Okay. Thank you, Jen. I appreciate it.
The virus can't get you if you're eating a meal.
And you're sitting
Only
down.
if you're eating an
Sitting down.
appetizer, according to Newsom, or having a beverage.
Or
eating a
if
meal,
you're
you
sitting
sit.
down.
Yeah,
If you're
yeah.
sitting down in a
Sit.
restaurant, the Rona goes over your head.
It's one of the sad things that this virus and the way it's been politicized has done.
Yeah.
It really is, because it is
Oh,
clearly
that's sad.
a real thing. It's deadly to people who are older and people who are sick
Mhm.
or have vulnerabilities.
Mhm.
It spreads like crazy, rapid, fast. And because it's been politicized, you have one side that has clearly made it to where it's absurd. Like literally, it's like they want you to wear a mask when you're running in the woods, as if somehow that mask is like a hazmat suit from, The Walking Dead. And the other side's backlashed it, and not so much in Florida where it's more relaxed, but it's like, I won't wear my mask. I won't wear my mask. And it's sort of like, no, put your mask on, because you could get someone sick if you have it and don't know you have it. And it's actually a high rate of people who don't know they have it, which is good. A disease with a 40% asymptomatic rate is a great thing. Many people could have it and not know, but we politicized it to a point in here where it's just ridiculous.
Yep. And these kids are running around with their immune systems down. The parents who were crazy enough to keep their kids in for 9 months or 8 months. It's insane.
Mhm.
It is nuts.
They're running around at the park with masks on, all the kids.
Yeah. Crazy.
So Ken Emmons, welcome to the show.
Robin, it's just great to be here.
Ken's
Love hanging out with you.
Former
guys.
radio.
Wow.
Ken's a media, little hands in the media jar all over the place. And I
Say
met
little
Ken.
hands. You pull
Yeah,
a
little
Marco
hands.
Rubio on you.
Little hands.
Doing one of those.
Are they
Let's
bigger
see.
than mine?
Oh man, I think you got me. What about shoe size? Let me see your shoes.
I small feet.
Let me
Size
see
10.
those shoes.
Size 10. Kent and I actually met up because I was running a campaign for a Democrat for Congress here.
Correct. Moderate
Graff.
Democrat, actually conservative Democrat.
I'm a
Great guy.
conservative Democrat.
Yeah, great guy.
And a friend of ours introduced us because Kent and I both had this crazy idea, which Kent is now really starting to, can't say exactly what it is. We're kind of keeping it under wraps.
It's a wild and wacky news network.
But it's a wild and wacky news network with a vision to also start reshaping politics in America, because that's what I think is going to have to happen. We're going to have to start getting what Kent has a book, and it's sort of Dave was talking about your book. The middle 80% of America that doesn't go to either side wants something different. And so I think we have to have candidates who reflect that and stand for kind of core things and get out of the woods of these extreme things and actually give us a shot to change it. And I know Kent's on board with that. And
absolutely,
we might be just helping make that happen.
You know, at the end of the day, the book is called The Common Sense 80%, but at the end of the day, the real numbers are 80% of us agree on 90% of the same stuff. You can, like, as a Republican, you could sit down with a Democrat or someone that's not crazy out there, lefty, but I mean, an average person, and you're going to agree on darn near everything. It's just how it's marketed, how it's approached, and how those folks identify or how they feel like they were forced to identify.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, and this is why Trump did so well. You think about those Democrats that crossed over to vote for him in 2016. And as we watch these screens tonight, the Democrats that are crossing over to vote today, that's because these people have common sense.
Do you think that's what's happening right now?
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you think Jennifer Rubin over at the Washington Post is doing right now?
Biting it.
Wait, what? I heard you.
Five shopping.
I heard you.
Yeah.
Or our buddy Cenk
Wait, hold on.
Is
For
it
people who don't
shots
know,
or is he
hold
snorting
on.
it?
For
He's
people who
probably
don't know, what are you guys talking about? Who's Jennifer Rubin?
Who's Jennifer Rubin?
Jennifer Rubin.
Trump derangement syndrome. She's a never Trumper. She went full crazy deranged over the past 4 years, and she's vitriolic. She's a horrible human being.
And I want to explain to people what Trump derangement syndrome is. Because, again, I have liberal viewers out there, and I'm sure a lot of my liberal viewers are like, you have all conservatives. And as I said before, I'm an independent. I felt like I'm fine surrounding myself. I'm the guy pushing back. But the conservative voice has been the one that's been repressed and censored. So you have no problem hearing people come out and throw all kinds of shade on anything conservative or anything Trump. So it's like, you guys get that voice. I'll stand up for the middle and push back. But Trump derangement syndrome is something I've seen a lot. And it is where it's not just people go crazy about Trump. It's like, that's a lot of people. Just like they get anything Trump does, they get upset. Trump derangement syndrome really is anything Donald Trump says or does, you have to go the other way. So if Trump does something good, it's bad. He can't do something good. And you can either ignore that he did it, or you somehow spin it that it's bad. So the best example to me of Trump derangement syndrome is around COVID. Trump did not close the economy down fast enough. I mean, he did not stop. He let things go too long. It was horrible. And he acted even 2 weeks sooner. Millions of lives would have been saved, even though his health advisors told him not to act 2 weeks sooner. It doesn't matter. Anthony Fauci told him it was fine. No, but doesn't matter. Trump acted wrong. So that's why thousands and thousands of Americans died. But Trump's responsible for the horrible economy because he's not let Americans go back to work. His terrible COVID response has kept Americans from having jobs. And now we're in the worst economy ever, and it's all Trump's fault. That's Trump derangement syndrome.
Are you trying to say that liberals talk out of both sides?
No, I'm saying Trump derangement syndrome. Literally, it's like those two can't be
way.
true. They can't be true.
No,
Both
you're
can't
right.
exist at the same time. Either he should have kept it open or shut it. He can't have done both. And I thought, wow, he can't win.
Nope.
He's responsible for killing everyone and for keeping us from going back to work, which had he not done, theoretically, more people would have died according to that logic. And it's just Trump's
So
direction.
apparently there's 500 Antifa
Dave's
that
just
are
wrapped
clashing
it.
right
Dave's
now
wrapped
with
it.
police outside of the
What was
White
our news
House.
update?
Is this true?
500 Antifa are clashing with police outside the White House. And Kevin McCulloch, who's a radio show host out of New York, he called it for 331 electoral votes. That was pretty close to him. He says, this is not how we handle our democrat process. Pray for peace, pray for safety, and pray for calm.
Dave is like our news desk.
Mhm.
He stays focused on it. He has his opinions periodically, but he stays focused on. He's going through, and it's great. He's going through the feeds, and he's getting the again because we're getting information here you might not be getting on CNN or Fox.
I
News,
was
'cause
sitting
you're
at
getting
lunch.
a feed. He's getting real. I just want people to know. Dave's getting. feeds
We're
from
getting
on
it
Twitter.
ahead before CNN and Fox News put it out.
Mhm.
Fox News and CNN will not call Florida.
Right.
They still, Florida is ahead. Florida is
Wait,
ahead.
we have a
Is
shirtless
out.
guy on the
What
screen.
is this guy?
What's going on?
Who is this dude?
What is happening?
What have you been watching?
What are we
on the
watching,
sideline?
Bruce?
Is that a dude?
I'm trying to find that live stream.
Jeez. Okay.
Who are they?
That was
Ron-
Antifa commander.
Ron DeSantis down in Florida says it's mathematically impossible for Trump to lose Florida.
Yeah, he's up 400,000 votes, and it's 95%.
So let's ask that question real clearly to everybody out there. If you wonder if there's media bias, and if you're a liberal out there watching and you think there isn't, you got, conservatives exaggerate it. Dave's asked the question multiple times. Why has the media not called Florida for Donald Trump? He's winning by how many votes?
400, almost 400,000 votes with almost 97% in. It's mathematically, as Mike just said, Dennis just said, it's mathematically impossible.
For him not
So
to win.
what is the
Where's
reason
our-
they're
where's
not
our
calling it?
little,
They
comment
can't bring
section?
themselves to do it.
Our
Is it a
comment
reason
section.
they can't bring themselves to do it, or is there another reason they
There's
don't
our
want
comment
to?
section.
I mean, both polls are closed.
Because Florida was the big kahuna. Florida was the first big call that was going to say Trump is on his way.
And they just won't do it.
Yeah.
They can't do it.
Once you keep watching.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, think about Pennsylvania. It was 11:40. It was 2:45 where I was a.m. on 2016. It was 11:45 West Coast time in 2016, and Pennsylvania was in the bag 30 or 40 minutes before they finally called it. And it finally took Fox to call it.
Yeah.
I think Fox ended up calling it first, and then the CNN, everybody else finally
Well,
called
people
it.
are pretty angry with Fox tonight, apparently.
I think people are angry with Fox all the way around anyway.
No.
I mean, I think they have not stepped up to real news. I mean, they have clearly joined the fake news cycle.
Well, I
And
think
they're-
Fox News is a myth right now. Fox News is run primarily, the news side is run by more liberal journalists. I think that's a fact. The opinion side isn't. The
when you
news
were
side
hosting
is.
your show, Rob, on Fox News, you were hired personally by Roger Ailes.
Mhm.
Roger brought you in, and he brought you in because you were highly independent. He didn't
Mhm.
get in your shit. He let you do your thing. He
Mhm.
let you speak what you wanted to speak, interview how you wanted to interview,
Mm-hmm.
and the show was amazing. Now, I mean, there is such a bureaucracy, and
Mm-hmm.
there's so many people that are so far left, which is
Mhm.
fine. But it's like, you're running a news bureau or a news network. Get everybody's opinion. Like when Roger first brought everybody on, it was a
Mhm.
whole different animal.
It wasn't. It's sad that Roger Ailes got thrown under the bus again, not knowing what he didn't do on the personal side. But they were after him. They were after him because he was one of the most successful media gurus in the last 50 years. Roger, there's a myth that people always go, Fox News, they have to say things. I know for personal experience, Roger Ailes never once told me what to say. And I said stuff all the time that he thought was so off their brand and so wrong. He literally would be like, Rob, you're an idiot if you say that. You have no idea what you're talking about. One day you're going to realize that you're literally like liberal garbage. And he'd say, but if you want to say it, you go ahead and say it. And it's a myth that Fox told people what to say. They didn't. It was like, say what you want to say.
Yep.
But it's a part that started early, that fabric of, and I love the fact that Sean Hannity and Laura Ingraham don't pretend that they're trying to be objective. What pisses me off is the way Don Lemon and Chris Cuomo and all act like we're being objective. If you're not being objective, you're biased.
Can we settle this once and for all? Is it Don Lemon or Don Lemon?
Lemon.
It's Don Lemon.
It
but
is
Tucker
Lemon.
likes to say
Was
I
that
just
a-
hear
was that a
Lemon
Sussman?
so much. No, because I don't watch the show. So
Lemon.
it is Lemon.
No,
That's what they say. They say
It's
lemon.
lemon, isn't it? They
It's
say
lemon.
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 It's
No.
lemon.
People making
What
fun
a
of
guy.
him.
Wait, but the way Mike just said it.
What do you say?
Lemon.
Okay, can we have a little comedy here, guys? Can we lighten things up? This room's kind of happy. I hope you guys.
Look at this.
What are we watching?
Okay, what are we? There's a Trump penis on a screen. Bruce, you want to show people that instead of show us?
No, I'm waiting for something interesting to
Well,
happen.
show us the
All right,
feed.
I'll
Show us the
Is this the
feed.
Antifa at the White House?
Is
Yeah,
that
all right,
what-
Bruce, come on, bring it on.
Antifa.
Bruce.
Nobody else glorifies
Our
giant
producer
penises.
Crafty here is hoarding images for himself and not sharing. Come on, Crafty, bring it on. There it is. Okay, split screen with us. There we go. So we're looking at this is the Antifa protests in D.C., but they don't look like they're clashing with police.
Doesn't look like it.
These just look like people standing around waiting.
Nothing much.
Yeah.
They're just waiting for their orders.
results.
How many piles of bricks were set up around the country?
Oh
There was
my
a lot.
gosh.
They were still in saran
Several
wrap.
cities.
They were
I'm
still
gonna
wrapped.
try this
I
salad.
saw them.
So anybody want some salad?
I'd love some salad.
Okay, this is good. Food and politics go well together. Here you go. You got a plate?
Yeah, here, just throw it on.
Let me serve you some food because I'm the true independent. I
You
serve
are the
everybody else.
hostess with the mostest, man.
Oh, now you say I'm a hostess? You questioning my gender? My gender profile? My
You're
gender
host
pronouns?
neutral.
My
You're
gender
totally host
pronouns?
neutral.
Look, Jen got called Jed in our caption feed.
Yeah. Mhm.
So she's clearly playing with her gender roles.
Exactly.
So you were
No
born a
idea
guy?
Yes, I'm now Jed. Jed never means anything else.
Okay, Jed.
Mm-hmm.
Judd's gone. Jed's in. Michael Loftus, are you still with us?
I am.
Can we have some
I'm
comedy?
still here.
We have 2 comics here. Both of you and Kent. Can we have a little? Can we lighten this
Say
scene up
something
a
funny,
little? Come on, give me some one-liners. Come on, you called me naive. That's the best you got.
Well, Loftus,
I'm
by the way,
so
has the
offended.
entire
I'm
coronavirus
so
thing
offended.
figured out.
What do you do? How about
Can
you
you
tap
make a
dance?
joke?
How about
Can you
tap
make a
dance?
Trump
How
joke?
about we have some tap dancing up here?
You know, you're just here for our entertainment, Michael.
Can you make a good joke against conservatives? Just one.
Hard to do.
I'm not on the
Think
clock.
long and hard.
I'm here about
Wow.
politics, and I think I might be going into a tunnel. I didn't prepare a set for tonight.
Can't hear you. Can't hear you, Rob. Sorry.
Wow.
What'd you say?
I'm going
Wow.
through a tunnel,
All right.
Rob. Going through a tunnel.
I gotta tell you, Loftus
Fair enough. Fair
figured
enough.
something out that I've been trying to figure out for a long time, and how sushi came about. And Loftus laid it on me last week. What's your theory on how sushi came about? This is great. I mean, I'd never thought of it this way, but as it turns out, here's how we got sushi.
It's the Japanese revenge for losing World War II. We nuked them twice, so now they take raw fish, wrap it in rice and frickin' seaweed. Some crap that you would step over if you saw it on the beach. They wrap it up, and they take great delight in charging us massive amounts of money. And they're probably giving us the worst parts of the fish. They're like, ooh, hand me that.
Michael, you just lost your West Coast card, my friend. You cannot say
yeah.
that.
Dave wants you to stay in New York now.
I will
Why
never
are
eat
you in New
sushi.
York? Why are you in New York? You know, like you're in a. I mean, why aren't you? I don't know. Why aren't you in Nashville or
Netflix, right?
Florida?
I was just in Nashville taping my stand-up special for Fox Nation. I'm in New York. I just finished writing on a Netflix show that'll be coming out in a couple months. And then now I'm actually helping a friend write a movie that might be going into production very soon. So I just take these little breaks from my creative little jaunts to enjoy some politics and watch America hopefully not slide down the outhouse shitter. Hopefully we're smart enough to reelect Donald Trump. It's too tense.
Are you, Michael? Congrats on all that stuff. Hey, I got a question for you. A couple personal questions. Are you okay with that? They're
Sure.
not hard. No, I'm just saying, as a comic, do you find it hard? People will say it's hard to be a conservative comic. I don't think it's hard to be a conservative comic, but like, do you find it somehow your brand doesn't have as much appeal? You have to reframe it in a way that like liberal comics don't, because most comics aren't conservatives, but some of the funniest comics today and ever have been the more conservative comics.
Well, the whole thing is you have to make sure you're funny first.
What's that?
Funny always has to be first. It has to be funny first and political second. And the only reason I would even partially be okay with like the moniker of a conservative comic is because I want other people on the right to know I can go out to a comedy club, I'm going to laugh my balls off, and I'm not going to feel bad about my political beliefs. I mean, if you just, that's how much the left owns culture. You can go out to a comedy club and watch some comedian just take a dump all over the Trump family and Ronald Reagan and what have you. And you're just like, oh, he's just being brave and funny. And then somehow, if you defend Trump and you take a dump on Obama, then you're some edgy conservative comic. It's like everybody's allowed to have their own belief system. You shouldn't feel bad. I remember a million years ago, I did a joke about Obama and I had people get up and walk out. 2 people got up and walked out. And I'm like, what, you can't? And it was a lame joke. It was like Obama was like, I've been to all 57 states. I'm like, that's not a good sign. And people got up and left. I'm like, oh, I will not sit idly by and let you make fun of the highest office in the land. Oh, shut up.
Only liberals can do that.
That's right.
So what's the difference between somebody that gets up and just, as you stated, shits all over the Trump family and somebody like a Mark Maron, who I actually like? I find him funny. He is very much a liberal. He doesn't like Donald Trump. He interviewed Barack Obama in his podcast, made him a household name. But I can watch him. I could watch several liberals. I know what their politics are. Dave Chappelle, same thing. Talk about the difference there. Is it vitriolic? Is it meanness, pettiness? What is it?
Well, what we've been subject to since the 1980s really is Ronald Reagan was portrayed as evil. He was evil. And now they've dialed that up to 11 for Trump. Trump is a Russian spy. He's a racist. He's worse than Hitler. He likes to capture children. So it's hard to laugh at something if you've been trained to hate it. Right. And that's what the media has done. Right. They don't even want you to, they don't want people to see conservatives as human beings. It's okay to punch a Nazi. It's okay to attack someone if they voted for Trump. And that's what we've watched over the summer. Right. That's why Antifa blew up. Yeah. They're just fighting Nazis, you guys. Don't we all want to fight Nazis? And then you got CNN and all the other networks going, these are mostly peaceful protests.
Right.
That's the difficult thing.
That's part of the whole thing. You know, when I was saying before about the whole critical race theory and the whole thing with Andrew Sullivan pushing back and getting fired, you know, despite how popular a writer he was for simply challenging that. The idea is, you know, really it is if you, and this is what scares me the most, that mindset, it is okay to, you know, they said a survey found like 20, what the number? It was over 20, it's like 22% of college students thought it was okay to use violence to stop somebody who's saying something you don't find offensive, you know? Like the idea that it's okay to hurt someone, not only silence them, but physically hurt them, that, you know, it's okay to socially, you know, blow someone up if they say something that it's deemed unacceptable to that normative thing is really terrifying because it's created a climate of fear in people. I know people who won't say their views because they're afraid they literally will get shredded in social media and possibly in their workplace and all that. They're terrified.
Culture.
Yeah. Well, that's extreme. You can get punched and it's okay.
That's
Go ahead.
my friend Jay in Portland. Jay walking down the street after a Trump rally got murdered by Antifa and BLM, just, you know, right before Labor Day weekend. The excuse was that he was a fascist Nazi, you know, so it was okay to murder him because he was a fascist Nazi. Like now somehow a difference of ideology, or you can just throw any label on anybody, and now they're just a target practice for you. You know, it's frightening what's happening to America. And literally, Jay, we knew Jay from rallying, and he went to all of our events, and he was the nicest, most docile creature. He was just He had the most beautiful, warm smile. He was the nicest guy. He wouldn't hurt a fly, but he was labeled a Nazi, a fascist, a white supremacist, all because he went to a Trump rally, and therefore he was fair game. And the media actually said maybe it's okay to murder somebody who's a fascist. I mean, I don't see that. So I don't see how that's okay in America. First of all, to label somebody,
they just called Florida for Trump.
Oh, finally.
Nice.
There we go.
Oh, what's up? Time check.
Here we go.
8:05, 11:05 there. It took him a long
That's
time
Fox
to call
News.
it.
CNN still has yet to call
CNN's waiting. CNN will not. CNN won't call it. Okay. It's 51.3 to 47.8. That's a what? 5 percentage points?
It's over 4.5 points.
4.5 points.
And Trump said if he wins Florida by
97%
3 points, the Trump campaign said if they win Florida by 3 points, they are winning the White House. They're going to get a couple of those Midwest states at minimum, and they're on track.
Well, then it looks like they're winning Michigan.
They're ahead in all those states
They're
right now.
way ahead of Michigan. Slightly ahead of Wisconsin.
For Trump down in
Yeah,
Florida.
Arizona's
Winning
down
Arizona.
right now, but there's some counties that are coming for Trump that haven't been counted yet.
What's
Maricopa
Ohio
County
look like?
Ohio
Dave,
is up.
Trump is up in Ohio.
Yeah, Trump is up in Ohio.
I think with what 43% of the count in.
Yeah.
So there's it's still out there.
I don't know the last count, but I mean I don't think Ohio's even on the map for Biden tonight. I didn't even think it was an option. If he loses Arizona, but he picks up Michigan and Philadelphia, he's still got it.
What's interesting to me is the state we're in right now with votes. California, it was never, they called California in all these places. They didn't technically call it, but they put it on the map for Biden before this morning even started. And that sort of says something, right? I mean, literally they don't pretend, Fox or CNN, they just put California.
It's a 30% split though. I mean, there's no way that Trump wins California.
No, I know that. I'm saying the fact that you don't even need to have the election happen for them to call in one of the biggest states in the country.
Well,
is
that
interesting.
was pretty much it. But I'll tell you something really bad. I don't know if you guys talked about this before, but the Attorney General of, was it Pennsylvania or Ohio, said
it was Pennsylvania.
Said, Trump was losing, Biden wins. Now, the state official, an elected official, the Attorney General, is saying that the morning of the election, before people are going to the polls. I mean, how crazy is that?
He will have to recuse himself when the lawsuits happen because he obviously.
But he won't.
Yeah.
He won't. And that's the double standard.
Hopefully he won't need it.
Look,
hopefully Trump won't need it.
Again, I know I pushed on you guys on the conservative stuff, but to point out the obvious of the double standard, the hypocrisy, Trump got his tweet criticizing the Supreme Court ruling in Pennsylvania, which he said it was a bad ruling, would lead to unrest and election fraud, whatever. And they marked it as, possibly misinformation. I thought it was fascinating that nobody said anything when Nancy Pelosi came out yesterday and said that Attorney General, the new Justice,
Barrett,
the Justice Barrett, Amy Coney Barrett, is an illegitimate. And I'm like, wait a minute, that actually is, that's worse than questioning the Supreme Court decision, which you're allowed to do, to actually say she's illegitimate when she's completely legitimate. I don't care. You're not be happy she's there. There's nothing illegitimate constitutionally about appointing her and confirming her before an election. I mean, I like it, but it's perfectly legitimate within the Constitution.
Well, listen,
and nobody calls that out.
I don't think it's any secret that, back when Mitch McConnell, pulled that stupid shit, he should have put it on the floor to a vote and voted him down. With Merrick Garland. He should have put it on the floor, let the Republicans vote it down instead of ridiculous. He came out and just wouldn't do it. And then also, his first thing he did when Obama won.
Biden, I'm sorry, excuse me, real quick.
Yep.
Kent, Ohio is 91% and Trump's up 8 points.
Wow. That's fantastic.
Trump's up 8 points?
They haven't called it yet. That's 8 points with 91% in Fox News is not calling it.
Yep.
Because again, that's another.
Let me ask you this: will Whiskey Politics call it?
Whiskey Politics called it last week.
The first I said 300 calls Ohio.
I said 319 votes, and then I updated it.
I'm
wrong on my update. I'm going to stick with my original from a month ago. I said 319.
Yep, love it. So anyway, getting back to this, so McConnell does that, and then McConnell, on top of that, they're going way back after Obama won in 2008. the first thing McConnell says is, well, my job for the next 4 years is to make sure nothing he wants to do gets passed. Well, he should have said, you know what? We're going to work with him on the stuff that's good. We're going to fight him on the stuff that's bad. That's
Agreed.
what we're going to do.
Right.
And instead, it starts as
This is what you were talking about earlier.
it just starts as
I agree with Kent on that.
Yeah, it is. And look, both sides. So the average American, both sides are so laden with hypocrisy. And, friends will ask me and I'll be like, look, I worked for Clinton when I was in school, and I got to know him. And it was around the whole time with the Monica Lewinsky scandal, and Republicans were going to get Clinton, not because Clinton did something he should be impeached for. He lied under oath. He had sex with an intern, bad idea, lied about it, not a reason to impeach him. Republicans were going to impeach him. And, and when it's flipped, both sides, on the Supreme Court thing, both sides say the opposite when it switches. And I think for most people, it's frustrating because it's never consistent. And, everything Chuck Schumer says, he said the opposite, like 5 years ago when the tables were turned. And they'd say it and they never even acknowledge that I said the opposite. If they just come out and say, you know what? You're right. I'm saying the opposite because it's in my best interest.
Well, I will tell you that, on that Clinton thing, I was obviously never a fan of Clinton and certainly not a fan of Hillary Clinton. But on that thing, the Republicans wasted as much time on that as the Democrats did chasing this Russia hoax.
Yeah.
And it was just stupid.
Yeah.
It was just pure stupid.
And it only helped him.
And the Clintons had all kinds of dirty things going on. They could have indicted him for.
Right.
But instead, they're chasing a blowjob theory. And it's like, who cares? And, if you have to go home to Hillary, he gets a pass. I don't care. There were married women in my church who said he gets a pass. So it's like, it's not none of our big deal.
Yeah.
Michael, is that?
Michael, wait, you're leaving us? What, you bored? You don't like us anymore?
I gotta go.
All right, man. We're glad to have you with us, though.
It
Thanks
was
for your
fun,
insight.
man. Let's do this again in 4 years.
Wow. Did you see how did you hear that? Wow, that hurt, buddy. That hurt. Do it again and fine. You know what? And I was just going to say, let's do this again, like in 2 weeks about something else. But that's
I say Michael Loftus for 2024.
Sorry, buddy. You call me naive. Now you don't want to see me for 4 years. I'm good.
It's funny.
Go Biden.
Like every time I do something that's just a little bit subtle, it goes right over your head.
Wow.
Like the Rona when you're sitting down at a restaurant.
Wow, that was good. I wanted a joke. I got one. Thanks, man.
I love you guys. You're fantastic. I'll see you soon.
Mega dance.
She's doing the mega dance.
She's doing the mega dance every time he wins the stage.
Oh, can I just say, this is a personal experience. So I was in Florida doing this town hall, setting it up. I was doing live streaming from all different types of things, right? And I live streamed at a BLM rally, activists doing their whole thing. So I went to a Trump rally. Never been to a Trump rally before. He was in Jacksonville. I'm not lying. Have you guys been to Trump rallies? Yeah. It was like being at a rock concert.
Yeah.
I'm not lying. I'm not exaggerating. I mean, I was like, and I've flown, I met Clinton at Air Force One for a rally we put together with thousands of people, students. Wasn't the same. Like literally the stands, you made me think with the mega dance because they started, first they're playing Gloria. They're playing Gloria as the Air Force One comes rolling in. And I'm in the bleachers and there's thousands and thousands of people. And it's like, it's going, Gloria, Gloria. The whole stands are to Gloria. And I'm like, okay, Gloria, really?
You must really like that genre of music.
And then it's the village people.
Yeah.
Then it's like Macho Man. And I'm like, and everyone's like, macho. And Phil Collins, something's coming. But people are like, all they needed was lighters, like to light up.
And they claim he's a bigot, but he loves YMCA.
That homophobic
like
bastard. And he stationed at YMCA.
That's like his favorite song.
And Gloria.
Why haven't they sued that?
I have no idea. I'm sure the village people love it.
Yeah.
Seriously.
You get a lot of it.
And by the way,
they're making money.
Dave and I have talked about this on before, but Trump, I don't know how he gets labeled as a racist, as a bigot, as a sexist, as a misogynist. Having worked with the Trump organization, they have more high-level vice president, executive vice presidents who are women and gay than I think it's like 3 per capita Fortune 500 company. And these people stay with the company forever. He doesn't have a lot of organization. This guy is amazing. this came from. I have no idea. And no one talks about this. And no one talks about the fact that on Hillary Clinton's staff at the State Department, women made 7% of what men made in the same position. No one talks about this.
Right.
And where that and I always challenge people.
Because all of her staff is dead.
Well, no, yeah, true. But I always challenge people when I say,
that got crafty on the
camera.
I'm not saying how they died.
I'm praying for you tonight, girl. I'm just telling you.
They're not really around
Crafty.
the top. Dead men
Crafty
tell their tales.
Crafty spit up his pizza.
You just put
The failure of the media to call out the double standard when investigating Hillary in general is disgusting. I mean, literally, devices go missing, cracked, smashed, thrown away. You know, the willingness to look the other way. But when it comes to stuff that he gets called out for, that's a narrative that just, I think, calling a person, first it was Me Too, then it was racism. And I'm not saying there wasn't legitimate issues around both those things. In America, there are. But calling a person a racist or calling a person a misogynist or, you know, somehow negative comments to women is the easiest way to take them down.
But
And if you want to take Trump down, the easiest way is to throw those labels at him. He made it easy because he is a bit, you know, he's clearly a womanizer. And I'm not saying that's good or bad. Most presidents probably were. I'm simply saying to suggest he's a woman hater with the women he promotes in his staff and that he has his daughter who clearly, if you hated women, how could you raise a daughter like Ivanka? Whether you like her politics, how could you raise that person? You're a dad of a very successful young girl. Like, how could you raise two?
Yeah.
How could you couldn't
And compare
raise
that to Hunter Biden.
Well, let's back up. Let's back up.
Father, Ken, right?
Yeah,
You
that
couldn't
is
raise an Ivanka, that strong-willed, clear-thinking, solid, independent woman. If you hated women, you wouldn't. You'd have marginalized
And
her.
he is a great dad. Really great dad. And you see it with his kids. You know, I've gotten to know Don Jr. pretty well. The other two I don't know as well. But these are great quality, kind, courteous. They're not the Manhattan, you know, socialites that they make him out to be. These are great, wonderful. And I got to tell you with Ivanka, we did this thing at the White House several years ago. And she got up and, you know, again, I've watched her over the years and, you know, met her a few times. But in this particular thing, she did an hour and a half, and she, you know, how some people
This
are
is
like,
Ivanka?
yeah, and you know, how some people are, you know, an inch wide and a mile deep on policy. She is a mile wide and a mile deep on policy. She's a walking encyclopedia of actual policy. And you sit there and you look at her, and then you compare her to a what's the Clintons kid that
Chelsea.
Yeah. I mean, I've never heard
Webb
her talk
Hubbell's
policy
girl.
one time. Yeah, exactly. And they do look alike. But, you know, I've never heard her talk policy one time. You know, somebody ghost wrote a book for her and her mom, which was a bunch of bullshit. But again, they don't give Ivanka credit for this kind of stuff. Now, let's go back to the womanizing thing. Bill Clinton, accused of rape by multiple women, has settled lawsuits for assault and that kind of stuff. So why don't we do this? Why don't we set the Clinton rape scale? And when you hit that bar, then you can start accusing people of being misogynist.
You just called Ohio?
Ohio called?
No, his progress was looking decent.
Got him all excited. Bruce got him all excited.
Look at
you called Ohio?
Look
You
at
called
Michigan.
Ohio?
Look at Michigan. It's a 12-point difference in Michigan.
Yeah, Michigan's
for
a
Trump.
blowout.
Wow.
Trump's blowing Michigan
And that's
out.
with 50% in? Yeah,
That
46.
could change, but it's
It
not
will. It will
like
get
it.
closer because
What counties?
Dearborn and Detroit and all of that will probably come in. And
It'll
Wayne
change.
County,
But do you think that's
has
going
Wayne
to
County
flip?
called
Do you
yet?
think it could flip?
Well, Michigan went red last time.
No,
I think
do you
John
think it
James.
could flip this
James
numbers?
wins the Senate there.
Do you think the numbers
That'd be
could
great.
flip on
No.
Michigan?
No, I think he.
I don't
won
mean.
Michigan.
I mean, he's got such a lead. Do you think that could?
You'll get
Dave's
closer.
watched a lot of this. Not tonight. I mean, in general. Do you think that Trump's lead in Michigan could actually go away? That it could?
No,
go
I
to a
think
Biden lead?
he's with 12% at 50% right now. I think he's definitely won it. The question is by how much.
But do we know what counties have been called in Michigan?
I can't, and we're not that granular right now.
Got it.
I mean,
Thumbs up.
where this guy's pointing to right now, that's the county. That's where all the meat is for the Democrats, because that's Detroit, Dearborn, Troy, Birmingham. It's all the executives, you know, from GM and all of that. That's very blue. They need that. The Democrats need that. But if the rest of the state is so overwhelmingly red as it looks right now on the map, I don't think he's got a chance, and pick up a Senate seat with John James.
And a great new senator. John James is one of the
amazing.
greatest.
Yeah.
Sharp,
And who's
sharp,
James
sharp
running
guy.
against in the Senate?
Incumbent up there.
Peters.
Yeah.
Peters, who's just he's in nothing. He's a nothing burger.
So
He's
Dave's
an idiot.
prediction here from the start was that the Senate picks up, the Republicans actually pick up a Senate seat, not lose
It
anything.
depends what happens
You still can
in.
do that?
It depends what happens in Arizona. It depends what happens with
McSally?
McSally. If McSally loses, I think we might be because right now we've got
Well, let's say
Alabama
she
flipped,
loses.
Alabama flipped, but Colorado flipped.
Right, so it's even.
So right now we're even. We're 53. If John James comes in, we're at 54. If and also we may lose Maine with Susan Collins.
Yeah.
You said that.
And McSally's toast. I think she's
I
gone.
think she's gone.
There's no way.
So the question is, do you still win Arizona as Trump and McSally can lose the
I
Senate?
don't know. It doesn't look good right now for Arizona.
Yeah, McSally's not going to win. I mean, she ran a horrible campaign. Mark Kelly ran a great campaign. He's not an unlikable guy.
Right.
And he ran a great campaign.
He's the NASA astronaut, right?
He's an
Yeah, well,
yeah.
he's most famous for being Gabber. What's her name?
Husband.
What's her name?
Gabber's husband.
Yeah.
What
Gabby
was the
Gifford.
No,
first? Gabby
Gifford,
Gifford.
Gabby
Gabby
Gifford's the
Gifford,
gun
sorry.
control.
Yeah.
She was the one that was shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But he makes a good crazy lefty.
Mhm.
She is, she was. I don't know why Doug appointed her, to take that seat to start with. I mean, she was not an
Doug
electable
Ducey, the
person.
governor.
Yeah.
have
They're
that
talking
big
about
track
Arizona
record.
right now. Maricopa is coming in. So right now it's a 10 point. It looks
Trump's
like it's a
not gonna
10%
win
difference. Yeah, but it depends if all of those votes. If I don't know what the percentage was, if all of those votes that came in early through mail were mostly Maricopa, that's Phoenix. That's where a lot of LA Californians have moved to. There's a lot of younger people there. It's a liberal. It's very Hispanic as well. It's a very liberal area. The rest of the state, because they're outside of Phoenix, maybe they're coming in later, and that's when we'll see a closing of the gap there. I don't think it's a 10-point difference there. I think it's going to be 1 or 2 points, whoever wins it.
I'm going to predict 3 or 4 points in Arizona. Just watching how they've done it.
3 or
And
4
again,
points to the Democrats.
to the Dems, sadly.
To Biden.
Sadly.
And that's
Yeah.
due to
Calling Arizona.
the-
A lot of it is.
they just called it.
They're calling it.
Who
Yeah.
is?
Oh my.
Calling it for
That
Biden?
really
Well,
surprises
it's a
me.
big
That really
difference.
surprises me.
Who
Yeah.
called?
It's
Who
10
called it?
points.
That's just what we're getting.
Oh, there it is, right there.
It's 10 points.
That's
a
a
lot.
big. That's a yeah.
Oh,
Well, I don't think you
What's
have
the
any-
percent- what's
I
the
think you've only
percentage?
got 60%.
73% in.
They're calling it.
73% in, and it's a 200,000 vote difference. So that's 8%.
is
I
that
mean-
just because the Californians moved there?
That's the problem. That's what you have with no.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
Jen, you're absolutely. That's what happened in
Another hotspot.
Colorado.
Why are all the why is everybody moving to Nashville, Ken?
Yeah.
Listen,
Everybody.
Cal-
In fact, Joy Villa, who you know, Joy,
Right.
and was a guest on my show RNL
Yeah.
a few weeks back, just moved to Nashville.
Well,
Everybody's
think about
moving to
it.
Nashville.
You get to Nashville, you get Tennessee, Texas, Florida. These are all states that are really, really easy to do business in. They're no income tax state. They're very well managed. The state of Tennessee, we're a pay-as-you-go state, literally a pay-as-you-go state. So when a project is done, whether it's roads or it's some educational program, like we can guarantee you a 4-year education. If you keep your grades up, you're going to get free 2 years in community college and free 2 years in state college, state university. We can guarantee that. And guess what? It's paid for. California is a, literally bounce check state. I mean, they literally do these stupid projects, then go out and sell bonds for it. There's no way in earthly. What is that? Oh my God.
What is it about? What is it? I'll have
Is
some
it
of
whiskey or
I'm
rum?
having
It's
to-
whiskey.
Oh, it's whiskey.
It's bourbon.
Oh man.
What is it about Nashville, though, in particular?
Thank you,
that
good
so
sir.
many people moving to Nashville.
Well, again, it's an easy place to do business.
I asked that
Also-
because you're
Yes.
from there.
Yeah. Also very friendly people.
Cheers.
Dave of Whiskey Politics.
Hang on.
Yeah,
Wait,
yeah,
wait,
we
wait.
got
Till
one
we
here.
talk with whiskey. Hold on.
What are we drinking here, Judd?
We're
It's
drinking
4 Roses.
Carmen?
Can I come in the frame?
Yeah,
Yeah,
get
come in
in
the
there.
frame.
I
Judd.
got us
You
an
disappeared for a
homage
long
to
time
whiskey
for the
politics
picture.
and controlled chaos.
Can I
Oh,
get
4 Roses.
Yours is
Very
coming.
nice.
Can I-
4 Roses, whiskey
It's a
politics.
very good
Follow
bourbon.
David Sussman.
If
Amazing.
you guys are
Hold
gonna
on,
cheers,
wait,
I'll
wait,
have a
hold
sip
on.
for cheers.
Cheers. It
I need
comes.
a whole-
2 more. Okay.
Situation.
She needs a Dixie cup. There you go.
I
Right.
need the
2 more
tiny.
coming.
The tiny.
Okay, here we go. A little pre-election toast to these
You're
great
gonna have one or you
pundits.
don't drink?
I'm
Okay.
good.
Salute.
You want to do Coke with us? I mean, this kind of Coke.
Zavion.
This kind of Coke.
I'll come in for the coffee.
I don't drink
All right.
either, but I do cheers.
You're gonna make a
Hang on,
cheers?
guys. Before we do, let me see if we can get a picture here. Would you do one first? Oh, thanks, man.
All right.
Let's do it.
them? Okay.
Salute.
I'm going to make a toast, which everyone can make a toast after, but my toast is very simple. Regardless of who wins this election, here is to us all as Americans. And that's what's most important, that we remain Americans, true, and the common ground of being Americans.
Salute.
United instead of divided.
United
Absolutely.
instead of divided.
Cheers.
Salute.
Cheers. Very
I
nice
kind of
words.
messed that
Cheers.
commonality thing up a
Cheers.
lot.
Salute.
To Rob Nelson Live. For putting this together.
Guys,
Yeah.
Thank you.
If you're still out there watching, if we haven't bored you to death, that is
Thanks,
good.
man.
4 Roses.
Wow.
You know, I have
This is
heard how
delicious.
good 4 Roses
Thank
is.
you. This
as
is
a-
really
as a
smooth.
bourbon.
That's really smooth.
It is
This is
unbelievably
really
smooth.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
Kentucky bourbon, right?
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
Kentucky bourbon. 4 Roses.
Delicious.
Straight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a Kentucky bourbon.
Cheers, man.
So, just a quick shout out to everybody. Let's promote some stuff here. Judd, come in here. We're going to do a little promoting. So, because, I always forget to do this. I know Bruce, our producer over here, is always telling me, RNL's producer, he's always saying, Rob, you got to tell people. You got to tell people. You got to tell people to like it. You got to tell people to share it. You got to tell people to follow it. So, I'm going to say, share this show with other people. Follow Rob Nelson Live. Do I share Rob Nelson Live? I don't know. Follow Rob Nelson Live. Follow my show. Share this show. Okay, thank you very much. Now, also, Judd Dunning. Share Judd Dunning's Bullet Point Nation. You're not watching Bullet Point Nation right now, but you can watch Bullet Point Nation, and you can watch Judd and I together on Sundays in the thing we call
Talking smack
Talking
over
Smack.
mac and cheese.
and we can
politics show.
Knee-jerk reaction. I said my thing. Follow
Smack and cheese. I love it.
Mac and cheese.
Follow Whiskey Politics.
I do already.
Thank
She
you.
already does. Follow
Thank you.
Whiskey Politics. It's a podcast, and it's not just about whiskey,
No.
but whiskey.
Sometimes
and
you might
politics
need
do
But
it.
it
to
helps.
listen to us.
But here's
now.
to whiskey and politics.
Cheers.
Cheers.
And follow Ouch. You can still follow Carmen even though she's been banned from most social media platforms. But she's coming back.
Queen.
She's coming back.
You are coming
Censorship
back.
queen.
You're on Instagram twice. Not once, but twice.
Yeah, it was amazing. I was
What are
banned
we
on
doing?
Instagram.
What about
What's going
the
on?
Jack-
What about the Jacksonville Town
I
Hall?
don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I talked about the Jacksonville Town Hall earlier. I'll talk about it again.
Oh, that's right.
So the Jacksonville Town Hall was was part of the Rob Nelson Live listening tour, which led to when I was in Jacksonville, I was taking the show in different places, and I wanted to really kind of, get different voices. And in Jacksonville, I was there, and I realized, what if I stayed in one place and just, could you bring voices, different parts of a community together in a dialogue? And, not an easy thing anywhere to do because, Jacksonville, like a lot of cities in America, has a lot of division and a lot of conflict, especially around race, but around economic inequality, around structural inequalities, around racial inequality. So we held a town hall, which we live streamed, and brought, a lot of different elements of the community together. And it was a very, it was inspiring and challenging, and not everyone, Kim, who just posted that, what about the town hall, definitely had some strong words at one point, and was, fairly calling out what, really was like, wanted to be heard. And, for me, it was important. I wasn't trying to just exploit the thing for viewers, right? I wanted it to be, my idea was if you could find common ground in a community, you could start spreading that. And if you could create a dialogue that's common ground out throughout, interactively, you could start spreading a common ground dialogue. That's really clearly, you guys can tell my thing is find the common ground, whether it's left, right, rich and poor, black and white, we got to find the common ground. So that's what it was. And my dream is to sort of have these in communities around the country and start an actual dialogue where we're finding the common ground. And, again, you don't have to agree with each other. You don't have to like the other side. You just got to find the common ground because that's what will lead to actual change. Start with a dialogue. Then you can actually enact changes that people want to make that just aren't happening.
I think that's crazy. Independent whishery at the end. At the same time, I think
It's
but
crazy.
listening. The more that I hear it, the more I think it is the first step to depolarizing America. It's a great
You
intention.
have to.
The more that I get to work with you, the more I understand it's probably the most rational step we could achieve.
Right.
It's common ground. Doesn't mean we get along, but
No.
at least we could get
And
civil
that's why I
again.
was saying to you,
Right.
again, can conservatives find more room
Right.
to find common ground? Because it's not like you're going to agree, but, we've got to come together.
I
No
think
matter
it
who
takes
wins
two
this election.
sides. I think it
It
takes
does.
two sides. Listen, if you are facing an onslaught, basically what Donald Trump has faced for the past 4 years, really 4.5, 5 years, because it started during his campaign, was a tsunami of misinformation and lies. Okay. What he has been facing, if any president, nobody would have lasted. Think about this. Do you know any Republican that would have withstood what Donald Trump has withstood for the past 4.5, 5 years?
Nope.
Okay. Meanwhile, he basically creates peace in the Middle East for the first time in 50 years. No other president has ever done this before. He's obviously focused on the economy and deregulations. He's changed the judiciary in a way which is going to last generations. Every single one of a conservative wish list in 2015 and 16 that any one of us that are conservatives or right of centers would have had, he has done. Now, I expect him in 2016, and this is really more or less, I guess, a question for all of us. What takes place in 20 to 24? Okay, I'm hoping healthcare. I'm hoping that's going to be a big, because as you talk about, in the first 2 years, he had a Paul Ryan Congress and they got shit done. Okay.
Well, Paul Ryan, again, he was a total anti-Trumper.
He was.
Rhino.
True.
He
I mean,
absolutely,
that guy
100%.
But let's
did not
come on,
know.
you guys. Republicans carry a huge amount of blame for not getting things done in this country too. But neither side can claim the moral victory that they've made. 20 years ago, I was a young activist. Republicans and Democrats both have held us back. And that's why I think we need new kinds of candidates.
We do.
We need candidates who are,
We do.
like I've said before, people go, what do you think of Nancy Pelosi? I'm like, can we get her out? Then they say, what do you think of Mitch McConnell? Can we get him out? Creepy old guy, like he's been around long enough.
Listen,
we need new
And
people.
here's a great point. Here's somebody saying, hopefully some sort of equality for all people. So this is the biggest term that's been thrown around this election. If you would say it's the concept of equality,
Mm-hmm.
and conservatives tend to get a bad rap because they're saying, hey, the nature of free markets, independent, individual liberty, individual action is the sphere of equality, where you get to choose and craft your own way. And as our society has come so far, and we continue to tend to it, but we're continuing a dialogue that equality is getting worse and worse and worse. It's not getting worse and worse and worse. Historically, it is not worse. It was hijacked by the media. It's been emphasized.
No.
You don't think COVID and George Floyd, the perfect time,
No.
perfect storm, was hijacked by the narrative of the
Yeah,
media and
and
the Democratic Party?
some of it was
This is
hijacked,
brutal.
but no, some of it was hijacked. But you come on, this is okay. I don't want to take this down the.
No, that's the
road.
question that the
I know,
audience member brought up.
But I'm saying the notion, and again, we can talk about all things here, but again, I think part of the problem conservatives have is you push back against the legitimate desire, particularly for Black Americans, to feel that we have removed, that we are still dealing with lots of structural racial inequalities. And those exist. They still exist. Jim Crow laws existed in the mid-1970s.
What's the call?
New Mexico, they just called it for Biden.
New Mexico, Biden. Well, we knew that.
So, you know what I'm saying?
That was a toss
Just stay with this for a
Yeah,
second.
I'm with you.
The notion that racial inequality isn't there is again, we built the foundations of slavery, the Jim Crow laws. If you're a Black American, even Black police officers I talked to in Jacksonville who were not pro-Trumpers at all, very Biden people, and even ones who were very pro-police, very pro-blue line, still acknowledge the systemic racism that's out there, that's built into a lot of structures. And to just deny it, I think just ignores the reality. You wouldn't deny it if the tables were turned. If you'd had laws discriminating against you 40 years ago, still where you were a second-class citizen, it's easy to suddenly say let's all be equal, because we're not. I
Do
mean,
you
we
think
are
there's
in
actual
theory.
systemic
We are in
racism all
theory.
over the country in the police,
I
in
don't-
law enforcement, or do you think it's more regional?
No, I think it's a certain. You talk to cops. There's a certain amount that's both. Even Black cops will talk about there being a racism toward Black
A
people.
racism or,
It's part
or
of
a
policing.
bias?
It's a bias. Here's the thing I want to say. I don't think America's a racist country. I think in a racist country, people say Obama was president for 8 years, and then people go, well, that doesn't prove anything. It proves one thing. It proves that a racist nation would not elect a black person president of the most powerful position in the world for years. Doesn't mean there's not inequality. It just means I don't think most Americans are racist.
Exactly.
I don't think most people in this country are. But to deny that there's a history of racism, we even talked about it. The Democratic Party owned that history until very recently.
Yeah.
Is a disservice to people
So
of color
here's
to suggest that wasn't real and doesn't have to be dealt with.
Here's the difference.
That's all I'm saying. And I don't want to turn this into the race town hall, but
this goes back to the question from the viewer, okay? And the question comes down to the difference, and going back to our earlier discussion regarding the difference between the left and the right in this country. The difference between the left and the right in this country is that the left, and we just saw this in the last couple of days with Harris, Kamala Harris, saying this, that they believe in equality of outcomes. There's a huge difference between outcome and opportunity. Because how do you legislate outcome? Well, that's called communism.
Right. Yeah.
So that's the difference. It's again, we agree on the ends. We all want opportunity. It's based upon meritocracy. It's based upon, getting an education, having a good family, all the things that we try to strive for as a society so we can raise people in a way. And I want school choice. I don't want the inner cities a mess for inner city kids based upon, their socioeconomic structure. They're going to be in that cycle of welfare forever. Get them out of that. The left believes to perpetuate that and then legislate the outcome.
I understand that. And
that's the difference.
I understand that. And I think it's a really great argument that I think conservatives need to be having with, I worked in a public school as an advisory board in a public school in LA. So it was a choice school, but it was public. And it was part of an organization called Right to Succeed, which was all about charter schools. And I think one of the great disservices that Democrats have done is to throw school choice under the bus and to throw charter schools under the bus, arguing that that's unfair. Rich kids will always get better educations than poor kids. That's the reality of life. Your kid can always go to a better school than a kid, in the ghetto. But that doesn't mean we can't have a floor. And that floor, a private school system, charter schools could create that floor. The public school system can't. Democrats hold on to it because of the unions and because of the unions. And they don't want it. You know what? And it means, even in this independent school, we had like people, it's sort of seniority, like who gets, and it's like, it's so outdated and so disservice to the kids. Yeah. But yet in most liberal circles, the notion of charter schools or choice schools is somehow viewed as negative, bad.
Yeah.
And I don't know why.
Well, because the unions don't want competition.
No, I don't know why most people still think that. Like, what part of you wouldn't get that choice? If your life depended on mailing something, would it be the post office?
It's been marketed horribly. I mean, it's been marketed horribly. Of course it has. I mean, come on, look. At the end of the day, you've got unions.
I'm tapping out for a minute, guys. I can't stand like this anymore. Thank you for the invite, for the sign up. I'll come back for a seat in a few minutes, but I can't. I suck at yoga, and I'm out of here. Great. I'll see you back at the end of the show. Keep going. God bless you, America.
Back in, Judd.
Thanks for the
I'll give you my seat if I have
Outstanding.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Marketed terribly.
Yeah, well, it is marketed terribly. I mean, if you go out amongst the folks, even here in California, I've done it. You go out amongst the folks, and people with kids don't actually even really understand what a charter school is, what school choice is. They don't really understand it. But what they do understand is having the shit beat out of them on television and Facebook and every place else by unions putting crap out there to protect themselves. Now, another thing that people don't realize, I mean, this is marketing 101, is that the unions, government workers unions overall, only touch 6 or 7% of the voting population. So now you've got this loud 6 or 7% putting this crap out there and intimidating everybody, and collectively no one else fights back because they don't know any better. They don't know any better. Unions put all that money into marketing, and they're such a small part of the voting population. It's crazy to me. Just horrible marketing.
Well, I mean, and I guess you could argue bad marketing is responsible for a lot of things that haven't been, dealt with well. I mean, in terms of great visionary ideas that just aren't being, brought out. I mean, I'll give Trump credit for how he's managed to try to, and successfully of late, really show what he can offer to Black Americans in a way that I think, is very hard for Republicans to do. And, he, again, the first, the idea of creating, second chances stuff, act was a big deal. That it was
the
the first
platinum
criminal-
pan and all this
Yeah.
good stuff.
It was really good stuff, and I think they need to do. It's hard to market that, but getting rappers on board and stuff helps. But I mean, party, you're a messaging guy. I mean, Republicans could do a lot better job marketing some of the really great, innovative ideas. It would make sense I think intuitively it makes sense. If you're living in an inner city, it makes intuitive sense to you to want a way to have better schools, better hospitals, more economic opportunity. The number of people I talk to in communities around the country who are, in more impoverished communities, who literally look and go, even if it was around the protests going, most of those people protesting aren't coming to do anything to help me. They're coming to help my community, which is broken and needs real resources and change.
But it has to be explained to them, just like things have to be explained to the right sometimes. Things have to be explained to the left. And again, the right for years, they talk over everybody's head. I mean, even me, I understand quite a bit about policy and quite a bit, but they literally, some of these things they talk way over everyone's head, or they talk in bullet points that sound like every other political bullet point. Think about Trump. Yeah, think about Trump. He's on the stage with 16 hack Republican, people running I mean, they all look and sound alike. There's some good guys up there, but I mean, they look and sound alike.
Says
Trump,
that for his friends.
No, I do. No, listen,
protecting his
I got to
friends.
tell you had some.
You have friends up there. I get it.
No, I mean, you had Scott Walker up there.
You don't think
Brandon
Santorum
Mulligan.
had mass appeal?
Yeah, like there's that guy. You know what? Can you imagine?
Don't Google his name, folks.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
For those of you who missed it, Kent's referring to Trump in the first round, 2016, with all those boring Senate candidates for the Republican. You can't even remember.
And it was
most
all
of them,
messaging.
except
So
like
Trump
Mitt
comes
Romney.
out, build the wall. He has these bullet points that people get.
What was
That's
the
an easy
governor of
concept.
New York? Pataki? Pataki?
Was he in that?
Yeah, Governor
He
Pataki.
was?
He was one of the first ones to leave. But
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But again,
Governor Pataki.
think about it, everybody else. And the lamest, Jeb Bush spent $125 million in that campaign in a primary, never broke 2%, I don't think, did he? And
He was the Kamala
Please
Harris.
clap. Please clap.
He was the Kamala
Please,
Harris.
anybody clap.
He was the Kamala
But
Harris.
I mean,
Kamala
you
Harris
think about
of the
that.
He was the Republican Party, except she got put in vice president spot.
He sat there
3%,
and he
the 3%
spoke
club.
over everybody's head, and he spoke in bullet points that everyone's already heard. He spoke it was kind of like watching Biden out on the campaign trail. I'm for truth, not fiction. I'm for it's the same crap people hear. But when you hear build the wall, lock her up, you hear things like that people can go, well, at least I understand
That
it.
makes sense.
Yeah, they may not agree with it, they understand it. All right, so one thing we haven't talked about are these House races. What's going on in the House races? The ones
They're calling Nancy Pelosi the next Speaker of the House.
Yeah.
well, I'm sure of that. I mean, we all knew that.
They may
They're hanging on to the House.
even gain seats.
Yeah,
Wait,
I think they'll
Nancy
gain.
Pelosi
I think
is the
they'll gain
speaker.
5 or
What did I
6
miss?
seats. But
Nancy Pelosi is the speaker.
are there any races in particular that are standing out right now? I haven't seen.
I forget the kid's name. The guy in the wheelchair, the
Yep.
23-year-old,
North Carolina.
he won.
Good.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, the youngest congressman, I guess, ever
Awesome.
or something.
Nice.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a few bright spots there, but yeah. So basically, Adam Schiff is going to still be. He's going to be House Intelligence Committee.
How is he
guy.
not in jail for
And
his
Massey Waters.
weird
Yeah.
It's
fake
just
soliloquy
It's
that he
awful.
gave?
I'll actually be over at Joe
Eric
Collins in a
Early's.
little while. I'll be out with Eric in just a little while as well.
So how badly are they getting beat?
It's like 80-20. I mean, I got to tell you something. Again, these guys are great candidates. I think they run great campaigns. The problem is the Republican Party doesn't get behind and develop these seats. Now, what are the odds? You take someone like Eric Early, who I think is one of the greatest congressional candidates and most qualified candidates, and why the Republican Party doesn't dump a boatload of money. Yeah, it's a tough race. Schiff's a tough guy. It's a 70-30, whatever Democrat there's, or 78-22 Democrat. But why doesn't the Republican Party dump money and develop those seats? You take a little notch out of them this time. You take a notch out next time.
How do you think
Working.
Buzz is going to do? Buzz Patterson.
We should text Buzz and find out. I think
Let's text him.
Buzz has got a pretty good shot.
Let's
I'll tell you
text him.
another one.
That's
that I really
California
like.
7, east of Sacramento.
Yeah,
So you guys out there, we're
east side of
talking-
Sacramento up into the
So
Sierra.
People,
Foothills,
so
Sierras.
people know what we're talking about. Let's not go over their heads too much. We're talking about a couple California congressional races. One is against Eric Early running against Adam Schiff in Burbank, the district I lived in, and the other is Joe Collins, who's running against Maxine Waters, which is the South LA district, and Joe's a Republican former Navy vet, and also is obviously he's a
really
Republican,
good guy.
really good guy. And he's from the neighborhood. He grew up there. And challenging her on the I live in the neighborhood. And then the other one is Buzz. The other one is Buzz Patterson.
Wonderful.
I heard it.
Yeah.
We were all
And
out
Buzz
together
is
till
running
2 in the
against.
morning.
Who's
Yeah.
Buzz running against again? Buzz is running against
a beer. What's this guy's?
That's a guy that's been in 4 terms.
Yeah.
And,
So,
Buzz
Trying
has
to
got a
call.
really
We're trying
good
to
shot.
call Buzz.
So Michael Loftus.
Buzz is going to pick up. We'll call him in a
He
minute.
probably
We're going to
won't
leave him
pick
a
up,
message.
no?
Well, I'll try.
Yeah.
Never. What? This
Yeah.
is like cold. This is like the radio show.
That is.
Crank calling.
Phone a
We're
friend.
crank calling candidates.
Friend.
We're
So
crank
do you
calling
think he's gonna
candidates
answer?
here. He's probably not going to answer, but we'll leave him a group message. Buzz, we're checking in on you. No, let's see. Here we go. Here it comes. We get the message.
Please leave your message for
Oh, okay. So we're gonna.
542
Okay.
Yeah, don't give him the number.
Oh yeah. Whoa. Okay. Put it out there. Hey, Buzz Patterson. It's Rob Nelson, and we're doing our live stream show, Rob Nelson Live, and I've got Kent Emmons here.
Hello, Buzz.
And Dave Sussman. I think.
Hey, Buzz.
Oh,
We're
hi.
just calling to check in on you and to
hi,
see how
hello.
your race was going. We're wishing you well. So you can call us back if you want, but we're watching. Okay.
All right. Ohio's called.
Ohio's calling.
Okay, Ohio's called. Now here's the thing. So he needed
Dave
North
gets very
Carolina,
excited
he
over
needed
it.
Florida, and he needed Ohio. Now, if he picks off one of the two, maybe one of the three, you got Wisconsin, you got Michigan, you got Pennsylvania, maybe Minnesota. Who knows? If he gets one or two of those, then it's over. However, and Michael
lost
Loftus,
Arizona.
I know Arizona would have been gravy. Michael Loftus just texted me, and he's saying, and I've been reading this as well on Twitter, they will not be calling Pennsylvania or Michigan, Minnesota, maybe Wisconsin for a few days, even though Trump is well ahead in all of those states right now, which is where, I'm sorry, the Attorney General of the state of Pennsylvania, he projected exactly what their plans were.
Yeah.
They were going, and who has control over all of those ballots sitting in buckets and people in people's car trunks, and they're going to find them in different alleys over the next few days.
8 or 9 days after the election.
Yeah, Supreme Court gave. I guess they can. So if there was the intent to postmark something, and even if it isn't postmarked by today, they still have to take it 3 or 4 or 5 days from now, even if it isn't postmarked by today. Which means that in Pennsylvania, they will be finding, this is ballot harvesting 101, they will be finding ballots.
They need to see
This is where the grift comes in, folks, and everybody needs to be on top of it.
Well, it's
because-
one of those things that. What was that, Bruce? That you just showed me? Was that wasn't from tonight?
That was from your bit.
Yeah, but let's flash that up so some people see. This is a shot of our town hall, our town hall, and the person in it, because it just showed up on the screen. Person in it, she let's take that. Yeah,
What is she?
she's a high school student speaking at the. town hall.
That's a hairband.
Really, she's president of her high school class in Jacksonville, and this young woman, I'm telling you, is gonna be running for office. She is so smart, and one of those people who just speaks her truth in a really articulate way to adults. At one point, told all the adults in the room, also yelling at each other, start coming up with solutions here. It was a great moment because they're the future.
Well, one of the demographics that
They
Trump
are the
is
future.
apparently getting is the young votes. Okay, a lot of people were concerned about the youth going for Democrats as they usually do, but apparently the Generation Z, they don't like the idea of socialism. They like Trump, and that's definitely been a huge get for Republicans because we never got the youth.
You know what? I was at the March for Life in DC in January, and Trump was the first president to ever speak at the March for Life. Okay. And there was probably 100,000 high school and college students there. We were outnumbered. I mean, we were like the ancient people there. And it was all high school and college people supporting Trump and pro-life values. It was amazing to see. I've never seen anything like it because I thought that all these young people have been just so brainwashed, that there's no way they would ever consider a conservative event or a president or anything like that. But they were out there in droves. There was like 100,000 of them out there. It was unbelievable. I was very, very happy to see that and very relieved to see that there are still some of our youth out there that aren't completely annihilated by
They're
the
not
left,
all. They're not all.
education system.
They're not all, though. I don't think they
No, of
all
course
are.
they're
There's
not.
a lot
But
of.
I think
There's
it's a
getting
huge
pushback.
A whole new breed of indicators.
Yes,
and so,
I agree with that.
And
yeah.
so they will think for themselves. And again, some will think for themselves and go left, but many are thinking for themselves and going, I'm independent. And when they become independent, they tend to lean center to right of center.
Is that me?
That's you. That's us.
Free thinkers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like to be told. I like to.
I mean, I have a lot. There's certain views I have that are pretty far left, but I guess I can see what you're saying.
Well, when you sit there,
Like
and
I favor a certain amount of redistribution of wealth, and obviously my stuff on the racial justice stuff, would put me. But I agree with you what you're saying. I think critical thinkers often do tend to lean more center, even a little.
They lean common sense.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can get them there.
Yeah.
The problem is conservatives pound this crazy, right wing stuff in their faces. Not us, but the ones that are crazy right wingers pound it in their faces. It turns them off and it repels them way to the left. Then you got to bring them back. And if you were out there, putting out a message of just common sense ideology, it's a whole different sale. But the minute you start pounding this crazy shit, and the same with the left, the far left,
they're eventually going to push people away.
It pushes people out that way.
Yeah.
So again,
that's where you
it's
get back to your
messaging,
middle.
It's Republican
back
messaging.
to your middle.
We had a pretty good roll going with the Tea Party, and then the far right wing hijacked it and screwed that up. But we had a really good thing going with with moderate, independent thinking type folks, leaning right of center, of course. But then when the far right hijacked it, we turned off a bunch of college kids. We turned off a bunch of 25, 30, 35-year-olds, and we haven't gotten them back yet. We're trying to slowly get them back.
Here's the thing with all of that. I think it's right of center individuals. And I still say that America is a right of center country. I believe, going back to your book, the 80% majority, okay? I think most people are libertarian leaning without being libertarian party leaning, right? There's a huge difference. And the libertarian leaning is they want government out of their pockets and their bedrooms.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Laissez-faire, leave me alone. Let me run my business. Let me run my family.
That's me.
Okay, that's you. That's most people.
Yeah.
And so the far extremes, as again, Ken talks about, the far extremes are used to scare people. Look at the crazy right wingers, this is the things that they're saying. Look at the Proud Boys, look at this, look at that. And then, we're guilty as well because we say, look at Antifa. It's a bunch of kids. I'm sorry, most of them are. And the problem is that while the Conservative Party will denounce the militia in Michigan and denounce anybody that's crazy that's associated with them, the left doesn't denounce Antifa. They pretend that there is no problem, that it's peaceful protest. It isn't a riot.
Right.
Yes.
And that's a double standard. I want to point out C. Joseph saying you can't be a critical thinker and lean left. C. Joseph. No, that's not true. That's the problem. That's what I mean. If you're going to insist that anybody who leans left isn't a critical thinker, you're losing any chance of winning, and that won't win over people. That to me is no different than the people on the left who insist anybody who leans right is a racist.
No, that's an emotional response.
To say yes, you can't. I mean, I know plenty of left-leaning critical thinkers.
What is a free thinker? What is a free thinker? A free thinker is somebody that wants to take information, consider it for themselves, do their own research and their due diligence. The problem with leftism today is that it is
lean left. The person said lean. I'm not talking about when Ken talks about the extreme left.
Okay, but I'm talking about
someone who leans
who is
left.
representing leftism today. It's the Democrat Party. And the people that are controlling the Democrat Party, this is my problem with Biden. It's not that I thought Biden was a crazy socialist. I think he's senile and he needs to be put in his rocking chair. It was the people that were controlling the party right now that scare me more than anything. It's the AOC plus 150. And it is those people that are totalitarian. It is those people that don't believe in critical thinking. They want you to, and if you do not do what they do, they're going to cancel you. You're going to be fired.
I agree with you, but that's different. That's again, you're playing into their game. If you're going to argue that anybody who leans left, there's a huge chunk of this country that I think Ken's book talks about.
I don't think Dave's talking about leaning left. He's talking
that was
about
the comment.
crazy left.
You can't be a critical thinker.
I'm saying it's the crazy left that controls the leftist party today.
Yeah.
Well, then
the
by that
Democrats.
logic, the
And
crazy
by the
right
way,
controls the
that was
Republican
one
Party.
place that I really
No,
wish
I
that
don't think so.
in the Trump campaign, I really wish that they would have really pushed on a couple of things, but one in particular is that if Trump would have in those debates said, well, the people that control you, taking Biden out of the seat of power, right to his face, because he has no control over what's going on there. He's being, he's the Trojan horse for crazy bastards. I mean, think about it. Kamala Harris has the voting record of the most liberal. How do you get more liberal than Bernie Sanders? Texas calls for Trump.
Not even close.
Not a surprise.
Wow.
No,
not a
They
surprise.
tried to
The
make
media
it
tried
seem
to
like
suggest
it was
that.
Dave, you're exactly on it, because Dave's not talking about far left. He's talking about the just left. The far left are the crazies, just like there's the far right that are crazy.
Well, it would be nice if the leftists who run the CEOs of Twitter and Facebook would actually allow critical thinking on their platform,
Right?
Because they can't combat the message. We have a saying called "freedom is sexy," and because they can't combat our message, everybody wants freedom, pretty much, right? Everybody wants the freedom to do what they want to do. They can't combat our message, so they have to just completely cancel us. So Facebook gone, Twitter gone.
Right.
Yeah.
All these platforms, they just take you down instead of allowing that critical thinking to happen. Because critical thinking to the left is dangerous.
Right.
It's actually dangerous to the left.
Well,
Because a lot of their values are so far out there that it's completely dangerous. They can't combat their own.
Here's what I'm trying to do for people out there. I'm going to stick to my.
Collins is up.
Oh,
Wow.
interesting.
Interesting.
That's not to see that one
See,
coming.
she's way up.
That's huge.
Was she the
Half vote,
Yeah,
half votes. We'll
yeah,
see.
She's
We'll
the
see.
one. She's the one that dissented from ACB. Amy Coney Barrett.
Well, let's be clear. A lot of conversations on here. She dissented from Amy Coney Barrett to appeal to her base, and I'm sure
How does that
they-
appeal to her base? I'm curious.
because she was on. Because she has.
She was
strong
the difference from
Democratic-
Kavanaugh
She
as
had,
well.
she had a strong challenge going on there.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that she asked Mitch McConnell. They were like, "We have the votes.
Yeah.
You can go
Yes,
ahead.
absolutely.
You can go ahead and vote. Vote
Absolutely.
that way. It's fine.
Yeah.
We
I
got
said
you.
that
We can
out loud.
lose that
Yeah.
vote.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal."
counterintuitive to me.
And that
but-
probably helped her
No,
in this
because
race.
and you would rather have her than a Democrat because it's about you
Yeah,
don't want Chuck
exactly.
Schumer as majority leader. That's the key.
Yeah.
It's who controls it because
I
Chuck
can't stand
Schumer. Chuck Schumer was going to come in and they were going to do everything Kent was talking about earlier, or whoever it was that was talking about it earlier. They were going to, talk about getting rid of the filibuster. They want to pack the court. They want to turn the Supreme Court to 12, 15, 20 seats. They want to add 2 states, which means 4 more Democrat senators, Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico. And you're talking about fundamentally changing the fabric of our country forever.
No, not forever. This is no different.
As long as we're on this
He's like,
planet.
4 years,
This
for
is
4
no
years.
As long
different.
as we're
Listen,
on
you guys,
this planet.
seriously, you don't make the same mistakes the left makes on this. They did the same thing for the last 4 years. And I kept saying on my show over and over again, Donald Trump is not ruining the country. He's not ending the Constitution. It's not the end of the Republic.
But we
It's
haven't
not a
changed the
Constitution.
Constitution.
No. It's not. They're not going to change anything forever. They will change everything
shit going
for
down
2
in-
years.
In DC, what's going on here?
No, it's just
Same old.
Okay.
people might really around.
I
They'll
think
change
that
it for 2 years, at which point, if it is so horrible, which a lot of it would be, people will, in a massive slide, throw Democrats out of Congress, and 2 years after that, throw Biden out if he were to be president. Nothing in this country will last longer than 2 or 4 years because our Constitution
I don't
works,
disagree
and I
with
believe
that until
It's
you
not
start to
the
talk about judicial appointments.
Yeah.
Judicial
Yeah.
appointments
You've
last
already-
generations.
Yes, and that's a mistake. We should have a term limit on the Supreme Court. But right now, Trump packed the court with conservatives, so you don't have to worry as a
He
conservative.
didn't pack the court.
Well,
he
yeah.
constitutionally
Ah,
replaced
yeah.
people.
I mean,
They're talking about
Yeah.
adding seats.
I understand, but you're getting into the rhetoric of it. I get it. When I say pack the court, I mean he jammed the court full of conservatives, so you're good. They're going to be there for a long time. If the Democrats were to somehow expand the court, which they won't, it's not going to happen, but if they were, when Republicans took control 2 years later, they'd expand it more. Put it
I
back
got to
in
tell
there.
you, with
But that's not going to happen.
David,
They're
I
not going
think
to spend it.
alike on a lot of stuff. And I got to tell you, had this election, I don't know, we still don't know where it's going to go.
We don't.
No,
But
These
I'm going
guys
to
are
tell you,
feeling confident. but we don't
where
know.
you're talking about,
Yeah.
it'll come back, they'll throw them out in 2 years. We're past a point of no return if this shit goes down. I mean, we really are, because like Dave was talking about, if they start packing the courts, they start making a bunch of federal court, lifelong federal court judge appointments and stuff like that. I mean, it's gone.
Well,
Right.
but
It
it's
is.
not gone because
No,
it
it
wasn't,
is.
it
It
wasn't
is.
gone with Trump. It's not gone when Trump did it.
Because Trump's
What-
not trying to change our entire
No,
fabric.
Trump-
He's not trying to change. He's
Bingo.
trying to
Yeah.
keep our America.
No. But
Yeah,
Trump
and-
appointed conservative justices, and he filled a lot. He has a huge number of conservative appointments.
Everything
But they
he's,
just want to
everything
keep
he's
America
done.
America. They want to be
That's not my
constitutional
point.
and
That's not my point. My point is
stay
not
in
that. My point is that Democrats may appoint, if a Democratic president would appoint a lot of more liberal justices. That balance keeps coming around. There are right now a lot of conservative justices.
But when you fundamentally change the makeup of the Supreme Court, and you start, well, yes, it could. It could happen if they pack the court. It really could. And when that happens, and when they add 2 more states, it could happen.
It won't happen because Republicans aren't going to lose the Senate.
Well, what Dave is talking about is if they did lose the Senate and they lost the White House.
We're back to if they did, but I'm saying even if Biden's president, the Senate's going to stay Republican, and it's not going to.
Right, but I think what we're working off of is if we lost the White House,
what was their intention?
Yeah.
This was their intention. This is what they. They spent hundreds of millions of dollars just on individual Senate races.
Yeah, I get it.
I mean, it's
you guys are thinking missing my point. My point is that if we're going to be honest about it, right now and 4 years ago, liberals were sitting in rooms with the same passion and saying if Trump's president, it will be the end of America as we know it. Now, I'm just saying, it wasn't the end of America as we know it. It was
because those were lies.
No. It can't be that way. Both sides.
That was
both sides. You know what? Here's my point.
Yes.
Here's my point. You guys all believe in the Constitution. The beauty of the Constitution, and I've argued this for a long time, is it is so well designed that it manages to survive. It's like the foundations in an earthquake that will never come up. Like, it survives whatever topical changes happen. And even a Biden presidency, won't change that. And it won't. The Constitution will save it.
Look, you know how DC works. You worked in the White House. You know one thing. If you fundamentally change the Supreme Court and the makeup of the judicial system,
then you change the Constitution.
Yeah, because you have on the far left, you have activist judges. I don't know that we have activist judges on the right. I don't know. I just don't see it.
Well, you missed my point. I'm disagreeing with that, but I'm saying, first of all, that didn't happen. It's not going to happen. And even if they were all elected, who knows if it would. Secondly, worst case, Republicans could take control of Congress again and the White House and add more judges. I mean, that's what will happen. If you pack the Supreme Court, the next side's going to pack the Supreme Court.
I just want to break in here. We do have some shenanigans going on in Arizona. John Gabriel, who's the editor-in-chief over at Ricochet, where I'm a contributor, he lives in Phoenix. Every time I go down there, I see him. He is also a columnist over at the Arizona Republic and USA Today. He says the Arizona count is very odd. Numbers haven't changed in 90 minutes. Very unlike past elections, Fox calling the state is bizarre. I thought it would be close, Trump winning by a hair and Kelly winning by 1 or 2 points. The count has been lodged at 73% or so since very early. Not an elections expert at all, obviously, but in the past, Arizona results are updated several times an hour until they're all done. Been close to 2 hours since new data came in. Results from Maricopa are at 0%, from Pima 1.2%.
So what does that mean?
It means that there's just something's different. Yes, early votes expected to go for Biden. Why 0 new numbers have been published is beyond me. Very unlike past elections. He's just saying that this is very different than previous elections, and this guy knows Arizona probably better than most people.
So, Dave, are we at 73% reporting in Arizona?
Yeah, and it was called.
Do we know what counties?
It was called, and it was a couple of 100,000. And he's saying that there are a couple of counties that are like at 1 to 2% in right now, and they called it already, and it stopped.
Do we know what county?
The count, Maricopa and Pima.
Got it.
I can eat that. Are you?
So maybe they just assume that those are Democrat-leading counties. But anyway, this is John Gabriel.
So they've not reported 1 vote from Maricopa?
Nope.
0.
Nope.
Well, Maricopa doesn't lean that far left, and we're only 200,000 apart, right? Or 225?
Yeah.
What are we apart, Dave?
Yeah, it was about 200,000.
Yeah.
So really.
I wonder why you would call that, because Maricopa doesn't lean that crazy far left. It's about 55-45.
And Trump did several rallies all over Arizona.
Right.
Where do you want it?
So anyway, that's just an
I wonder,
update on Arizona.
can we jump on the Arizona Secretary of State? Let's see what they're reporting. I don't know if they're reporting live, but they may be if they're giving results.
I don't know why.
I don't know.
So Mark Kelly is actually giving a speech right now. So he's
pull it up.
He's saying
see what he's saying.
I mean, I don't think Trump's going to need Arizona, but it's just because I thought it was early
it's
too.
not a shocker that Mark Kelly's won this Arizona.
No,
that's not a surprise.
He's an astronaut, for God's sake.
Well, he ran a good campaign.
He ran a good campaign. He's an astronaut. He's likable, and
didn't he make some outlandish statements though regarding supporting Black Lives Matter?
Economy, and it's going to be a massive undertaking.
she's.
So they have two Democrat senators now.
And make it work.
They have what was who the other girl? Cinema.
Yeah. Arizonan.
Yeah. Who's actually been quite moderate. I'll give her credit.
Arizona's economy.
I'll give her credit, but I
depended on key economic drivers like trade and tourism.
I'd be happy if she was a Republican.
Supporting our national security. We have to support these industries as they recover.
All right, I'm over him. Boring.
Rob,
Boring. Need new politicians who say things they mean. I could have scripted that for anybody.
Right.
And we're going to do new roads and bridges or whatever he's saying.
Cut and paste.
Cut and paste. New person. And all the great things. It's like, just be honest, for God's sakes. That's what's wrong with politics in this country.
Puppy dogs.
Yeah.
It's what I love about like
It's
the
all
Joe
great.
Collinses and and what's her name in Baltimore?
Kim Klacik.
Who just are like honest about it. It's like people want leaders who are authentic.
What happened?
And that's
with
part of
Klacik?
why Trump got elected.
Klacik lost. Do we know?
I don't know.
Kim Klacik.
That's what I think. Most
And
of
Klacik was
most of
running
these
against one of the
elections, I
worst.
feel like they're student council elections in high school or grade school, where they're like
They're talking
free
about Arizona
ice
again.
cream on Fridays. They say like the craziest
Are they
things.
still
Not
saying it's
true.
solid? Because no new numbers have come
Something
in.
they can't do.
See, it's still at
Tucker's
74%.
questioning it.
He is. Tucker's questioning it.
Yeah.
So is Trump.
He said people.
I
are
think
very
our viewers
concerned.
trust us, but people are concerned. They are pre-election polls were very good, not just true. In fact, I can't. Yeah, I mean, he's going to be all over the pollsters and the media over the next few days. Tucker's one of the best commentators out there. He really is good.
Yeah.
So
it looks like that one may.
I don't know.
There's still may be a question mark on Arizona.
I'm watching this.
Hawaii already called?
Yeah, and I agree. That's a point that Tucker
That's a
Carlson's
shocker.
making on
That's the
Fox
Bible.
News, which I think is a good point, which is that the media is so bad at taking accountability when it's wrong, and it's a real disservice. And we're living in an age where people in general are really bad at taking accountability for being wrong.
Yep.
Trump falls in that camp as well. He's
Yeah,
never
he
wrong.
does.
We live in a society where it's like almost impossible for people to say I'm wrong. What?
I agree with you. I
Yeah,
think
it's part of a culture.
Trump, again, going back to Trump and the entrepreneur clinical narcissist disease that very successful business people have, Trump definitely falls in that category. And it's like I forget which movie it was. Remember A Fish Called Wanda?
Yeah.
Right. And Kevin Kline, and he had to go apologize to John Cleese, and he was in the car and he couldn't get the word out. Sorry. Right. And he was really frustrated and angry about it. That's Donald Trump. It's just there is a wiring issue with Donald Trump. And you said, listen, I think we could all write a speech. Stephen Miller writes speeches for Trump. I think we could all write an amazing speech for Trump to show the humanity. I think
I don't want that. By the way.
If Trump was able to come out and talk to the American people in the way that you suggested earlier, that that there are some problems, systemic racism may be an issue. I don't know. We definitely need to talk about law and order. But I am here as a president for all Americans. This is what Biden was pushing the last couple of weeks, right? and if Trump could do that in a way, this would have been a Mondale election.
Right. Dave, to your point, Dave, real quick, to Dave's point, what's interesting and ironic about that is that Trump actually is doing what's right. His policies, he's doing what's right. Think about criminal justice. It's how he messages.
But that's a big
because
deal.
he's actually doing stuff that they don't like.
But Kent,
it's
that's
just how it's messaged.
But that's a big deal. And before you were here,
He's not a trained politician.
No, it's not. No, I'm not a trained politician. It's not. And this is where you don't have to agree with me. This is a fault Trump has. He is not a person who's capable of showing a lot of empathy or understanding how to connect to somebody who doesn't agree with him.
Do you think
And
it's
one
because
of
he's
the-
never had to? Because he's
I
been
think,
such a
look, I'm
CEO
not going to defend the
from
guy.
his
You can say it's the narcissistic gene or whatever.
Right.
It's a shortcoming in a human being. And as a president, one of the things that would allow him to be so much more successful would be being able, I don't want a speech written. And Biden's a joke. I mean, when Biden does it, it's like a skeleton speaking. I mean, it's literally like, seriously, just say what you say.
You got to read C. Joseph.
To me, my ex-wife, she hasn't been wrong since 1983. Fair
Good job,
point.
C.
Good point, C.
Joseph.
Joseph. No, but again, it's just to me, it's like that matters because you could really reach these communities. The policies are you could reach.
Because he's
communities.
pulling off the policies. He's doing the policies.
And if you
He's just not getting credit for it because he's not messaging
and he's
properly.
not good at doing
He's
it.
actually doing it.
But again,
But so I don't want to see.
Yeah.
Just C. Joseph again nailed it as well, and it goes back to what you were just saying. It's about the messaging, and we're living in a culture today where it is all about the feels.
Yeah.
It's all about the emotion, and it's
Yeah.
all about how they're going to sell a product. And Kamala Harris and Joe Biden were sold. They didn't answer any questions at any press conferences at all. It was creating a product. And the problem is, and C. Joseph talked about this, is that the problem is mass ignorance.
Well,
We have more people in this country can't sit down and have a discussion about the policies. They just tell you how they feel
Judd, we
about
need
this
to get
person.
you back in
Yes,
here.
we
Well,
talked
and when they
about
do
that.
get into policy, they
Jody?
talk over everybody's head. So
Why
it's
don't you back in for
yeah,
that?
Judd, you want to sit in with here?
Yeah.
Come jump in.
Yeah.
Come in. I'm gonna come in. Did you
Let
talk
me-
about
let
the
me
book
tap
yet?
out.
You're gonna
Because
tap
I'm
Yeah, I'll
gonna
tap
talk
out for a little bit.
Okay, Kent's tapping out.
I'm going to tap for a little bit. I want to check
Judd's
some of these
tapping in.
congressional races.
Yeah. Check some races. Give us an update because we're only about 20 more minutes before we're done.
Yeah, holy cow.
Let's
You
see
know.
how they called Florida, but they haven't put it on the map.
No, they finally called it. They did a while
Fox
ago.
hasn't
Fox
tallied
called
it,
it.
though, but they haven't tallied it on their
What?
numbers yet. Yeah, see, you'll see.
Here's Doug Ducey. It's far too early to call the election in Arizona. Election day votes are not fully
Okay, now they
reported.
got it in, Rob.
And we
They just
haven't
put it
even
on.
started to count early ballots dropped off at the polls. In Arizona, we protected Election Day. Let's count the votes, all the votes, before making declarations. That's Doug Ducey. I think he's on Fox News.
No, Doug
No.
is.
Oh, that's the governor.
Yeah.
That's the governor.
Governor
Okay.
Arizona.
Yeah, so the
Fox
guy.
News,
yeah.
the governor.
No,
You're
all the
Peter
same.
Ducey.
Peter Ducey. Okay,
Yeah.
so Doug Ducey's the governor of Arizona, and he
Right.
said this.
Yep.
Okay, good. That's even better.
Peter Ducey, and Peter's dad is Steve Ducey,
That's
who's done
correct.
Fox and Friends.
That's correct. Okay.
Who took my chair from my show after my show ended. They put my chair in the green room with Fox and
James
Friends.
Carville still thinks Biden will win.
I like those guys. I like the Fox and Friends.
Before we are producing,
Let me
Yeah.
announce this. Let me do
Let's
this. Let
see.
me do this. Let me do
Oh, it's
this.
a what if. I hate
All right,
those
give me a
what
minute
if
here.
answers.
Give me a minute, everybody.
Controlled chaos.
Judd's book. Let's give Judd some call out. Whether you're a conservative or a liberal, this book might be harder for you to read if you're a liberal. But when my book came out, Bill O'Reilly said half of it was BS, but he still told people to read it. And sometimes you should read something you don't agree with. So 13 and a half reasons why not to be a liberal, written by Judd Dunning right here, Bullet Point Nation host. He's gotten some good reviews. Dinesh D'Souza. If you're a conservative, you should buy this book. You should, just hands down, because conservatives have really applauded this
It may
book.
make their argument stronger.
Yeah,
If they're
Bruce is
educated.
offering sell reasons. This may make your argument stronger. If you're a liberal, you know what? You could not buy the book, but you might buy it and to see if you agree. And you can always write your own version back, which is like 13 and a half reasons why Judd is wrong.
I have people calling me who want to write that book, by the way.
Well, they should
Together.
write it.
So,
I'm going
If they could,
to. They can
if-
cross
no.
promote each other.
If they could write it, they would write it.
Yeah. One of my best friends, actually, a Bernie supporter,
Where's
and
the book?
he's
What's the percentage?
what happened?
62-37.
For
How many? What's the percentage?
56-40.
56%.
Yeah.
well, let me just
For who?
find. Oh, is that fires going on there? No, it's just like. Well, let me just say last thing on Judd's
That's
book because I like to
yeah.
promote people. Dinesh D'Souza said about this book said basically, Antifa people will burn it, but but people who are a little left of center might read it and it might change their views. I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
That's basically what he said.
Which is what
So
you hope for.
well, thank you so
Good.
much. Now,
Bye.
I wanted to say this.
Bye. Oh, Newsmax just published it.
This is from Newsmax, but this isn't all about my book. But there's a reason I did this.
Other
Because
than to promote your
Rob's,
book.
I haven't signed. The books just came. We come out the 10th. They was going to come out before the election. It was delayed by COVID, but the books just came today. I have an autographed one. The first one I wanted to give to our producer who's been doing your show, Rob Nelson Live, and to Bruce and Gary. And what's the name of your company, gentlemen?
Beck Computer Systems.
Beck Computer Systems. These guys are making this whole live stream thing possible. So it's a great format. So here you go. There's our first copy. And thanks for helping us, guys, because these guys have been great. Live stream is amazing, and these guys are really helping us get out a voice. At a time that you're censored on traditional media, but streams get past it, so it really means a lot.
We do get
I
around.
really appreciate
Well, we
that a
sometimes
lot.
get throttled down, but
Yeah.
we do.
Sure.
But we
Put-
keep talking.
put
we
one
keep
of
talking.
however many. It's number one.
Number one.
It's the
I should
first one
label
you
that.
signed,
That's right.
that's right.
Number one. Thank you.
No, thank you guys.
So-
You're doing a great job out here. Love what you're doing.
All
Well,
right, thank
Bruce
you.
and Gary have been backbone to me
Yeah.
in
No.
building this.
Definitely.
And we're building, and we're all trying to build something bigger here. I think in the era we're in, it's going to take coming together. I don't just mean common ground. I mean people of sharing platforms to build steam and sharing resources, sharing, audiences, actually gaining traction, and to some extent creating a pushback against the attempt to kind of filter down and throttle people. And it's going to take people being in partnership, and I think we're trying to do that with you, me,
It's
Loftus,
interesting
you guys,
dialogue.
to try to build sort of our own little consortiums of content.
It's easy
And it doesn't-
to
it doesn't
do this
have to
with
be
your own kind. So for Rob Nelson, right, guys? Everybody here?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
With your own political affiliation. I mean, you're willing to sit at a table with a bunch of mostly right. I think we're all to the right. So
Right,
I
me,
mean,
you're saying.
yeah, that's
We're
the
all
important
right.
thing. Right.
Right.
We're all right.
I
Are you
welcome
sure?
it. I welcome
don't
it.
know.
Sharpens
Are you?
my
Okay.
knowledge.
Correct.
Sharpens my skills.
So, but by the way, can we pivot back? I said, so it's crazy. So I grew up in Colorado.
I think he went to sleep on it.
Oh,
But that's just the back. So I grew up in Colorado, and I have to say, Colorado and Arizona just went blue, right? They're
Yeah.
calling it for now, unless we
Yeah.
see some aberrant things are happening in polling, which is possible. But they say that's California creep, right?
Yeah.
People from California are leaving because leftists are over-regulating they're throttling one of the biggest economies in the world. We're going to other states, and people are like, hey, if you're going to come here from California, leave your politics at home. But you just saw it happen in
They never
Arizona.
do. They never do.
You just saw it happen. And Colorado's been slipping for many, many years. But Colorado, it's still close, but it's really, there's so many states are changing their face because Californians are leaving and contaminating their politics.
What is it you think people just don't do the connection between, okay, well, I ruined my place, now I'm going to move with my same policies,
Right,
and everything's going to be different?
right.
Colorado's gone blue. It used to be red. Arizona's gone blue. Now you got two Democrat senators. I used to live in Las Vegas in the 90s. That was a red state, Clark County. And Clark County still may go, Nevada still may go tonight red because of the SEIU, and so many people aren't working in the hotels that left.
The casino industry's been just devastated.
Hospitality is devastated.
What?
Oh, yeah, for Biden. Yeah,
he
we
won
saw
huge.
that.
They called
He won
Biden.
huge.
Biden?
He won huge.
Biden Minnesota.
Can we have our
They called
screen?
it.
Can we get our screen
Yeah.
back, Bruce?
AP called it.
AP called it. What's the
He
percentage?
won
I
huge
don't know.
in Minnesota.
What about the
By
Senate?
a lot.
Don't know on that one.
They only lost it by a 1.5 in
Minnesota.
2016.
He won big in Minnesota. I didn't expect that to be close. I figured Minnesota would go for Biden.
I thought it could flip this year.
No.
You've got Ilhan Omar.
I'm from
you've got-
Wisconsin. I'm from Wisconsin.
George Floyd happened in Minneapolis.
They
Then
call
what?
Iowa for Trump, of course.
Iowa for Trump. Okay.
Michigan and
Surprise.
Wisconsin are going to
Michigan.
be interesting. So Trump's got a solid lead in Wisconsin with about 65%
Yeah.
voting. He's got
So
about
John-
he's
How
got
has our
about
count
a
not changed at all?
So
6
John
lead.
John Ziegler, who is a never Trumper, by the way, he says that we have huge leads in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. If he wins 2 out of the 3, he's reelected. But Biden has
Wisconsin.
huge amounts of his voters to be counted in all 3 states. All 3 are going to end up very close and likely to be recounted. We're heading for a possible nightmare scenario.
That's the interesting thing. All those states are going to have a lot of votes still coming in, and
Yeah.
right, Wisconsin and
Yeah.
Pennsylvania are going to, and Michigan are going to be recount states. It's
Could
probably
be
a good
recount
point.
states for sure.
Well,
I don't think
that's the
anyone's going
thing.
to concede.
This election isn't going to be over. That's the thing. I said going into it, right? You see a lot of people just looking on the screen here. Charlie Kirk saying suppression calls. So I don't understand what. Someone explain to me what are people suggesting is
So,
being suppressed?
It goes back to what I was
Let me
just.
check a couple more of those out.
Yeah, Doug Ducey. It's
And
far too early. This is the governor. It's far too early to call the election in Arizona. Election day votes are not fully reported. and we haven't even started to count early ballots dropped off at the polls. In Arizona, we protected election day. Let's count the votes, all the votes, before making declarations.
Back up for me. Go back a little. So James Woods is the Hollywood guy saying, Charlie Kirk saying, stay in line. If you're in line, stay in line.
Yeah. But here's down here, you've got Sean Davis.
So basically, if I understand what's happening is just so I get it, and people out there watching, who's never still watching, gets. The idea is that they're calling Arizona when there's a lot of votes left to be counted.
It's 71. It's 71%, and they went all the way up to 98% in Florida with 400,000 votes.
I understand why. I'm trying to understand what the significance of that is. What's the significance of doing it? It's not going to change the outcome. If the outcome changes with the counts, how does calling it change anything? The polls are all closed. I'm asking, what is calling it early? What does that change?
Calling it? Well, first of all, I just want to interject. They're saying Joe Biden is going to make a statement shortly. Is coming on the screen as we're talking. What is that? What is that going to be?
He's going to say we need to count all the votes because their plan. Okay, so the Democrats' plan all along for the past 6 months has been, because of the Rona, it's all going to be based upon the mail-in votes. Mm-hmm. And there's going to be some swing states that are going to be critical that they are going to call the red tide on election night. That is Trump winning some of these big states, Florida, North Carolina, Ohio, okay, Texas, and other states. And what we need to do is to spend the next 3 or 4 days going through our warehouse and finding all the votes that we can. Yeah. And we've got attorney generals and governors in states like Michigan and Pennsylvania. You got Gretchen Whitmer in Michigan. You've got this idiot, the attorney general in Pennsylvania, I forget his name, that says that Biden wins Pennsylvania if all the counts are voted. He shouldn't have said that yesterday. He should be recused.
Okay. Yeah. But those are two separate things. And again, that is a stretch conspiracy theory that they are going to go through and dredge up tons and tons of votes that don't exist. I'm not saying they don't want to stall and they don't want to count the mail-in votes because they think they have more mail-in votes. But that's a legit argument that they think they have more mail-in votes. I'm not saying, but to me, now you're going that they're gonna stack it and fake it and it's all corrupt. I just don't think they're capable of completely rigging these elections. It's not that easy to do, to just drum up votes.
I think you severely underestimate the ill intent of the leftists.
Well, the ill intent and their ability to execute it.
Don't tell me that there are not layers of strategy to try to drag this out as long as possible.
Drag it out as long as possible. I agree.
Do you know what
litigation? You know what I'm concerned. Like, what is Biden? What statement is he going to make? Is he going to assume that he won? Is he going to say that it's illicit as he sees he's sliding?
He's going to say don't start being violent because we're not going to know.
What kind of president says anything? What kind of candidate says anything except I concede before the vote's in? What is this?
Maybe he's going to say I win.
What's happening? So I think it's all.
Hawaii just went to Biden. No, that was
Hawaii went to Biden a little bit ago. Yeah,
that wasn't a shock.
Kim Klacik, they called that race for Kwame Musumi or whatever the guy's name is.
Oh no.
Yeah, 27-72.
Whoa.
Biden's going to this is going to come down to those 4 states. And if Minnesota's gone, it's coming down to Minnesota,
Wisconsin, Michigan,
and Philadelphia,
Pennsylvania.
Nail biter elections down to Arizona. No,
they just called Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesota's out.
So it's just 3 states.
Wisconsin, Michigan.
It's Wisconsin, Michigan, and Philadelphia.
Pennsylvania. Keep calling Philadelphia State.
I know. It's interesting. CNN hasn't won one victory role through the electoral college the entire evening. I mean, everything has been CNN. Every time they're just running it forward, showing 3 ways that they win, and then they show a potential Trump default at the end.
Look, CNN is a hack job.
He's even saying we win, they win, and he's speaking.
John King.
Yeah, he's saying we win. Right? I mean, when did newsmen start saying we win when they're kind of?
Did he say we win?
Yeah, he said we. Well, perhaps we can. I was like, I guess you're just going to be a Democrat as a journalist now.
CNN's in the tank for Biden. There's not a.
Did they call North Carolina yet for
Trump?
North Carolina.
They called it for Trump.
They did call North Carolina.
Okay. Oh, South Carolina.
No, North Carolina is still out.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be a huge run-up of electoral votes once these
Guys,
in
I'm
North
tempted.
Carolina.
I'm tempted to
So-
have our producer run this Biden statement.
Yeah,
for
I'd
the
like to
show.
hear it.
Would you? Can we tee that up so you could either run in Fox or CNN if Biden comes on? Are you okay with that, Rob? What's your-
Yeah, you're taking over my.
No, I'm just asking you because
it's all no longer in my control.
I'll put it on.
So,
That's the
But we're
point.
wrapping up pretty soon, so we might
so
not.
$100 says that he's going to come out and say we need to count all the votes. Every vote counts. Americans, blah blah blah, and as long as it takes. And that's been their game plan all along. We were going to have a red tie tonight. Looks like Trump's going to take it, but we need to get the votes counted
All
in
right,
these
I'm
two
not
states.
going to disagree. I think very likely when he comes out. Look, again, I'm not. I know I seem like I'm challenging you. I'm just trying to stay in my center lane here, and my center lane says Biden. They expected a blowout for Biden. The media did. The Biden camp did. They're not getting a blowout for Biden. They're barely hanging on. They're going to do what you said. They're going to come back and say, hey, you know what? Let's just wait, take a chill pill. Let's count all the votes and don't riot tomorrow. That's what he's going to say because they're afraid they're going to lose.
Let's hope he says
They're
don't riot.
going to
Yeah.
lose.
Let's hope he
I
says
wouldn't
don't
bet on
riot.
the don't riot comment.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
Really, I would. Yeah,
That's it.
I would.
There, yeah.
But I mean, what else are you going to say? You're going to. I mean, you can't say you're going to, or unless you're going to say
There
you
we
won.
go. We're getting the Biden
Unless you're gonna
Harris
say you
close
won.
up.
Unless you're going to say I
He's
won.
definitely not going to tell you not to.
Why is he coming out and talking though? That is a good question.
I think he
Why?
forgot actually. He I forgot what this is
You
about.
think it's
Why
over?
are we here?
You dog baseline
Why would
pony
you come out
soldiers.
now? Why not wait till tomorrow morning?
I am the proud president of China.
What's that?
He thinks it's another rally.
Is he going to yell?
It's like
Is he going to yell at us?
What's our note?
He's speaking from a drive-in theater.
He's
North
gonna.
Carolina is still undecided. Meredith.
He's
thank you,
gonna
Meredith.
say. He's gonna say that it's what's his fate? Malarkey. This election is malarkey.
Come on, man.
I'm just saying all along the game plan for the Democrats was to string this out as long as they could, and there is a lot of mischievousness. Can I ask you a question? The city of Philadelphia in 2012, there were several precincts. There were several precincts that did not have one vote for Mitt Romney.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Not one.
Mm-hmm.
An entire precinct, not one.
We're in Philadelphia.
In Philadelphia.
Absolutely
Yeah.
And
possible.
over 100% participation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
100%.
Yeah,
100%
great grandparents were
participation.
voting.
yes,
So
there's definitely some.
that's the plan here.
I'm not arguing there isn't some voter fraud and all that. I mean, there always has been. I'm saying it's not going to be at a scale in which they're going to have like hundreds of thousands of votes they're shuffling.
How do you
It's just
know?
not.
How do you know?
Well, you would take
Waiting
My
They've
been
county,
planning for a
my
long
county,
time.
Orange
I
County,
can't.
California, flipped blue like several days after the election
Yeah.
in 2016. 50,000 Democratic votes showed up. I mean,
so
it happens.
look. I'm just
Some
putting it out to you
magically-
guys that I think the more you dig into the more you dig into the conspiracy thing, the worse it gets. There's a certain amount of, in my view, conspiracies are hard to believe because most of the time they require a coordination and a level of stuff that just can't happen. So Spitfire Pam is really going
Yeah,
at it with her
Pam's
stuff.
saying
Pam's
that-
been sticking with the Trump win at two. She keeps moving Biden's number up and down a little bit. She moved him up from 237. Thanks, Spitfire Pam.
Well,
Moved him up to 243, but she's still capping him there.
Yeah.
She's capping him. She moved him up. Spitfire Pam moved him up.
I think
No,
we-
look, I'm just saying.
I think we have an important issue. If I could just say, you brought up the issue of conspiracy. So this election, this time with Trump, we had the Electoral College, we had impeachment, we had Russia, we had children in cages. Now, now they're trying to flip over Hunter Biden's laptop as even a potential thing with this.
Yeah.
We've never seen this much conspiracy put toward a president, but also there's a real deep state. I mean, we know the DOJ was
I agree.
involved.
There's a deep
So
state.
conspiracy is
And for
real.
people-
Spygate, which is
And for
important
people
to
out
say.
there, deep state, if you get frustrated by that word, I've worked around it. The deep state merely means you've got an apparatus that goes down like roots.
Hold on.
And it goes down
Hold
like
on.
roots.
Whoa.
Hold on. Okay, they just called Biden in Minnesota. But here's another
Yeah,
thing.
we knew that.
We heard that. Biden, okay, Fox News has retracted their call for Biden in Arizona.
All right, there you go.
Thank God.
interesting.
Okay.
So it's coming
So
back.
that's-
There we go.
So, Judd, I guess I'm saying the deep state exists. And I think people often question that. So, again, I'm talking I'm trying to talk. You guys be aware. A lot of viewers out there are liberal, so you're trying to talk to them too on this stream.
Yeah.
So I'm saying. So I know. So I'm just saying. I'm trying to help those people understand where you guys are coming from as well. And a lot of people resist deep state because it gets that word deep state. So translated a different way. The apparatus of government goes down with long tentacles, long roots into the ground, and it stays there, and it doesn't like to give up its power. The deep state exists in the intelligence community, exists in the State Department, exists in most bureaucratic organizations.
And the media.
And it exists. No, the media is not deep state. The media is just the media. The deep state is a rooted down thing that's like implanted. It's
hold on.
things underneath.
I'm going to challenge you on this. Okay.
How's the media the deep state?
Virginia Senator Mark Warner, he went into the SCIF, which is the secured room in the Senate. You're not allowed to take any phones or any devices with you. Somehow he got a picture of the dossier. Okay. He got a picture of the dossier. He sent it directly to his contact over at BuzzFeed News. This was illegal. This is what perpetuated the entire buildup of the Russian collusion narrative.
I'm not. You think I'm arguing?
What my point is that they are the media are used as a weapon by the deep state. They are complicit.
The media is complicit. The media is complicit in carrying a message that the left and Democrats won't carry.
Then how is that different than not being a part of the deep state?
The deep state is the deep state for people who aren't conservative. The deep state. If you want, again, your position is so driven by your conviction that it's all stacked against you. I'm not saying you're wrong or right. I'm saying there is a deep state which exists in government. It's not controlled by any person. It's there. It's an apparatus that is run by bureaucrats, by people with long institutional histories, structural institutional
things. It's about power. It's about maintaining power.
And a lot of that you'll never see. A lot of it you will never see. It's
unelected bureaucrats.
Yeah, it's an intelligent. You'll never see them. You'll never hear of them. They're pulling strings. Bill Clinton once famously said to me in the White House, he got really mad at me. I was talking to him. I pissed him off about something. He pointed his finger in my face, and I'll never forget. He said, "You know what, Rob? Everybody thinks because I'm president, I can do whatever I want. It's just not that simple." And I thought it was such an honest admission of a president. He's like, he thinks I'm president. It's like, I can't do half the things I want to do. There's all kinds of things that tie my hands. Which is why I always say to Trump, anti-Trumpers, when they go crazy, when Trump says this, this, and this, I'm like, he can't do half the things he says he's going to do. I'm going to make all the states do it. And everybody goes nuts. It's like, he can't. Just take a chill pill. He just rounds you up.
That's called the 10th Amendment. And
They're calling it again? I'm confused.
So what's going back and forth?
We're recalling.
They're just recalling and recalling. No. They recalled a call. Race called again back to Arizona.
Yeah.
The reason why
Montana
Republicans think that life is over if Biden wins is because he's literally sold out to China. He's literally sold our republic out to communist China. I mean, Hunter's compromised. His brother's the brother. Joe
they're a compromised.
They're all compromised.
They're deep
so
in the
our republic and our constitution are at risk if that happens. Whereas conservatives want to keep it all intact.
Yeah.
We want to keep our America.
I understand.
North Carolina,
but you understand.
Well, we'll sell.
You understand. You
of
understand.
America to you.
I hear you, and you understand. In my common ground goal. You sound just like the Democrats sounded about Trump and Russia. Just saying, Trump's selling us out to Russia. And I'm saying, Biden has ties into China. No question. He's corrupt. But, at the end of the day,
he's not. The difference is Trump didn't.
Well, and he didn't do anything.
And we don't know Biden.
It was all about pantomime to create it.
I'm not going to.
I mean, it's still alleged. It's still alleged, right?
It's alleged. I'm saying at the end of the day, you guys are giving too much power to one person.
It's a little too ugly. I mean, they haven't sidestepped this issue, so we're all concerned about the security of the United States, regardless of whether it's Democratic or Republican. I think it's just that's the consensus.
Right.
It's like we're genuinely concerned about the devolution. And will Trump, if he wins, will he hold these people accountable? The deconstructed force, the outsiders. Next time, will we actually tear down the
CNN is the rhetoric delivery mechanism.
Well, again, I get it. I think the deep state. I get it. The media is part of a propaganda machine. It's its own propaganda machine. It's maybe used by different people. It uses this guy's own agenda, and its agenda is to promote things it wants, and its agenda is to promote division. That's how they make their money. It's a commerce decision. Yeah. They make money.
And not only that,
is that Jeffrey Toobin? No.
No.
No, I'm sorry.
I hope we never see him on TV ever again.
That looked like
okay?
Fat Jeffrey Tubin.
So
Sorry.
it did look like him.
So let's play that. What does a Biden win look like? What is if we go to a new America tomorrow? What does it look like? I think it's going to be a pretty scary situation.
Well, what scares me is it's going to be gloomy. It's dark. It's fearful. It's gloomy. There's no optimism in Joe Biden's message. And that, to me, just as a human being, I deal, you know this, Judd, people who watch the show know I deal with depression, whatever. The last thing I need is a leader who's just like, we got enough to fear. Like, how about some hope? Promise. Yeah. I love that about Trump. Like, he denies a little too much for me. Yeah. But he's a believe. Like, and Biden just seems like, it just a little even looks depressing.
Yeah. Well, Obama was very critical.
He does. He sounds. I mean, I always see a creepy old dude who's like, take you behind the woodshed. And he huffs and puffs and he's malarkey. And I'm kind of like, Jesus, are you from what's that show? Wonderland, Jimmy Stewart. It's a Wonderful Life. I mean, literally, it's a black and white movie from the 40s. Yeah. And just like, if you're president, it's going to be so dreary.
So we got a total meltdown over at the Young Turks. Apparently, Cenk left, and Anna isn't coming back. She's gone.
What? They got him stormed out? Really?
Apparently.
Oh,
no. Why?
It's too bad.
I cannot wait for the compilations.
Why? Because the
Young Turks have a meltdown.
Yeah, they had a
meltdown.
Because
Biden's winning.
Well, they probably don't want to be on camera if they lose again. I mean, that was.
Hey, I have not had a meltdown here. I just want to say it, Rob Nelson Live. There's been no meltdowns.
No. You've been amazing.
You've controlled the chaos.
Not by you.
Controlled the chaos.
I'd like to see more controlled chaos.
Me too. Let me say a couple other fun things before we finish up, guys. And one thing, if Trump doesn't win, politics is going to be so boring. I mean, you guys may be right about the gloom and doom stuff, but can you imagine how boring it is?
And you'd think CNN and MSNBC would want
this is their business model.
Yeah.
This is their business.
There was an
model.
article on Real Clear Markets actually
it.
just came out yesterday that suggested that CNN and MSNBC are doing themselves a disservice by talking down this guy and trying to get people to vote against it because their revenues is just going to plummet. They're going to be bankrupt.
But you have to understand, they are owned by the pharmaceutical. The pharmaceutical industry is perpetuating this fear so that everybody takes the COVID vaccine later. But the pharmaceutical industry is the lifeblood of the media. They're owned.
That's why Trump said, I have to go away for a few days. He took on Big Pharma. He actually had to get off the grid a little bit. I mean, there's information.
I took on Big Pharma in my movie, but that's a different issue.
Moving on.
That's a different issue than
Tell us about your movie.
Vaccine.
Tell us about your movie, where people find it.
Oh, no, it's on Amazon. It's a few years old. It's unrelated to politics. It's called Magnificent Burden.
Okay.
It's called Magnificent Burden, and it's called Magnificent Burden, and it's actually a documentary about a little kid. It's a hopeful story. I'll just say it's a documentary. Since you asked, it's about a woman who is a big New York socialite. She adopts a kid, and in the process finds out it's a human trafficking ring. Very sophisticated. She goes undercover for the FBI, brings the ring down, gets custody of the little boy whose genetics have been all made up, and he has a deadly incurable disease. And she goes on a quest to save his life. And it's a real story about taking on the most horrible thing in the world and becoming a thing. The kid's a miracle. He's an amazing little boy.
It's an amazing
story. He fought his way through it.
It's based on a true story.
It's a true story.
Wow.
And we went and she went and I was part of it. We were very transparent. I was activist behind it in a sense to lobby the FDA to make an experimental drug available to these kids who were all dying because they couldn't get the drug. And it was like, they're going to die anyway. Give them the drug, give them a shot. And this drug is like a lifesaver. It's an exosense technology thing that changes.
It had a Project Veritas kind of spin to it. I mean, you guys were really going undercover to bust the people and uncover.
That's great.
So that's it. Minnesota, Joe Biden. Well, that's not a shocker, right? Yeah. Look at that picture of Joe Biden. Even you guys can't see it. The picture of him.
God,
I'm surprised. I thought Minnesota could flip.
Old as Trump.
I did.
I bet he claims victory, guys, on this announcement. I think he'll claim victory.
He better
we'll
not.
See.
He wouldn't do that. That would be a
no. I'm telling you.
I think Dave's right. He doesn't declare victory. That would be.
It would be bad.
They're not updating the board on CNN.
That would be a bad idea.
They're still at 76% for Arizona. It's coming in slowly. There's still a 200,000.
Discrepancy.
Yeah. Donald Trump is way ahead, but it's early. It's only 1% Nevada. Is it Nevada?
I'm going to make a bold prediction, guys. Donald Trump wins California.
In what year?
Is that a real prediction?
in an alternate universe.
No, that's chaos.
In an alternate universe.
Michigan, Trump is up bigly. Right.
I know. I said that before.
Bigly.
And that's, there's a lot of votes counted.
That's
50 or
60%.
60%. I mean, he's got a 10-point lead.
Well,
California City.
The question is, where are the remaining votes? If they are Detroit, Dearborn, that whole area in southeastern, then it's going to get tight.
Or are they stuffed away in boxes that people are going to be?
It may actually be true,
Why
though.
is
There
Florida
may
on
be
there
some
yet?
ballot
I don't know
grabs.
if they're
There probably will be
You're
some.
actually
There will
like
be
that.
some ballot grabs.
I mean-
I just don't think it's going to be election shifts.
Well, the point is,
Makes
what will
sense.
happen with the
Maybe
Supreme Court if it's close and Trump doesn't concede? That's going to be an interesting time for our
Well,
nation.
let's talk about that because we are wrapping up in a little bit. And I don't know, Biden making a statement shortly. Remember, you're on Biden time, right? So shortly, he's got to get to the podium.
Will he have the tennis balls on his walker?
He's got to get up there. I mean,
No,
they got to wake
shoot
him
him
up.
up.
They got to wake him up, get him dressed, give him a couple injections.
Did you have something?
Well, no, but we can't. You want to stick him behind us?
You want to come on around?
If it's not weird, sure.
Let's do a tight. Let's do a
Let's
tight
do it quick.
question
Do
for
the-
Biden.
we're running out of time.
Just
don't do the
wrapping
Biden
up
on my
at 9:30,
shoulders.
so we're right on time.
Come on in.
Reach
We're gonna
around.
call her in. Let her reach around.
Don't smell anyone.
All right, because we got to wrap up in a few
Come
minutes.
on in.
What do we got? What do you got to say?
Well, come in more.
Your doubt about leftist conspiracy, it just doesn't make sense to me considering Spygate and everything we've seen. They've shown that conspiring and cheating is their milieu. So I would challenge you on your skepticism of how far they'll go and how well they can coordinate.
Well, I never said they wouldn't go far, and I've never said they won't coordinate. But again, I will stick to it. Conspiracies on both sides, extremism on both sides. The Democrats have an agenda. They're going to push that agenda through. They clearly manipulated the public opinion and the intelligence community. Trump went after the intelligence community. The intelligence community went back after him. Russia would not have worked if Trump hadn't pissed off the intelligence community. They were on board to bring him down.
Can I back you up?
He took down an institution that can play very dirty.
Whoa.
That's not a conspiracy.
But the both
Hold on,
sides,
guys. CNN just jumped. First time tonight. They just jumped up 230, 240. They were at 136 like 3 minutes ago. It's the first time.
So they're calling Texas,
they brought
Florida, they
the
put it
case.
all in there.
I feel like they're doing scenarios. They keep doing scenarios, all these different scenarios.
Oh, is that what it
243 to
is?
230 on
Oh, that's
CNN.
a
Let's
scenario.
talk. What's Fox got on the screen there?
CNN projection. Hold on. Florida. No, that's old news. They
I
just
know.
called,
They
they
just
just
called.
called Florida.
Weird.
Yes.
CNN just got around the calling Florida. Congratulations, CNN. You're way on it.
You
I
know
called
why?
Florida yesterday.
You know
I
why?
called Florida yesterday.
President Xi just gave him permission to finally let Florida in the
I'm
Trump
telling
call.
you. I'm telling you.
That may be true. All right, guys, listen. We're gonna wrap it pretty quick. So we're not gonna make it through the. Yeah, I understand you guys all agree with that, but and again, thank you. Appreciate the comment, weighing in. I'm sticking to my guns that I think that the more we get into the potential conspiracy stuff, the more we lose the people who you might win. The audience you might win who's not in that deep tank over there shuts down the minute you, just like the other side does, the minute it gets, all that collusing that the Democrats did hurt them. It hurt them with moderate voters. People finally were like, enough. What next thing are you going to come up with to take this? If not for COVID, Trump would have won like in a landslide.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
COVID really was like, they couldn't take him down with every single thing they tried. And finally they were out of things. They tried to impede every last thing. COVID strikes. And it's sort of like, well, COVID just kind of wiped out the world temporarily.
And the economy,
like,
the economy was unbeatable.
Of the world, like
Right.
just kind of flatlined everything. It's sort of like, that's a
How-
tough thing to carry. No
How,
matter
and,
what.
and how do you,
circumstance.
how do you not
How do you
say
respond
that,
to that?
How do you say that was not intended without wearing a tinfoil hat?
Not intended?
Yeah.
You think they intended COVID?
Is Biden coming out now?
No, I'm not. We're not
Oh,
going
yeah.
to intend
Okay,
COVID.
let's
Okay,
see.
well,
Let's
listen,
hear.
and then we'll wrap.
Can we bring it in the show?
Look at their little
I'll bring
thing.
it
Oh,
up.
and he is declare victory. Bring it in the sidebar with us.
We're missing it. I don't see
Let's
it.
listen to
Are we
it.
coming in from CNN? Or are we
That's all
coming
right.
in from?
He's declare
Look,
victory.
there's like
It's a
30
drive.
Your patience is commendable. We knew this was going to go long, but who knew we're going to go into maybe tomorrow morning, maybe even longer.
Well,
Look, we feel good about where we are. We really do. I'm here to tell you tonight, we believe we're on track to win this election. We knew because of the unprecedented early vote and the mail-in vote, it was going to take a while. We're going to have to be patient until the hard work of tallying the votes is finished. And it ain't over till every vote is counted. Every ballot is counted. But we're feeling good. We're feeling good about where we are. We believe one of the nets has suggested we've already won Arizona, but we're confident about Arizona. That's a turnaround. We also just called it from Minnesota, and we're still in the game in Georgia, although that's not one we expected.
He's not a racist.
We're feeling real good about Wisconsin and Michigan. And by the way, it's going to take time to count the votes. We're going to win Pennsylvania.
They're so sure about it. They're so sure about it.
I've been talking to the folks in Philly, Allegheny County, Scranton, and they're really encouraged by the turnout and what they see. Look,
Folks,
you know, we could know the results as early as tomorrow morning, but it may take a little longer. As I've said all along, it's not my place or Donald Trump's place to declare who's won this election. That's the decision of the American people. But I'm optimistic about this outcome.
What is this?
I want to thank every one of you who came out. By the way, Chris Coons and the Democrats, congratulations here in Delaware. Hey, John, the Gov, yeah, the whole team, man. You've done a great job. I'm grateful to the poll workers, to our volunteers, our canvassers, everyone who participated in this democratic process. I'm grateful to all my supporters here in Delaware and all across the nation. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And folks, you heard me say it before. Every time I walk out of my grandpa's house up in Scranton, he'd yell, "Joey, keep the faith." And my grandma, when she was alive, you'll know, "Joey, spread it. Keep the faith, guys. We're going to win this." Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Fuck you. As I said before, if Donald Trump and I go behind the woodshed, we could settle this whole thing.
You love that woodshed.
Because what do you look at a woodshed is?
It's all a
woodshed. Oh, that's a woodshed. We had woodsheds when I was like in the woods when I was 3 years old. It's all malarkey. Fire. It was a woodshed.
Listen, controlled chaos.
Okay, we're
Folks,
going to wrap it up.
Folks,
5 minutes.
Folks, I just have one thing to say. Every time he has spoken to people, every speech he makes, are you not just sitting there with bated breath waiting him to stroke out? And I'm sorry, it's a horrible thing to say, but you just see him grabbing for words that are right in front of him, and he still can't sometimes grab those words.
Yeah. He was clearly cognitive slowdown. I mean, just watched him 10 years ago.
So let's say
he's coming back. How's way he's going?
He's not done.
Hold on. Okay, there we go. Sorry.
No, that those states are likely to take longer because the early vote is going to take a bit longer to count there. And the fact that he has come out, frankly, before Donald Trump is maybe not something that anybody predicted, considering
they were going to try and put this. I'm sorry, the guy is a fossil in the White House. Well, and they were not in any way, this is my problem, they were not in any way asking the questions that the media needed to ask about who is going to be pulling the puppet strings of this fossil. That's the problem that I have, because it isn't Joe Biden, it's Kamala and the rest of the leftists, AOC and Ilhan Omar, that are going to be pulling his strings.
And all I'm telling you is, first of all, it's not clear he's going to be elected. Secondly, if he is, in 2 years, replace Congress with more Republicans, and 2 years after that, we'll fix it. No matter who wins this election, it's 4 years till another one, and that's not going to change. And we're not going to destroy this country in 4 years one way or the other. We'll set it back. We'll set it back. People will get a shockwave if Biden wins, and they'll realize, Jesus Christ, we better do some things differently.
Is this your closing monologue? Rob's like, everything's going to be okay, America. We're like, no, it's a fight between good and evil.
He's Kevin Bacon in Animal House right now.
No, it's going to be
all is well.
It's going to be okay. And you trust me, I said this to the liberals when
Germans bombed Pearl Harbor. Keep going.
Germans? You know what? It's very Churchill Rooseveltian, which is we are going to succeed. It will be okay. And
Joni Ernst
England
wins
was being bombed.
senator.
You know, Churchill knew it would be okay. And my point is, it will be okay, whatever happens. And that's the problem. If we don't think it's going to be okay, that's why we're going to have riots. That's why we're going to keep dividing. It will be okay. America will find its way. You guys are probably going to be very happy. Trump's doing better than, most people thought. Not you guys, but most people. And he may win this. But whoever wins, we're going to have to work and come together as a country. And we'll change things in a couple of years if we're not happy. And I think if Biden does win, a lot of people are going to be unhappy. And they're going to regret the fact that he won. And they're going to have a big regret. Oh, yeah. Bruce is pointing at something.
Northern Virginia, Fairfax County elections workers arrived in
but there's still a lot of votes to count. 6 points, but a lot of people.
This party's going to go all night into the day, maybe to January when the Supreme Court finishes it.
Right. Hopefully, it's not Nancy Pelosi.
79 days of hell, they say, between now and the election.
Let's just hope it's not. Let's just hope it doesn't. House of Representatives isn't finishing it.
Yeah.
Although in that case, actually, Republicans would win because for people who don't know, technically the House.
Somebody just heard me.
Technically, the House could decide this election.
Look,
if what?
Trump, they are trying to steal the election. Just came out.
Right.
Win tonight. But certainly some anxiety inside the campaign right now, especially about Arizona.
All right, Jim. Thanks so much. The fact that the president misspelled polls is just.
Can we turn that
for
down?
For me, they can destroy the Supreme Court.
No, how can the House decide the election? If there's no clear winner, the House decides.
I'm going to default to David Sussman.
I thought you knew this. The House decides if there's no clear winner.
Right. Well, no, but I'm saying that I know that, but give us the
House. The House picks the House. They vote by state coalitions, 2 per 1. So the Republicans would have more votes. Mm-hmm. So Republicans would pick the president, and then the Senate would pick the vice president. That's the way it works.
It's not going to get to that.
Well,
no, it's not going to get to that. First of all, no president in the history of ever in this country has ever won the presidency without the state of Ohio. Donald Trump wins Ohio tonight overwhelmingly.
Right.
Biden doesn't win the presidency.
Yeah.
You heard it here on Rob Nelson Live First. Whiskey Politics called it. I know he called it before today.
I think he called it when we started the intro, actually.
He called it yesterday. He called it last week.
But you got to look at their faces.
He called it last
week.
week.
You can tell that they know.
They're
They
worried.
just called Montana for Trump.
They're worried.
Also.
Shocker. There's a shocker.
Well, I think we all saw this as coming. So real controlled chaos is to come tomorrow with the riots, with the challenges. I just want to say, as you go into your intro, it was a great time, Rob. Thanks for putting this together for all of us.
Yes.
It was a lot of fun.
Thank you so much.
And spirited debate and discussion. Viewers hopefully got a lot out of it. Thanks for being here, Judd. Jen, any last words?
For me?
You were a little quieter than most. I know you're overwhelmed by all the talking.
Yeah, because everybody has like a show here. I'm just myself trying to be,
a mom,
a closeted Republican most of the time.
Not anymore,
Republican.
You're out of the closet. Kind of. He knows this.
She's
just from talking to me.
She hides a lot.
Real quickly, guys, on Michigan, Trump is running 13 points behind in Wayne County. That's Detroit. That's the area that's
not bad for him. That's not bad.
He lost the county by 37 points in 2016.
Yeah, that's not bad.
No. Great.
It's not bad. All right, Dave.
Thanks for having us tonight.
Yeah,
this was absolutely a hootenanny, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for your insight and awesome coverage and analysis. This guy's on it, right?
Yeah.
It's like this is perfect. All right, Carmen.
Hey.
Not Electra.
Not Electra, not tonight. Maybe another night. But tonight.
But are Latinas the same?
All Latinos are the same. Yes, all of us. We're all.
No,
racist.
you're diverse. I forgot. You're diverse.
I love her.
You guys are diverse. Unlike according to Joe Biden. I don't know.
I know. We
Okay,
are
go
very
ahead.
diverse.
Sorry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're so diverse. Yeah. No, I just want to say, this was an amazing experience. Thank you so much. All of us had a different dynamic that we brought to the table. So that was really, really fun. And I can even stomach all of your devil's advocacy. I totally enjoyed it. And I really do. I'm not being facetious because being a fellow
It's good for
Libra,
you. Yeah, right. It's
I
a balance.
need to make sure that all
Yeah,
sides. I
that's
mean, I
right.
do that all the time. I piss people off all the time by playing the opposite side, even if I believe your side. So I totally appreciate that, and it makes for a more.
We got somebody from the
robust-
UK real quickly here. Hello,
Wow,
fellow
right
Brit.
in the middle of her. Right in the middle.
Sorry.
Of her.
Yeah, thanks.
What
Really
was that?
appreciate
What was that
Dave.
called? What do we call that? Is that mansplaining? No.
Yeah, right.
I never fully understood mansplaining
Chauvinist.
or whatever it
I
is.
know.
Talking over the one.
I'm
Anyway,
a
no.
British chauvinist.
I just super appreciate, being here. Obviously, I'm praying that Trump does prevail tonight. I think that he's setting our country up for huge success. I don't believe any of the negative things about him. I know people who work for him, who absolutely love him. I trust those people better than the media, that's bought and paid for. So I'm just going to go with that and my own gut and hope for the best.
Amen.
You're here.
She got her little Trump. She got her little Trump thing in at the end. It's like,
I mean, I think we all know that I'm going for Trump.
yeah, no, I didn't know. I didn't mean that. I meant
I
you got your
love
little
for
Trump.
Trump.
Like, I'm not going to believe all the things, but I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you a tip though if you want to win.
I'm a
that middle.
minority. I'm
No,
a single
I'm going to
mom.
give you the tip if you want to
I'm a
win.
minority. I'm a female.
I'm
I'm
gonna
a
give you-
Puerto
I'm gonna
Rican.
give
I'm a
you the tip.
Cherokee
I'm gonna
Indian,
give
and
you
I
the tip.
still like Trump.
That was what I was going to say. To me, the stronger sell is not. I'm going to not believe the things that people say. Boom, I'm going to boom. But that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, it's a tip to win that middle. I'm all those things, and I still like him. And maybe he is some of those horrible things. And I don't tell you the truth. What he also is he's making a difference in my life. And they're all creeps. At a
Yeah.
certain level. Nobody gets to be president who hasn't got a little bit of a thing.
Dirt. Yeah, they're all
And
dirty.
he's hardly the
Politician
dirtiest.
generally,
Everybody's
He's hardly
dirty.
the dirtiest.
Everybody's
You want to know
dirty.
the dirtiest politician in modern, I think in modern the last 50 years, Lyndon Johnson.
Yeah, LBJ.
Agreed.
LBJ,
Yeah.
the most
Yeah.
corrupt
Yep.
and the most brutal and
Mhm.
and look, he got elected, stole a Senate race, got elected, put Abe Fortas in the Supreme Court as a reward for helping him steal the Senate race. And then Abe Fortas gets impeached for corruption as Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. And that guy was one corrupt guy and a racist. And yet, he's ensconced as like a
Biden
liberal.
has dethroned him now. Biden.
We got the peanut gallery chiming in over
Biden's
here.
dethroned him. Yeah.
No, Biden has not.
Well,
Biden is not anywhere near as corrupt as Lyndon Johnson. And very few
to the
modern
left and the
politicians
middle
are.
left, I'm Puerto Rican, I'm Cherokee Indian, I'm a female, I'm
Tell
a
'em.
single working
Tell 'em.
mother, and I still love President Trump. Period.
Like it.
So,
I like that
so Rob,
authenticity.
can we quickly
Let's
drop
do
our
it.
handles for everybody? Because this is a great
Oh,
crowd.
yeah,
We
yeah,
should do
drop the
this
handles.
again.
Let's
So
do it again.
I'm BPN Insider, Judd Dunning. It's been so great to be here with you guys. I look forward
Bruce,
to
can we
continuing
pop
this
those up on the
conversation.
screen?
I look forward to continuing this conversation. It was a great night, and I'll pass it to my right.
I don't really have a handle right now. I'm still closeted, kind of, sort of.
I like that. Not for
I'm
long.
still.
We
I'm,
like
I'm,
you.
Wow.
I'm more on Rob's
Wow.
side. I'm more on Rob's side, which we talked about this. That I understand how to play to the middle, and it's like I'll speak some conspiracy theories, but only to my conspiracy friends.
Conspiracy.
You know your audience.
Only my
always, that's the
conspiracy
thing.
friends.
I always am my audience. And
But
so-
that's not a bad thing.
It's not.
And
no,
it's
no.
not being
That's how you get people
dishonest.
to listen to you.
It's not being dishonest. It's
Yeah.
finding the common ground. It's not saying you don't believe it. I don't need to share that part with you.
Right.
I'll share the part that makes sense to you. And I can
Yeah.
have
Because
other
then-
parts I don't share
Then
with
they
you.
might get a
Come
couple
in.
of
It's a way
tidbits,
to bring them in. Okay, Judd, no social handle for you. Judd.
Yeah.
She's coming back. You're going to come on
Yeah,
our
yeah,
show.
yeah.
We love her.
Social handle over here. Whichever
So
one's
I've
left.
been deplatformed tremendously.
Deplatformed.
So
I've been
Demonetized.
Some people.
Demonetized.
I mean, definitely.
Does that hurt?
Mark
to be
Zuckerberg is
physical?
not for the minorities and for free speech or anything because I'm gone off Facebook. But for Instagram, you can find me at Native Angel Healing, and then I have a website carmenestelle.com because that hopefully can never be deplatformed. And then on YouTube, it's Carmen Estelle as well. Nice. That's
Great.
it.
Awesome.
Nice.
You want more?
No, it's good.
Okay.
That's good. Bring it on. More Latino platform.
Find Whiskey Politics on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube. We're also on some alternative sites like MeWe, Spreely, and what's the other one? Cloud Hub.
Periscope.
Periscope is Twitter. On Twitter, you can find me at David Sussman, not Dave Sussman. And I'm on Ricochet, on the Range Broadcasting Network, on The Independent, and a whole bunch of other places. So you can watch us have great shows. We just had, you were talking about Dinesh D'Souza in your book. We just had him on a couple of days ago. We had Ted Cruz on last week and a whole bunch of other great people. So check us out.
Great show to listen to. Everyone's great shows. And I'm at Rob Nelson Live. That's easy. My name plus live. At Rob Nelson Live on all social platforms. And, please sign, follow, watch, share this if you liked it. Follow all of our shows. Be part of our community. It's all about the interactivity with me. So I want to, I'm taking my town hall idea. I'm doing more in Jacksonville. I want to do another one there. I want to do another. We're aiming for Atlanta for another one. I want to start a conversation around the country where we're pulling to the common ground. I truly and deeply believe no matter what else happens, no matter who wins this election, no matter what goes down, left, right, center, up, down, COVID, no COVID, we only win if we find the common ground. We don't have to like each other all the time. We don't have to agree with each other, but we got to find common ground. And I'm determined to sort of push that dialogue because I believe that's a stepping stone for real change. Doesn't mean give up on your ideals or your principles. It's kind of like Jen just said. I don't have to tell you. I'll tell you things you don't want to hear. I can tell you the stuff that makes sense to you. But we got to find some point in the middle where we're coming together, and that's for the good of all of us.
Yep.
Because we don't win divided. And it's a cheesy line: divided we fall, united we stand. But we don't win divided. Yep. And this is a great country. America's a great country. I love this country. I'm a patriot, and I see good things for us. Everybody, thanks for watching. It's Rob Nelson Live. We'll see you next time.
Cheers.
Thanks, Rob.
God bless America.